You woke up so early. Did you not sleep? Celeste looked at me. It was okay. Compared to before, she'd slept quite well last night. Every time she opened her eyes and saw me beside her, she felt very secure inside. After we changed, we went downstairs for breakfast. When we left the hospital yesterday, it was already very late. Neither of us had eaten anything. I had no appetite at all at the time. Now, after sleeping, I felt much better. I even bought breakfast for my father to bring to the hospital. Secretary Yan was still injured, but had already come to take care of Richard Crane. Secretary Yan said, "Mr. Crane," although this time wasn't life-threatening, "don't you think you spoil the young master too much?" Richard Crane looked up at her. "What do you mean?" Secretary Yan continued, "I just feel. Sometimes you shouldn't indulge him so much." Richard Crane's voice dropped. "Yan, how long have you worked for me? When is it your place to speak? About Nathan's matters?" Being scolded, Secretary Yan quickly apologized. "My mistake. I just felt this time he almost made you?" Richard Crane said sternly, "This was just an accident. It has nothing to do with him. If you say things like this again, don't blame me for having no place for you." Secretary Yan's eyes reddened, looking at this man. Seeing his displeased expression, Yan walked out. Celeste and I stood at the door. She saw me and didn't say anything. Directly left. I looked at Celeste beside me. I'd always thought Yan was just the secretary by my father's side. Now, it seemed, their relationship wasn't quite what I'd imagined. Since my mother passed away, my father still hadn't remarried, and there were no other women around him. Before, I'd always thought he was just too busy with work, hadn't thought about remarrying. Now it seemed it was because he didn't want me to know. Celeste and I walked in. Richard Crane was lying in bed, just made a bit upset by Secretary Yan. Seeing me come in, he smiled. "Nathan, you're here so early," I said with concern. "I was worried, so I came. I also brought breakfast for you." Celeste brought the breakfast to the side and opened the bag. I asked, "How are you feeling today?" He nodded. "Okay." I saw him holding back and said unhappily, "Look, Dad, your complexion is so bad." I fed him, but he couldn't eat much, only drank a little porridge. I asked, "Dad, were you just scolding Secretary Yan?" Richard Crane's gaze fell on me. "You heard everything?" I said, "She was just worried about you. I originally just wanted you to come back, stay home for a few days, get through that crisis. Who knew I'd cause you new trouble? I even wanted to suspect whether my father was fated to have this crisis." Richard Crane said to me, "Coming back to be with you is what I should do." "Oh right, there's nothing more for you to do here. You and Celeste should go back first. Ms. Wang is also arriving today. With them here taking care of me, I'll be fine." I really wasn't at ease. "Can't I go back with you?" Things had come to this point. I felt like if I didn't watch my father get through this crisis, I wouldn't feel at peace. Richard Crane said, "Look at how old you are, still clinging to your father like this. Celeste, take Nathan back. He has exams coming up, let him focus on studying." Celeste nodded. "Yes." I looked at Celeste. Seeing my father had decided, I didn't insist on staying anymore. I said to my father, "Dad, I had a dream before." Richard Crane asked, "What dream?" I said, "I dreamed that before my college entrance exam, you went on a business trip and happened to encounter a highway collapse. I didn't have my father anymore. I'm not being unreasonable, insisting you come home with me. I'm just scared. So I thought if you came home, you wouldn't have an accident like that. I didn't expect you'd still get hurt. Although my father was fine now, that incident still hadn't passed. I wasn't at ease, felt I should still warn my father." Hearing me speak, Richard Crane smiled helplessly. Dreams are always the opposite. I felt a bit wronged, but everything in the dream was so real, I even remembered the exact date. I remember it was May 26th. The accident happened on the highway section, between Longcheng and Songshan. Seeing me speak more and more seriously, Richard Crane said, "All right, I understand. Once I'm discharged, I'll go straight home with you. Before you finish your exams, I won't go anywhere, okay?" I nodded. "Okay." Seeing my father take it to heart, I finally felt at ease leaving the hospital room with Celeste. Secretary Yan came back from outside, looked at me and nodded politely. Although she had issues with me, she also didn't want to be fired by Richard Crane. Celeste and I returned to Lakewood. Since it was already afternoon, I went back to my room and lay down on the bed. Celeste saw I completely didn't treat her as an outsider, and said, "Maybe I should go wait for you downstairs?" I looked at her and sat up. "Just sit here. We slept in the same room last night. Why are you still so nervous?" Celeste looked at me helplessly. "Nonsense." I looked at her, speaking with confidence. "How is that nonsense? Didn't we sleep in the same room last night? What are you thinking?" Celeste heard me speak and said, "Maybe you should just rest. I won't tutor you today." I smiled. Are you angry? Celeste replied, No. Sometimes don't push yourself too hard. Proper rest is also important. I'll come over again tomorrow. I nodded. All right then. She was also very tired. She'd accompanied me on this trip. Making her tutor me on top of that would really be inconsiderate. Celeste walked to the door and stopped, turning to look at me. Being looked at by her made me a bit uncomfortable. I looked at her confused. What's wrong? The dream he told Mr. Crane about. She'd wanted to ask the whole way back. I said, that dream? Seeing my surprised expression, Celeste said, it's nothing. She turned and left. She'd originally planned to ask, but seeing my reaction, she couldn't bring herself to. That evening after dinner, I went out with Mrs. Porter to walk the dog. I took Snowball out and saw Serena standing at the gate. As soon as Snowball saw Serena, he started barking fiercely. Snowball was only well behaved in front of Celeste. Every time he saw Serena, he'd bare his fangs and claws. I remembered in my past life, Snowball also hated Serena like this. At that time, I even thought Snowball was too unreasonable. Now I realized the truly unreasonable one was me. I said, What are you doing lurking at my gate? Serena had been waiting at the gate for quite a while. Because of the argument with me before, she felt proactively contacting me would be very embarrassing, but she was genuinely curious. I heard Mr. Crane had an accident. How is he? Thinking about how Richard Crane had treated her pretty well, Serena stubbornly came anyway, still in the hospital. She asked, Then why are you back? I replied, Shouldn't I come back to study? You sure meddle a lot. I walked Snowball ahead. Serena was a bit scared of Snowball and didn't dare get close. She just carefully followed me. I want to visit Mr. Crane. I said blandly, No need. No need for your fake concern. Her running over to show concern at this time, who knows what she was scheming in her heart. Before the accident, I hadn't remembered. But now that my father had just had his accident, I immediately remembered Serena's true face from my past life. Without saying much more to Serena, I directly went to play with the dog. Mrs. Porter looked at Serena. Miss Serena, you should go back first. Our young master has a fiancé now. You coming to find him like this? People will misunderstand. Serena asked, Did Celeste go visit Mr. Crane? Mrs. Porter replied, Mr. Crane was hospitalized in Longcheng. Ms. Celeste went with him. They just got back today. Miss Celeste is really so kind. With college entrance exams coming up, she asked for leave herself without caring about the trouble. In this world, there probably isn't another woman who's better to the young master than her. Hearing Mrs. Porter was mocking her, Serena was a bit annoyed. If it were before, if I had any big problem, I'd definitely find her first. At that time, she found me really annoying, but now that I didn't look for her anymore and went to Celeste for everything, she realized she felt so lost. I walked Snowball back and saw Mrs. Porter standing alone nearby. Serena was no longer there. Mrs. Porter said, I told her about you and Miss Celeste going to Longcheng. She seemed a bit upset, didn't say anything and just left. I asked, Mrs. Porter, do you think all women are like this? Mrs. Porter asked, Like what? I continued. When you're good to her, she thinks you're worthless. When you ignore her, she puts on this devoted act to make you uncomfortable. Mrs. Porter said, That's right. I laughed. Not caring about this anymore. May 26th. Richard Crane had been discharged. He'd come back a few days ago. Because I'd told him not to go out on the 26th, he came back to Lakewood 2 days early. Secretary Yan and Ms. Wong came back with him. That afternoon, he sat in his study in his pajamas, handling some work that had been put off for several days. Secretary Wong came in and said, Mr. Crane, something's happened. Richard Crane looked up. Secretary Wang opened the computer, showing Richard Crane the news she'd just seen online. The highway section from Longcheng to Songshan had collapsed. Over a dozen cars fell, with serious casualties. Secretary Wang said, According to our original schedule, going to Songshan to deliver supplies to the kids was supposed to be today. If you hadn't left early, if we'd gone today, we probably would have been caught in this accident. Richard Crane listened to her calm analysis, but his mind kept returning to what I'd told him that day in the hospital. The time, the location, I hadn't gotten a single detail wrong. At the time, he just thought I was being childish. Now thinking back, cold sweat ran down his back. Just then, Secretary Yan also came in. She looked at Richard Crane. Mr. Crane? Richard Crane looked at her. What is it? Secretary Yan looked guilty. I just saw the news. It's all my fault. Seeing the news, her first reaction was relief. If I hadn't made a fuss demanding Richard Crane come back early, if he hadn't changed his schedule, they would have been in today's accident. Richard Crane sat there and waved his hand. Don't blame yourself. You were just worried about me. You could all leave now. He looked at the computer, remembering what Celeste had told him before, a single sentence. That had helped him solve the hotel's fire safety problem. Celeste was still at school at this time. She happened to see this news being pushed online. She opened it to read, and also remembered what I'd said that day in the hospital room. At the time, she'd thought, maybe I was just talking nonsense. Now it seemed I wasn't talking nonsense at all. Connecting it to the Imperial Hotel incident before. It was really interesting. I came out of school, and saw Celeste was already waiting at the gate. Only a few more days until the exam. Now, I walked up to her, looking down at her. Why did you suddenly come find me? Didn't even say anything. Celeste stared at me intently. Came to see you. Being stared at by her made me a bit uncomfortable. I said, let's go eat. She seemed a bit strange today. Getting in the car, Celeste pointed at the car window and looked at me. I just saw the news. I wondered, what news? Celeste's voice was very soft. The Songshan highway collapse. Hearing her say this, I felt guilty and looked away. Oh, really? I opened my phone, pretending to look. Actually, I'd known for a long time. I'd seen it on social media at school. Relieved my father had escaped this disaster. Now I felt much more at ease too. Who knew, Celeste would suddenly ask. Celeste looked at me, saying, it seems your dream was quite accurate. I coughed. Seems like it. Didn't expect something like that to really happen. Luckily, my father is okay. Celeste sat beside me, looking at me with a complicated expression. Nathan, last time you said the Imperial Hotel had fire safety issues. Was that also from a dream? I heard her speak, and felt she seemed to have started paying attention to me. I coughed. Of course. What else did you think? She asked curiously. Then in your dream, did you dream about you and me? She leaned in, and dulting centervation as the distance between us suddenly very close. I looked at the beautiful face before me, not speaking. Celeste asked again, did you dream about it or not? I reached out and pushed her away. How was I supposed to answer a question like that? That I dreamed I gave everything for Serena, died miserably, and in the end needed her to collect my body? Celeste obediently let me push her away, sat back on her side, her eyes still fixed on me without looking away. The two of them went to eat. I felt Celeste kept looking at me, and felt somewhat guilty, mainly because this woman was too smart. I even thought, could she have guessed that I was reborn? I tried not to look at her, and after ordering, accidentally, met Celeste's gaze. So I found something to say. Oh, right. Celeste, when is your birthday? I'd been with her for so long, and hadn't heard her mention her birthday. After the college entrance exams, my birthday was coming up. I didn't know when her birthday was. Celeste heard me ask, and finally stopped focusing. On my dream, my birthday passed already. 2 months ago. I looked at her in disbelief. Why didn't you tell me? I was with her every day, yet didn't know her birthday had already passed. Seeing my shocked expression, Celeste's voice dropped. Nathan, I don't celebrate my birthday. I leaned in and asked, why don't you celebrate your birthday? I'd thought she didn't tell me because she didn't consider me a friend. Turns out she just didn't celebrate birthdays. Mentioning this topic, Celeste's expression became somewhat complicated. After a while she said, the day my mother died was exactly my birthday. I froze, then felt guilty. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Celeste said to me, it's okay. I don't mind discussing my stuff with you. This sentence was enough to show how much Celeste trusted me. I didn't ask anything more. While we were eating, Richard Crane called. I put down my chopsticks and answered, Dad? Richard Crane asked. Not back yet? Just thinking about the highway collapse. Now he was anxious to see me. Yet I still hadn't come home. I replied, I'm eating out with Celeste. Celeste looked up at me. I asked, have you eaten, Dad? Richard Crane replied, not yet. I was planning to wait for you. I said, no need to wait for me. You eat first. I'm almost full. I'll come home after I finish eating. With exams coming up, I'm under a lot of pressure every day because I kept thinking about things from my past life. Hanging up the phone, I said to Celeste, my dad called. Normally when I didn't come home, my father was too lazy to ask. Calling to rush me was even rarer. Now that he called, I guessed my father was also because of that incident. After eating, I got home, and the person who opened the door was Secretary Yan. Young master is back. She seemed especially enthusiastic today. I asked politely, good evening. Secretary Yan lowered her head and apologized. I'm sorry. I looked at her confused. What's this apology for? Secretary Yan said, before, I always thought, you caused Mr. Crane to get hurt, so I had issues with you. But now it seems I was being narrow-minded. I waved my hand. Don't blame yourself. You were just worried about me. Where's my father? In the living room. I saw my father was already waiting. Seeing me come back alone, Richard Crane asked, Celeste didn't come back with you? I replied. She dropped me off at the gate and left. Did you need me for something, Dad? Richard Crane looked at me with a complicated expression. I thought Richard Crane would ask something, but when he opened his mouth, it was unexpectedly just concern about my grades. How's your exam preparation going lately? I looked at my father and replied, pretty good. Celeste has been tutoring me. She has early admission, so she doesn't care much about her own grades. So she's been focusing entirely on me. Richard Crane said, Celeste is so good to you. I said, yes, you should rest early then, Dad. I saw my father tell me to go rest, and looked at him curiously. Don't you have something you wanted to say? Richard Crane looked at me. I was going to ask you about the highway collapse. If it weren't for you, I might have, I said. It's because you believed me. I just said I had a dream, and you were willing to believe me. If you hadn't believed me, just dismissed it as a child's nonsense, you probably couldn't have avoided this disaster. You really are the person who's best to me in this world. During the college entrance exam, Richard Crane's health had improved considerably. He drove me to the exam and even stood waiting at the school gate. Brandon happened to be at the same test site as me and Derek. When they arrived, they saw the Crane family car parked at the gate. I got out of the car, with Secretary Yan standing beside me. Derek quickly nudged Brandon. Look, isn't that Nathan? He had that older woman take him to the exam again. At school, there had always been rumors that I was being kept by an older woman, but I never explained. Because I was close with Celeste, people didn't feel comfortable saying much. Derek took out his phone and snapped a photo. Brandon looked at him. What are you doing? Derek laughed, keeping evidence, obviously. Once Celeste sees it, let's see if she stays with Nathan. Although they weren't at the same school as Celeste, who doesn't have a few mutual friends? Derek sent the photo as soon as he took it. Before long, it reached Amber's hands. Amber sent the photo to Celeste. Celeste, check if this is your boyfriend. Celeste glanced at it and replied, yeah. Amber had never met my father's secretary either, and was furious. He's going around with that older woman behind your back again. Isn't that too much? Thinking about how Celeste had always been pursuing me, now seeing such photos circulating, she naturally couldn't let Celeste be kept in the dark. She'd previously thought I was being wronged. Celeste looked at the photo and asked Amber, who sent you this photo? I heard it was sent over from Westbrook High. Celeste said, then go find out the details. Yes, Celeste. Whatever Celeste asked, Amber naturally did. On June 9th, the school had its graduation ceremony. Richard Crane was invited as a parent representative. In my senior year, my grades had improved tremendously. On top of that, Richard Crane had always sponsored underprivileged students at the school, and had status in Lakewood. Before going out, my father had changed outfits several times. Nathan, what do you think of this outfit? I said helplessly. Dad, you're just going to a parent meeting. Do you need to be so serious? My father said, but I can't embarrass you. You're so outstanding. I'm really proud of you. Before, when teachers called him, it was always about poor grades, telling him to manage me. Now they occasionally called to praise me, which was quite unusual. I looked at my father like this. You've changed so many outfits. I think they all look pretty good. I'll go ahead first then, Richard Crane said. You go first. I'll come when I'm ready. I think I should still change this one. After saying this, he went back to change again. I had to go to school by myself first. As soon as I arrived, someone saw me and asked curiously, Nathan, does Celeste know about you being kept by that older woman? I looked at the girl who said that. Several of them stood together mocking me, as if having strength in numbers would protect them. I pointed at the girl who'd spoken. Come here. The girl heard me and said, What? I'm just telling the truth. That older woman took you to your exam. The photos are all over the internet. Are you going to deny it? Clearly being kept, yet pretending to be a young master every day. Since cutting ties with Serena, I'd been living the young master lifestyle. The other classmates were truly green with envy. Now knowing I was being kept, and with graduation approaching, no one pretended anymore. That person is my father's secretary. Your minds are truly filthy. Everyone heard me and thought I was bragging. Father's secretary, sure. If she's really your father's secretary, would you have let everyone talk like this all along, without coming out to explain? I laughed. You see, even now when I explain, you don't believe me. Do I still need to explain? I don't like casting pearls before swine. If you didn't believe me then, go ask Serena. She knows my family situation best. That person said. Serena already said, that woman is the one keeping you. Could what she says be fake? I quickly went to find Serena. She was with Brandon. Because they were student representatives, they both had performances. Seeing me come in, Brandon called out, Nathan, a few days ago at the test site, seeing me with the older woman. Brandon was waiting to see me humiliated. These past few days, because of the thing between me and the older woman, everyone had been talking behind my back. Brandon saw me and immediately felt superior. Even if I had a lot of money, I didn't earn it myself. I was selling my body for it. This matter had probably already reached Celeste, too. Seeing me come in at this moment, he was in a pretty good mood and greeted me, but I was looking at Serena. Did you tell others I'm being kept? Serena's face darkened. I didn't. Everyone's saying it. I never said that. I laughed. You didn't say it? People out there are specifically naming you as the source. Do you want to go confront them? My father has been so good to you. If he finds out, you've been slandering me at school. Do you think he'll still sponsor your college education? Anyone else would be one thing, but this was Serena, that ungrateful dog. Serena felt wrongly accused and couldn't take it. It really wasn't me. I'll go find out what happened. But Nathan, I'm not the kind of person you're saying. I never mentioned this. She just hadn't helped clarify things, but she hadn't slandered me. Suddenly having this blame dumped on her head, Serena was also very upset. I said, fine, I'll wait for your answer. Otherwise, just wait and see. I looked at Brandon. Brandon stood there with a cold face. He'd just greeted me. Now, he said nothing. I didn't bother with him either. As soon as I left, Brandon walked over, looking at Serena and saying, Serena. She couldn't sit still. I need to step out for a bit. She didn't do this, and she absolutely wouldn't take this blame. Brandon saw her reaction and followed. He watched Serena's retreating figure, remembering the conversation between her and Nathan just now. I'd said that person was my father's secretary, and Serena hadn't refuted it, so the thing about me being kept was also fake. Serena had already walked over, calling out to the person who'd just named her as the source. Serena. The girl saw Serena, and said politely. Serena said, did you say? I told you Nathan was being kept? The girl looked at Serena in surprise. Wasn't it you who said it? I stood beside them and scoffed. Serena was also angry. When did I ever tell you? Seeing her tone drop, the girl explained. Derek said it. Said you personally told her. Where's Derek? Serena was done with this. She'd clearly never said such things. Derek was currently with some classmates. Bad-mouthing me. Serena walked over. Derek, the beauty queen Serena, seeing Serena and me standing together, Derek froze and walked over to ask Serena, what's wrong? Serena confronted her. Did you tell others that I said Nathan was being kept? Derek said, isn't this something everyone knows? Serena continued, I just want to ask you, did I personally tell you? Derek shook her head. No. She saw me and immediately got a bit scared. Was I? Here to cause trouble? Serena said. Then why did you tell people that I told you? Derek said, didn't you tell Brandon? He told me. Thinking of Brandon. Derek gained more courage. She didn't back down even in front of me. Brandon was there too at the time, right? Brandon, she said, looking over at Brandon who was standing on the steps. Brandon had a good reputation at school, and he never lied. Thinking it was Brandon who said it, Derek immediately felt more confident. She was just stating facts. What could I possibly do to her? Anyway, seeing Derek suddenly drag him into this, Brandon's expression immediately became complicated. Derek suddenly dragging him into this now. What did she mean? Especially since just now, Brandon had guessed from my conversation with Serena that he might have been wrong. Brandon really wanted to disappear, but Serena was already looking at him. Serena walked up to him, confronting him. Did you tell Derek that the thing about Nathan being kept came from me? Brandon had never seen Serena with such a serious expression, even when they had conflicts. She'd never been this angry. Serena urged anxiously, say something. I'm asking you, did I tell you or not? If Richard Crane found out about this, Serena absolutely didn't want to take this blame. She was still counting on Richard Crane continuing to sponsor her college education. With everyone looking at him, Brandon finally spoke, saying to Serena, I never said that. Serena looked at him. What do you mean? Brandon said, I never told Derek that you said it. Derek heard Brandon speak and froze. It wasn't you? Before, every time this came up, she'd always discussed it with Brandon. Brandon had also been very supportive of the theory that I was being kept by an older woman. Brandon looked at Derek. When did I ever tell you that? Serena said. Nathan was being kept by an older woman? Derek looked at Brandon, then at Serena, stammering. While Derek was stammering, Brandon spoke again. Besides, weren't you the one always saying Nathan was being kept? If you hadn't kept saying it, I wouldn't have been fooled either. You were also the one always posting about it online, right? And you took that photo of Nathan with that older woman, saying you wanted to send it to the Eastbrook High Group for Celeste to see. But Brandon absolutely couldn't let himself go down with her. All the bad stuff was done by Derek. What did it have to do with him? Derek looked at Brandon and retorted, "That's not true. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have done all that." She'd always considered Brandon her best friend, so no matter what happened, she was always the first to stand up for Brandon. But now Brandon wasn't admitting to anything, pushing all the blame onto her alone. Brandon smiled bitterly, as if he'd suffered a tremendous injustice. "You have character issues yourself, enjoying talking about classmates behind their backs. Now that something's happened, you want to drag me down with you. Derek, we've been friends for so long. How am I only now discovering what kind of person you are?" Derek didn't expect him to just lie through his teeth like this. "No, Brandon, you. Classmates nearby saw Derek still trying to argue. All started scolding her. "Give it up. Brandon's been so good to you. Back then when you almost got expelled, he was the one who pleaded on your behalf. Now you want to drag him down with you, dumping the blame on his head. How can there be someone like you, a wide-eyed wolf with a vicious heart?" Seeing everyone taking turns scolding Derek while separating Brandon from it, I looked toward Brandon. Even now, he still looked innocent. But he'd always been like this. Every time something happened, he was always the most innocent one. Derek couldn't take everyone scolding and ran straight outside. Serena looked at me and said, "You saw it yourself. This wasn't something I said. Are you satisfied with this answer?" I laughed. "Do you think I could be satisfied?" Serena said, "What do you mean? You wanted an answer. Now you have your answer." The posts online were also from Derek. "Anyway, I didn't do this, so don't even think about framing me. Even in front of your father, I'll make this clear." At this point, Brandon also walked over, saying to me, "Nathan, this is all my fault. I need to apologize to you." I looked at him curiously. Oh, really? Did he even know what an apology was? Derek had such a good relationship with him, did so many things for him, and he could just sell her out like that. Truly impressive. Brandon said, "It's all my fault." Before, when Derek was saying those things, I couldn't stop her. About her posting online, I only found out a few days ago. I was going to tell her to delete it, but she was too stubborn. "Even if you hate me, I'll accept it." I laughed mockingly. "So you're saying this really has nothing to do with you?" He really did wash his hands completely clean. Brandon sighed. "Although it has nothing to do with me, Derek is still my friend after all. I'll apologize to you on her behalf. Give her another chance." I looked at his innocent appearance. "Ugh, Brandon, I don't believe this has nothing to do with you." Brandon lowered his head, not a trace of guilt on his face. "I understand if you don't believe me. If someone talked about me like that, I'd be very angry too. As long as you don't misunderstand Serena, that's fine." He said this while looking at Serena, acting like everything was for her good. Serena saw Brandon looking at her, remembering how before, when they talked about me being kept, she'd never stopped them. And now that something had happened, Brandon was also protecting her, which couldn't help but move Serena a little. She said to me, "The matter's been investigated. If you have issues with Derek, fine. But Brandon is innocent. You can't be unreasonable about this, can you?" Her defensive stance was very clear. As soon as Serena spoke up, others also started criticizing me. "That's right, this matter has nothing to do with Brandon or Serena. Nathan, don't be so petty. We're all classmates. People nowadays are really good at being hypocrites." I saw everyone speaking up for Brandon and was too lazy to deal with these idiots. Brandon said to me, "If there's nothing else, we'll continue rehearsing." After saying this, he looked at Serena. "Let's go." The two of them left, leaving only me. I turned and headed for the door. As soon as I went out, I saw my father walking over with the principal. Mr. Wells was also there. He walked beside Richard Crane, like a bodyguard. I didn't proactively go find my father. I wandered around, saw a classmate, and asked, "Have you seen Derek?" The classmate said, "Someone was looking for her earlier. She went outside. I heard it was someone from Eastbrook High." I walked to the gate. Didn't see her, so forget it. When the graduation ceremony started, I still hadn't seen Derek come back. I sat in my seat watching my father go on stage. He was wearing a suit, looking very distinguished. "Dear school leaders, teachers, and beloved students, good evening. I am Nathan's father, Richard Crane." As soon as Richard Crane opened his mouth, everyone was shocked. Richard Crane continued, "You may not have heard my name before, but I'm sure everyone knows Lakewood Springwater. Being able to stand here today isn't because of myself, but because of my son. Over the past year, he's worked very hard, and his grades have improved tremendously." Lakewood Springwater was a major brand in Lakewood. Everyone was very familiar with it. So, it turned out, my father was the owner of Lakewood Springwater. Before, they'd thought I was really being kept, Brandon sat nearby. His parents had also come today, but because his parents weren't famous people. The one who ended up being the parent representative was my father. Looking at the elegant man on stage, then looking at me sitting beside him, Brandon felt the gap for the first time. He really was a young master, not being kept. After Richard Crane finished his speech, the Hayes parents stood up, walking toward Richard Crane, who just stepped off the stage. Mr. Crane, hello. It's a pleasure to meet you. Brandon had been at the school for so long, and they hadn't known there was the richest man's son at the school. If they'd known earlier, they definitely would have told their son to build a good relationship. Richard Crane rarely came to the school before, sometimes for my parent meetings. It was always his secretary who attended. So many parents had never met him. Seeing his parents humble themselves like this, Brandon frowned. Although he was a bit unhappy inside, he also knew the difference between him and me was like heaven and earth. Mrs. Hayes saw Brandon approach. Son, come here, she waved Brandon over. Brandon walked over. Dad, Mom, Mr. Hayes enthusiastically said to Richard Crane, Mr. Crane, this is our son. His name is Brandon Hayes. His grades have always been excellent at school. If there's ever an opportunity to work at your company, that would be wonderful. Richard Crane politely responded. I stood beside my father looking at Brandon. It was clear he really didn't want to be dragged out to socialize like this. But Brandon still cooperated with his parents. His parents looked like the type who were very good at talking, similar to Brandon in that regard. Just then, Mr. Wells also came over, dragging Serena with him, saying to Richard Crane, Mr. Crane, this is my daughter Serena. Thank you for your care these past few days. She's always remembered it. After she joins Lakewood Group, she'll definitely work hard for you. Also, she and young Master Nathan have a great relationship. Now they've graduated too. When there's a chance, let them get engaged first. In front of so many parents, Mr. Wells was eager to lock down his daughter's relationship with me. Serena heard her father speak and frowned. The Hayes parents stood nearby. Seeing how beautiful Serena was, and hearing her grades were good too, they'd previously thought she had a pretty good relationship with Brandon. Didn't expect she was actually the intended daughter-in-law of the richest family. So they didn't dare have any ideas anymore. Richard Crane heard Mr. Wells mention engagement, and spoke up. Engagement is still too early. The children are still young. No rush to think about these things. Mr. Wells said, young? What young? In another 2 or 3 years, they can go directly to register their marriage. Mr. Wells was very enthusiastic. I looked at him and said, Mr. Wells, I'm not interested in Serena, and I'm definitely not getting engaged to her. Besides, she already has someone she likes. Hearing this, Mr. Wells froze, knowing the person I meant was Brandon. But how was Brandon worthy of being his son-in-law? He denied it. How was that possible? This girl can't date at school. She puts all her focus on studying. Nathan, besides you, she doesn't like any other boy, right? Those last 2 words were directed at Serena. He looked at Serena, hoping she'd be sensible. Serena heard her father speak and looked at me. Remembering what I'd done to her before, she resisted and said to her father, Dad, don't you see what kind of occasion this is? Is it appropriate to talk about these things? But Mr. Wells didn't treat others as outsiders at all. What occasion? We and Mr. Crane are all one family. You used to always stay at the Crane house. Now Mr. Crane gave me a job. How is telling you to marry Nathan making you feel wronged? Serena lost all face. Before, everyone had doubted my identity, while having a mysterious admiration for Serena, thinking even if I were a young master, I wouldn't be worthy of her. But now Mr. Wells's words had truly made Serena lose all dignity. Who would have thought the beauty queen Serena's father would be this kind of person? Clearly desperate for Serena to go from rags to riches. I was even less polite with him. Mr. Wells, everyone at our school knows Serena's boyfriend is Brandon. Saying this will make them unhappy. Without making it clear, people would still think I'd be with Serena. The Hayes parents heard this, and both looked at their son. Brandon pursed his lips looking at me. Realizing I was doing this on purpose, Richard Crane took the opportunity to say to Mr. Wells, you see, the kids all have their own choices. Let's not interfere in their matters. Mr. Wells refused to give up. It's definitely a misunderstanding. Besides, Nathan really likes Serena, my daughter. Wouldn't be with random boys like that. After saying this, he deliberately gave Brandon a contemptuous look. The Hayes family didn't look like they had great conditions. Mr. Wells only wanted his daughter to marry a rich man, to change her fate. He didn't want any involvement with the Hayes family. So he deliberately said harsher things now. Mr. Hayes looked at Mr. Wells. What kind of way is that to talk? Who's a random boy? Mr. Wells looked at him provocatively. I'm talking about your son, so what? Want to hit me? He put on a shameless look. Mr. Hayes was just an ordinary person. Being provoked by him nearly made him vomit blood. Seeing Mr. Wells cause such a scene, Richard Crane had to speak up. Mr. Wells. Mr. Wells looked at Richard Crane and said, Mr. Crane, my daughter can't marry their son. The only one Serena likes is Nathan. You can rest assured about that. Richard Crane said, a perfectly fine young man. How can you talk about him like that? Apologize to them. Mr. Wells saw Richard Crane's serious expression and didn't dare offend him. Sorry. He reluctantly said one sentence to the Hayes family. People nearby saw this scene. Mr. Crane is so kind. Even protecting Brandon. Worthy of being a big boss. Truly has class. Why is Serena's father so tactless? They praised Richard Crane, while they couldn't help but badmouth Mr. Wells. Mr. Wells didn't think his behavior was embarrassing at all. His daughter was so outstanding. Naturally, only the richest man's young master would be worthy. Richard Crane saw Mr. Wells had apologized, then spoke up. Anyway, the two kids have a pretty good relationship. As a father, don't cause trouble here. Think about your daughter a little. As for my son Nathan, he already has someone he's going to marry. I added, that's right. Mr. Wells, I already have someone I like. Just let Serena and Brandon be happy together. Richard Crane looked at his watch, not giving Mr. Wells a chance to continue. Then let's head home first. I walked beside my father out of the auditorium. Mr. Wells, afraid Serena would still have connections with the Hayes family, directly took her away. Serena looked at her father, who was completely not leaving her any face at all. She was about to collapse. She'd worked so hard at school for so long, her good image destroyed by her father. She could even feel the way everyone looked at her was no longer the same as before. I followed my father out of the school and saw Celeste's car again. I said to my father, Dad, you go ahead first. Richard Crane looked at his son. You're not coming with me? I have something to do. Richard Crane looked at me hesitantly. What is it? It's so late. I said, go on, Dad. I'll come back on my own later. I said this while helping my father into the car. Secretary Yan said, I think I just saw Miss Celeste's car. Richard Crane heard Secretary Yan say this, and immediately understood. He waved his hand helplessly. I watched my father leave, even waving at him. Richard Crane sat in the car, sighing, my son really has grown up. Secretary Yan said, Nathan is almost 18. You can rest easy. After my father left, I walked to the car behind, opened the door, and got in. Saw Celeste leaning back in her seat with her eyes closed, resting. I sat down beside her. After a moment, Celeste opened her eyes, looking at me with a gentle smile. When did you get here? Didn't even say anything. I blinked. Been here a while? Celeste looked at me and asked, how was the graduation ceremony? Pretty good. My father's appearance had silenced everyone who used to spread rumors about me being kept. So I was in a gray mood too. Before, I'd been too lazy to care what they said. I hadn't done anything like that anyway. I said to Celeste, my father came today. Celeste nodded. I continued, before, they always said I was being kept. Seeing my father bring his secretary, they stopped talking. It's just, Celeste wondered, just what? I lowered my eyes. I didn't know what Derek had gone off to do. She and Brandon were good friends. Yet Brandon stabbed her in the back like that. I wanted to see what she was thinking now. Before, she'd worked herself to the bone for Brandon, causing all kinds of trouble for me. At that time, she probably never thought she'd end up like this. Celeste tilted her head. Why are you looking for her? I explained. The posts online were from her. I want to see when she'll delete them. Can't let her off that easy. Although she'd been betrayed by Brandon miserably, I still couldn't let her escape. After hearing this, Celeste said to the driver, drive. The driver nodded, yes. Soon the driver stopped the car by the riverside. I looked outside. Why did you bring me here? This was an industrial area. No one around now. Celeste got out of the car. I followed. Soon someone walked over. Celeste. I looked at Amber appearing before me. Why are you here? Nathan, don't you know? Before, someone took photos of you, sent them to our school. Said you were being kept by an older woman. I said helplessly. I know. Brandon told me today. Didn't expect they'd still have time for this during college entrance exams. I asked Amber, do you still have the photo? Amber held up her phone. Yes. Let me show you. She opened the photo. I looked at the photo on the phone of me and my father's secretary and laughed helplessly. Their brains must have problems. If I were really being kept, would I let them come take me to my exam? It was all because my father's secretary was too pretty. So, outsiders thought too much. Amber looked at me. This is your father's secretary? I looked at Amber. What else? Did you also think I was being kept? Remembering how before she'd sent the photo to Celeste, Amber guiltily glanced at Celeste. Why hadn't Celeste told her? This was Nathan's father's secretary? No wonder she told her to investigate as soon as she saw the photo. Amber quickly tried to make up for it. Hoy. Nathan, this book. We already found out who took the photo. It was Derek who posted it online. Amber said this and walked out. Soon someone was brought over. Derek, who I'd been looking for all evening, was brought over by two burly women. Her hair and clothes were all wet, like she'd just been fished out of the water. Seeing me, Derek directly tried to come over. Nathan, Than, Amber coldly shouted, "Stay where you are." Derek saw this scene and directly knelt down on the grass, saying to me, "Nathan, I know I was wrong. Please let me go. I won't dare do it again." I saw her so scared and looked at Amber. What did you all do? Scared her like this? Amber scoffed. She refused to admit it at first. After I said I'd throw her in the river to feed the fish, she finally confessed. Amber walked over and said to me, "Nathan, this one is really vicious. She's always creating fake accounts to trash you online. That post she put up about you, several of those accounts were her fakes. She also sent photos to our school, trying to break up the relationship between you and Celeste. Good thing I didn't fall for it." Celeste glanced at Amber. "Oh, really?" Amber immediately felt guilty, changing the subject, saying to me, "Nathan, how do you plan to deal with her?" I looked at Derek. Derek saw me looking, quickly lowered her head, trembling as she said, "I really know I was wrong. Before, I was just following Brandon's orders. Nathan, believe me, it really was Brandon. He's not a good person. Before, when your mother came to school to pick you up, it was also Brandon who said the relationship between you two wasn't normal." Derek had thought about it all evening and realized she'd been led into a trap by Brandon because Brandon was too good at acting. So, she'd considered Brandon her best friend. Didn't expect in the end she'd be the one thrown under the bus. Brandon could still get away clean. Now all the blame was dumped on her head. That would be one thing, but everyone was also cursing her out. Even if she jumped out to accuse Brandon, everyone would just think she was trying to drag Brandon down with her. Brandon really was such a kind-hearted person. I looked at Derek like this. Couldn't help but remember myself before. Maybe before, in Serena and Brandon's eyes, I was just as stupid. I said to Derek, "Go back to school first." Derek looked at me with red eyes, feeling like she saw hope. "So you're letting me go?" I smiled lightly. "Letting you go? I already let you go once. Did you learn your lesson then?" I didn't explain to her. Just said to Amber, "Let her go first." The two women heard me and stepped back. Amber saw me release her like this. Unwilling, "Nathan, should I beat her up? Or just throw her in the river to feed the fish? Trash like this shouldn't exist in this world." I looked at Amber. "What? You want to trade your future for someone like this?" Amber heard me speak, still angry. "But we can't just let her off like this, can we?" By now, Derek had already run away. I watched her figure disappear into the darkness. I already called the police. Let them handle it. After Derek left, I looked at Amber and Celeste, who'd come all this way for my sake. "Have you two eaten? Let me treat you." Celeste naturally listened to me. Amber was excited. "Can I come too?" I smiled. "Come along. It's rare to graduate. We should celebrate a little." Finding a nearby barbecue restaurant, I ordered several pounds of crawfish. Amber wasn't polite with me either, calling her teammates from school to join. Hearing someone was treating, everyone was naturally happy. I sat beside Celeste drinking, resting my chin on my hand, asking Celeste, "Celeste, you're not drinking?" In front of Celeste was a bottle of water. "Not drinking." I continued, "Your friends look like they're having so much fun drinking." I looked over and suddenly said, "Your friends have such nice figures." Celeste heard me speak and turned to look at me. Seeing my appreciative expression, I'd just finished complimenting them when I saw Celeste staring at me. I thought to myself, I'm done for. I'd accidentally said my thoughts out loud. Celeste stared at me, her voice acidic as she called, "Nathan." Celeste rarely called my name like that. I looked at this girl. "I'm here." She stared at my sparkling eyes. Celeste heard me speak, reached out and directly covered my eyes. A cold voice sounded by my ear. "What are you looking at?" Amber didn't miss this scene, especially since in front of me, Celeste was always very reserved. Now seeing Celeste cover someone's eyes, she spoke up. "Celeste, what are you doing?" Celeste's face darkened. "Put on your jackets." Amber and everyone saw Celeste's serious expression and quickly put on their jackets. Only then did Celeste let go of me. She looked at me. "Are you done eating?" I rubbed my stomach. "Yeah." Drank 2 cans of soda, ate a ton of crawfish. Don't want to eat any more now. Celeste stood up. Then let's go. We left the barbecue restaurant, and as soon as we got in the car, I received a call from the police asking me to come in. Because I was the one who reported Derek's case, Celeste came with me. Derek's parents were already there. Looking at them, they didn't seem like bad people. Their attitude was very good, willing to apologize, really hoping we could settle. Their daughter had just finished her college entrance exams. Her life was just beginning. If I didn't settle, Derek would not only have to pay compensation, she'd also have a criminal record. Looking at Derek's parents' pitiful appearance, I felt very sorry for them. After feeling sorry, I expressed my intention to absolutely not settle. Not only would I not settle, I would also hire a lawyer to sue Derek, trying to get the heaviest sentence possible. After everything was done, I went home with Celeste. On the way, I was a bit tired. Looking at Celeste beside me, "Celeste, thank you." Celeste said softly, "Thank me for what?" I continued. "You brought people to help me handle this. You suddenly showing up at the school?" I was also a bit surprised. Celeste heard me finish, looked at me, and said nothing. Derek had previously lost a bet with me and was supposed to be expelled, but Brandon had pleaded on her behalf. Didn't expect she'd still cause trouble in the end. Truly wouldn't cry until she saw her coffin. Too bad this matter. Couldn't drag Brandon down with her. Although today at school was quite the commotion. Serena and Brandon had both lost a lot of face. But for me, all of this was far from enough. Serena had gone home. Since she got back, Mr. Wells had been scolding her. "I shouldn't have let you go to school. Your brain's been ruined by studying. What's so good about that Hayes kid? You think finding a poor boy means he'll treat you well?" Mr. Wells got more worked up as he spoke. "Your mother back then also thought I was too poor. That's why she ran off to New York, to find a rich man. Look if she even cares about you now, you little brat. I'm doing this for your own good. Don't even bother with college. It's useless anyway." Thinking about how Richard Crane had rejected him in front of so many people today, Mr. Wells was really very upset inside. They'd been so close. The Crane family fortune was almost his, but Serena had ruined the opportunity. Serena sat there listening to her father, not saying anything. She'd been used to it since she was little. Since the day her mother left, her father always said, her mother left because she thought he was too poor. She really wanted to say, the way he was, even if he had money, she'd still leave. But she was too lazy to argue. After scolding enough, Mr. Wells finally said to Serena, "Wake up early tomorrow. Come with me to the Crane house." Serena refused. "I'm not going. Go with you to be embarrassed? Do you know how people look at me now? How they're laughing at me behind my back?" Even now, she didn't dare look at her phone. She'd always not wanted others to know. She had a father like this. But now, the whole world knew she wasn't from a rich family. Her father was just a bootlicker, only hoping she'd latch on to a rich man. Mr. Wells sat down on the sofa, laughing at what? "I'm trying to get you an opportunity," Serena said to Mr. Wells. "I don't need that opportunity. From now on, don't interfere in my life anymore." "Otherwise," Mr. Wells said. "Otherwise what? You dare threaten me?" He said this and wanted to rush at Serena, intending to hit her. Serena blocked his hand. Serena was grown up now, and Mr. Wells naturally wasn't as strong as when he was younger. Serena pushed Mr. Wells to the ground. She gave him a cold look and went directly to her room. The next day, I had just woken up when I heard Mr. Wells's voice. He was sitting on our sofa, frowning as he said, "Mr. Crane, my daughter has grown her wings. She dares to fight back, you know. Since her mother left, I've raised her until now everyone can see how hard it's been. If I remembered correctly, it had always been Serena supporting him, not the other way around. Mr. Wells only knew how to gamble. So Serena had to earn money herself since she was young, picking up scrap metal and nails, old newspapers to sell, saving up a little pocket money. As for Mr. Wells, this father was completely unreliable. If it were before when Mr. Wells said this, I definitely would have defended her. But now I said nothing. I didn't want to manage Serena's affairs. I also knew Mr. Wells really wanted me to be with Serena. Richard Crane listened to Mr. Wells cry for half a day and spoke up. "She's grown up. You should think more about her. I've already told you." Mr. Wells said greedily, "I just want Nathan and Serena to be together." Richard Crane could barely hold back. "Do you think that's possible? If you stop causing trouble, I'll still consider her college education. If you keep dreaming, I won't manage your family's affairs anymore." After being scolded by Richard Crane, Mr. Wells said nothing more. Richard Crane directly had someone send Mr. Wells away. Seeing me standing nearby, Richard Crane said to me, "Call Serena later. Tell her to come over." I asked confused, "Why call her?" "Dad, you also saw yesterday. It has nothing to do with your matters." Richard Crane was afraid I'd overthink. "We're leaving in a few days. I have something to tell her." I didn't know what my father wanted, but still called Serena. Answering the phone, Serena's voice was still a bit cold. What is it? Yesterday I'd embarrassed her at school. She still remembered. I said, my father has something for you. He wants you to come to my house. That afternoon, Serena arrived. She walked in and saw me feeding Snowball. She walked over and looked at me. What is it? I looked up at her. My father is inside. Although she got the answer she wanted, Serena wasn't in a hurry to go in. Instead, she looked at me. Nathan, you're feeling pretty smug now, aren't you? I didn't understand where this came from. What am I smug about? Serena said, last night at the graduation ceremony, you made such a big show. Made me and Brandon lose face. Aren't you smug? I heard her speak, stood up, and looked at the woman before me. So now you want to take out your anger on me? Serena glared at me, not answering, seemingly admitting to my assumption. I looked at her. Didn't expect she could still be this shameless. What did I do last night? I don't think I did anything. Didn't you already clear yourself from the Derek thing? Serena quickly said. You know I'm not talking about that. I pretended to think seriously. Then what are you talking about? Could it be about how your father wanted to break you and Brandon up? Wanted me to be with you? And I refused? Serena said, you could have just pretended to agree. My father was just talking. If you'd agreed, would he have kept making a scene? Serena said this with complete confidence. I looked at her in disbelief. Why should I pretend to agree? Serena frowned slightly. Would it kill you to leave me some dignity? My expression was helpless. Why should I leave you any dignity? Serena had never hated me as much as at this moment. You just had to be so heartless. Had to show off your Celeste. Had to let the whole world know. Nathan already has Celeste, Serena said. Couldn't help raising her voice. You look down on me now. Making me lose all face. Are you happy now? I looked at her, silent for a few seconds. Before reacting. Because she felt embarrassed, I basked it became my fault for not leaving her dignity. I laughed lightly. Serena looked at me. Still not stopping, her eyes full of resentment. You clearly could have. Not mentioned that Brandon and I were together. As long as you didn't say it, my father wouldn't have said those things after. Wouldn't have had conflict with the Hayes family. You did it on purpose, didn't you? I thought for a moment. Then yes, I did it on purpose. Serena didn't expect me to admit it, and admit it so confidently. I raised my head. I don't see anything wrong with what I did. I do like Celeste more. I do look down on you. I don't want others to think that you and I would have any future. Even less do I want them to think. I'm using my power to steal you from Brandon's side. Serena looked at me disappointed. Nathan, you weren't this selfish before. You would think about me. Never did anything to put me in an awkward position. But since you've been with Celeste, I really don't recognize you anymore. My face was cold as ice, because I used to like you. But now I'd like nothing more than for you and Brandon to die together. Serena accused. You just don't want to see Brandon and me happy. If you love someone, you should want to see them happy. But you only want to destroy the person you like. Anyone liked by you is truly unfortunate. I sighed. Then you really have been wronged. This sentence of hers reminded me of what Serena said before I died. Being clung to by you every day was my nightmare. And now she was saying that whoever I liked was truly unfortunate. Serena continued, someone like you will never find happiness, even if Celeste is with you. Sooner or later, she'll be driven crazy by you. She just hasn't seen through you yet. After saying this, Serena turned and went inside. I watched her retreating figure, amused by her. I didn't stay outside either, and followed her in. Richard Crane came downstairs. Serena saw him and said politely, Mr. Crane. In front of my father, she was good at pretending to be nice again. Richard Crane said, sit down. Serena said, what did you want to see me about? She glanced at me, had I, tattled in front of her father, and Richard Crane was looking for her to make trouble? Then she heard Richard Crane say, your father came today. Serena stood up, looking embarrassed. I'm sorry, my father is like that. Yesterday in front of everyone, he said some inappropriate things. I already talked to him when I got home. Having a father like that, Serena also felt very embarrassed. Too bad people can't choose their birth, or their parents. Looking at her phone today, she found Brandon had blocked her. After her father's behavior last night, she understood why Brandon blocked her. Richard Crane said, your father is like that. It's been hard for you living with him. The reason I called you here today is mainly to tell you about your mother. Hearing Richard Crane mention her mother, Serena immediately focused. My mother? Richard Crane said. I looked at your grades. Getting into Qingbei University shouldn't be a problem. I met your mother before. She said, if you come to New York, you can look for her. She asked me to give you her contact information. Serena had never had contact information for her mother, Since her parents divorced, the two hadn't been in touch. Richard Crane had met her in New York. She'd asked about some things regarding Serena, but Mr. Wells absolutely wouldn't let her see her daughter. She could only ask Richard Crane to pass on a message. Serena heard news of her mother, and her eyes reddened. I looked at her, remembering how in my past life, after she learned about her mother, she'd had the same reaction. At that time, it was still winter break. Afterward, she went to New York, and I didn't know what happened. She came back before the new year was over. Knowing her reunion with her mother wouldn't go smoothly, I felt at ease. Serena took what she needed and left. Richard Crane looked at me. Seeing me sitting nearby, asked with concern, "Has Celeste confirmed when she's going back to New York?" I answered, "Friday." Richard Crane nodded. "You're going with her?" I gave a, Dad. "Do you want to come with us?" Richard Crane said, "You and Celeste go ahead. I'll come after I finish things here." I took a sip of water. "That works too. But I want to bring Snowball with me." Richard Crane said, "I'll arrange it for you. After I went to New York for college, I wouldn't come back here often. Having lived in New York for a while before, moving there this time wouldn't be troublesome." After a few days, Serena also arrived. That afternoon, I went to my uncle's estate. Passing by, I happened to see Serena. She was eating with her family. I had met Serena's mother before, so I recognized her at a glance. Besides Serena, her mother also had another daughter, around 10-something years old. Watching her mother treat her younger sister so well, Serena sitting beside them clearly couldn't fit in. I was watching intently when my uncle walked over, calling my name, Nathan. Serena was eating with her mother and looked up to see me. I wore sunglasses and left with my uncle. Chao Juyuan saw me and asked, "What were you just looking at?" "Saw Mrs. Shao from before." Chao Juyuan laughed. "You're interested in her." I lowered my head. "She's Serena's mother." My uncle knew Serena, so as soon as I said it, he understood. Looking at me, "Still prefer her?" "Much better than Celeste." I glanced at my uncle. "Celeste is on her way. She'll be here soon." How could Serena compare to her? What my uncle said was pretty funny. Chao Juyuan looked at me in disbelief. "Wait, what I told you last time? Did you not listen at all? I already told you not to be with Celeste." I followed my uncle into the restaurant, but you didn't give me a reason. After sitting down, my uncle looked at me, his expression serious. "Anyway, I wouldn't harm you." I leaned back. Well, my father wouldn't harm me either. He's very supportive of me and Celeste being together. Chao Juyuan picked up his glass and took a sip. Your father, to curry favor with the Thornton family, doesn't care about anything. Why would he care about his son's happiness? I called the waiter for a glass of ice water and continued speaking to my uncle. "If I remember correctly, last time you were quite close with Mrs. Thornton. I have reason to suspect she arranged for you to stop me from being with Celeste." Chao Juyuan turned his face away. "She didn't say that." I tapped my finger on the table. "Then why don't you want me with Celeste?" My few sentences left Chao Juyuan speechless. He looked at me. The drinks arrived. I sat there chewing on the straw, drinking happily, looking completely carefree. Fortunately, I was still young, so there was no rush to marry Celeste. Afraid of making me resistant, he stopped trying to persuade me. Chao Juyuan stood up. "I have something to do. You eat with Celeste later." I was surprised. "You're not staying with us?" Chao Juyuan glared at me. "I can see you don't need me around." After finishing his business, he came back and saw I was still sitting there alone. He walked over and stood beside me. "Where's Celeste?" My expression was worried. "She still hasn't arrived." "She's not answering my messages either." "Did something happen?" Chao Juyuan looked completely unconcerned. "What could happen to her?" I said seriously, "She said she'd come." Chao Juyuan looked somewhat pleased. "You just got stood up." Seeing me unhappy, he said, "All right, I'll ask for you." After all, he was quite familiar with the Thornton family. He made a phone call. 2 minutes later, he hung up and said to me, "Nothing's wrong. She's at home." I wondered, "Then why isn't she answering my calls?" Chao Juyuan said, "How would I know? Maybe she didn't want to come see you." "What can you do?" He said this while calling the waiter to serve the food. "Guess I'll have to eat with you after all." I didn't expect to be stood up by Celeste. I'd always thought she treated me pretty well. She shouldn't do something like this, but now she really hadn't come. I finished eating and still didn't see her call back. Leaving the restaurant, I happened to see Serena again. A luxury car was parked at the gate. She was with a man. This man wasn't young anymore, looked about her father's age. The man said, "Get in the car. I'll take you for a drive." Serena's face was cold. "No need. I want to go back." The man looked at Serena's pretty face. "Your mother already said she wants you to stay at my place for a few days." Seeing Serena wasn't very interested. "What, afraid I'll bully you?" He said this and reached out to touch her. but she dodged. The man looked at her and couldn't help laughing. He appraised Serena. Your mother already said before she left. She and I are good friends. Taking care of you is only right. Serena looked at this middle-aged man. He looked over 40, although quite handsome. The crow's feet at his eyes couldn't be hidden. She didn't know why her mother would tell her to stay at a complete stranger's house while taking her younger sister with her. Serena clearly didn't want to. Serena said, I should call you uncle. The man looked at Serena, took out a business card and handed it to her. Very well. Then come find me whenever you want. I don't force people. Then he got directly into his black Ferrari. I didn't expect that going out for a meal, I'd see such an interesting scene. Serena really had endless romantic attention. She'd just arrived and was already noticed by a rich man. Before I could leave, Serena turned around and happened to see me. I looked at her, couldn't help but smirk. Serena didn't expect to be seen by me in such an embarrassing situation. The driver came to open the car door for me. I got in the car. Serena felt like she'd been mocked and squeezed the business card in her hand tightly. She only felt her shoulders ache. Years of longing. She'd thought coming back to her mother would be wonderful. But after only 2 days, she'd clearly felt the difference. Although it was her biological mother, they had nothing to talk about. Her mother treated her younger sister very well. Her sister was always spoiled, getting whatever she wanted. But she couldn't. She didn't dare open her mouth at all. All of that was fine. What she didn't expect was that her mother would hand her over to a man like this and tell her to stay at his house for a few days. Her phone rang. It was her mother calling. Serena answered. Hello. Xiaoqin's voice was somewhat angry. What's wrong with you? Didn't I tell you to stay at his place for a few days? Why did you make him unhappy? Serena gritted her teeth. When Luna grows up, will you also send her to stay at some old man's house? Xiaoqin said. What are you saying? Serena laughed. Her father didn't love her. She'd thought her mother would treat her well. In her memories, her mother was like an angel, so much so that all these years, she'd always missed her mother. But she didn't expect this was what awaited her. Serena directly hung up, saying nothing more, because it no longer mattered. That evening, it was raining outside. I sat on the living room sofa, thinking about Serena's situation. In my past life, after her reunion with her mother, she'd also been silent for a long time. Could it have been the same in my past life? Because her mother wanted to set her up with a rich man. Just then, Mrs. Porter walked in. Young master, Miss Celeste is here. Hearing Celeste's name, my face darkened. She could come now, which meant she really didn't have anything wrong. She'd deliberately not answered my calls. I'd turned off my phone as soon as I got home. Tell her to go back. My uncle already didn't agree with us being together, yet I'd still spoken up for her. In the end, she pulled this on me. I wasn't without a temper. Mrs. Porter went out. Soon she came back in. She won't leave. Says she'll wait at the gate. Wait until you're not angry anymore to see her. I didn't care. Went straight upstairs. After showering, I played a few rounds of games. I lifted the curtain to look outside, thinking Celeste had already left. Didn't expect she was still there. The rain was heavy. She wasn't waiting in the car. Standing outside waiting. Seeing her soaked through, I couldn't bear it after all. I went downstairs. Mrs. Porter saw me come out and quickly held an umbrella for me. The villa gate opened. I walked out and looked at Celeste. The driver was trying to convince her to go back, but she refused. I looked at her. What are you trying to do? Celeste turned to look at me, joy showing in her eyes. Not angry anymore? I really was quite angry, because she was always like this, not answering messages at the drop of a hat. But seeing her like this, I really couldn't do anything to her. I lowered my voice. Come inside. Celeste quickly turned back to open the car door. I looked at her confused, saw her take out a cake box from the car. Back at the house, Mrs. Porter brought towels. Celeste was soaked through. I took a towel and wiped the water from her hair. You stood me up and then came running here for what? Celeste said. Something came up. Sorry, Nathan. I didn't mean to. My face darkened. If you couldn't come, then don't say you would. Made me say everything in front of my uncle, and then got mocked by him. My uncle was so pleased, just hoping Celeste and I would break up soon. Celeste said, my father suddenly wanted to see me. She stopped when she mentioned him. I froze, remembering how my uncle had always opposed me being with Celeste. I looked at her worriedly. Your father doesn't agree to you being with me? Celeste heard me and denied it. Probably not. He didn't mention anything about you. At this point, Mrs. Porter brought a change of clothes. Over. I told her to go take a bath first. After she came out, I dried her hair again. She looked at me. I'm sorry. By the time I was done, you'd already turned off your phone. My face darkened. I was about to die of anger. I was ready to never pay attention to you again. Because of what happened in my past life, Being played like that by Serena? Now I especially hated being a lapdog. I'd even thought on the way back, could Celeste also be tired of me? In my past life, although in the end she still remembered me, that was because we'd never been together. This year we'd spend most of our time together. Her getting tired of me would be normal. She apologized to me seriously. I'm sorry. I gave a, Celeste took the towel and dried her own hair. After drying, she said to me, Nathan, happy birthday. I heard her speak, looked at my watch, and only then realized it was past midnight. She'd waited at the gate for so long, made me unable to sleep either. Didn't expect she'd remembered my birthday. I said softly, You even specially brought a cake. Celeste smiled. Yeah! Mrs. Porter had already taken out the cake. A very beautiful cake, with a little prince on top. I looked at Celeste. She walked over. We sat down in the dining room, lit the candles. I made a wish. I closed my eyes and then opened them, and saw Celeste looking at me. She was wearing my short-sleeved t-shirt, but it didn't affect her beauty at all. The tenderness in her eyes made me a bit lost, because at the moment I closed my eyes, I suddenly remembered my 18th birthday in my past life. Seemed like there was no birthday, because my father was already gone. Because I was always hovering around Serena, my world only had Serena in it. But she was with Brandon every day. I was forced to take over company work every day, which was a lot of pressure for me. I felt like I'd been abandoned by the whole world. Now looking at Celeste, before me, I felt somewhat steady. I cut cake and gave her a piece. Two people ate cake together. I didn't have many friends in New York, could even say I had none, but having Celeste was enough. I felt very content. That night, Celeste didn't go back. Stayed at my place for a few days. Recently, I was taking my driving test, so I stayed home reviewing the test material and practicing driving. That afternoon, the two of us went to Chow Zhuan's place to eat. Having been there twice already, I really missed the delicious food at my uncle's place. As soon as we got out of the car, I heard someone call Celeste's name. I looked toward the voice and saw a man about my father's age. He wore glasses and looked refined. Beside him were Sophia and Mrs. Thornton, followed by a group of people. Mrs. Thornton said, Young Master Crane, what a surprise to see you two here. I said politely, Hello, Mr. Thornton, Mrs. Thornton. I wasn't stupid. They all appeared together. I could guess. This was Celeste's father. Alexander Thornton extended an invitation. It's a family dinner today. Celeste, bring Nathan along. Celeste looked at me. Seeing I didn't object, she agreed. Recently, I'd always suspected her family didn't like me. This worked out fine. Alexander Thornton and Mrs. Thornton walked ahead. Sophia came over to say to Celeste, Big sis. Celeste just gave the little girl a look in response. Sophia looked at me. Nathan, my sister is so cold. Normally, is she also this quiet in front of you? I looked at this little girl. She's fine. Sophia smiled and asked, My mom said, You're my sister's boyfriend. Is that true? Didn't expect Mrs. Thornton to talk about these things. I cleared my throat. Not yet. We haven't confirmed our relationship. Celeste heard me speak and looked at me. I walked beside her into the VIP room. Chow Zhuan personally received them, although it was just a family dinner. It was very grand. Besides me and Celeste, everyone had come dressed in formal attire. I looked at the flip-flops on my feet, immediately felt very underdressed. Because not everyone had arrived yet, I sat beside Celeste and said quietly, Your family dinners are this formal? Celeste nodded. She was probably very unaccustomed to this too, but her father was like this. Then why didn't they invite you before? So she really was excluded. I really couldn't help but feel. Celeste was the bullied one in the family. Celeste heard this and replied, They did invite me. I said I wasn't free. Her father had texted her yesterday, but she was with me, so she directly declined. Didn't expect to run into them today by chance. The two were whispering when Alexander Thornton suddenly spoke up. Nathan. I quickly looked up. Yes, Mr. Thornton. Alexander Thornton continued. It's a pleasure to meet you. Alexander Thornton and Celeste looked quite alike. But because of his age, he looked very seasoned. He also had an air of authority that couldn't be hidden. But his attitude was very amiable. I've been wanting Celeste to bring you over, so we could all have a meal together. But we were always busy before. Yesterday I mentioned it to her, but she declined. Running into you now must be fate. I'd originally thought the Thornton family definitely wouldn't like me, would really dislike me. Didn't expect meeting them showed otherwise. They didn't even show any displeasure at my casual attire. There were quite a few family members. I couldn't remember many after going around the table. Celeste even had an eldest uncle or something. Her father was the second in the family, but I did see a familiar face. It was the man who was talking to Serena at the gate the other day, who wanted to take Serena to his house. The man who drove the Ferrari. He arrived the latest. Everyone was used to his ways. Only the eldest uncle said a few words to him. Damien, why are you always late? He ignored it and sat down. It's just a family dinner. It's not a UN conference. Everyone's too uptight. I couldn't help but look at him. Mrs. Thornton saw me staring at him and introduced him to me. Nathan, this is Celeste's uncle. Damien Thornton's gaze fell on me, and he smirked. So this is Celeste's fiancé? Quite handsome. I said, hello, Uncle Thornton. Damien Thornton smirked at me. Looking at him, I kept remembering his encounter with Serena the other day. Dinner was almost over. Before leaving, I went to the restroom and saw Damien Thornton holding his phone, exchanging contact info with a pretty young girl. The girl didn't look old, probably only around 20. Damien Thornton happily said, remember to come find me tonight. The girl walked away, looking a bit shy. I saw this scene, my eyes wide with shock. Seeing me, Damien Thornton didn't say anything. I went into the restroom. Damien Thornton was fixing his hair. Uncle, Damien Thornton looked at me through the mirror and asked casually, how was that girl just now? Pretty? I froze. I was thinking, since I'd seen his business, would he try to silence me? Then I heard him ask so bluntly. I replied, quite pretty. Damien Thornton said, actually pretty average. Last time my friend said he wanted to introduce a girl to me. Now that one was beautiful. Too bad she's a bit stubborn. Now she won't even answer my messages. I was dying of embarrassment, thinking I wasn't even that close to Damien Thornton. It's not really appropriate to tell me these things, Uncle. I really didn't want to know their secrets. Damien Thornton heard me speak and gave a soft, humph. Are you looking down on me in your heart? I said, no. Damien Thornton said calmly, it's normal that you don't understand. When you reach my age, you'll know how great young women are. There's no forever 18-year-old girl, but there are always 18-year-old girls. After saying this, Damien Thornton was about to leave when he looked at me. What's your name again? I replied, Nathan Crane. Damien Thornton said, your mother chose that name. I just can't ever remember it. My eyes flashed. You knew my mother, Uncle? Damien Thornton smirked. I'm off. After saying this, he went out. When I came out, Celeste was waiting at the door. I walked over and asked, where did your family go? Celeste tilted her head to look at me. They all left. I smiled. Only you are the best. You always wait for me. Celeste looked at me. Remembering when we arrived, I'd said in front of Sophia that I wasn't her boyfriend yet. My expression was confused. Why are you looking at me? Celeste said, I have something to tell you. Her expression was particularly serious. Seeing her so serious, I asked uneasily, what? Are you going to confess to me? My words made her ears turn slightly red. She didn't know how to respond. After a while, Celeste slowly said, it's about school. I looked at her confused. What about school? Celeste seemed to have made a big decision before speaking. Nathan, I probably can't go to Qingbei with you. Although she'd had early admission to Qingbei long ago, I was also planning to go to Qingbei. Celeste felt that telling me this now seemed like she was letting me down, so she felt a bit guilty. She'd held this in for several days, not daring to tell me, afraid I'd be upset. I heard her speak and froze. Why? Celeste lowered her eyes. Because I have to go to military academy. This is also what my father wants. I've already agreed. The day I didn't come to see you, it was because someone from the school came. I looked at her very serious appearance. Her eyes had a bit of sadness, as if saying this would make me ignore her. My expression was one of disbelief. That's it, and you're making it so serious? She looked at me with some surprise. You're not angry? I said blandly, this is your goal, your life. I support whatever you choose. Besides, her going to military academy was definitely the right choice. In my past life, she did very well on this path. She couldn't change her life goals because of me. Celeste saw I wasn't angry and immediately breathed a sigh of relief. I really thought about it for a long time. Always didn't dare tell you. Recently, she'd been by my side, wanting to spend as much time with me as possible during this period. Because once she went to military academy, she'd definitely have less time to be with me. Couldn't devote all her attention to me. Seeing her like this, I reached out and tugged her sleeve to comfort her. Celeste, just follow your own plan. Do what you want to do. You'll definitely have a bright future. Celeste heard me speak and gave a I walked ahead, sighing. I thought you were going to confess to me. It made my heart race for so long. Celeste looked at my retreating figure and smiled helplessly. She'd wait a bit longer then. The college entrance exam scores were released. I did pretty well. Seeing the scores, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. The failure of my past life? Many things when not yet certain. I didn't dare be complacent. Celeste saw my scores and wasn't surprised at all. I was taught by her. She was very confident in me. I applied to Qingbei's law school, the same major as my mother. Successfully admitted. During the summer break, I also got my driver's license. I'd originally thought after getting my license, I could drive the Porsche my father gave me. Everywhere. Finally discovered getting the license was pretty smooth. But driving wasn't that easy. The car sat there, barely driven. After enrollment, Celeste also started school. Military academy management was quite special. I could frequently go home. Celeste couldn't. Sometimes she couldn't even come back on weekends. This finally made me understand why, when she said she was going to military academy, she'd been so guilty, as if she'd committed a big mistake. That afternoon, I went into the dorm and heard my roommates Kyle and Ethan chatting. Kyle said, "I heard the Thornton family's eldest daughter's boyfriend is at our school." Ethan asked, "Is that the eldest daughter who was brought back from Lakewood?" Kyle looked curious. "That's right." Hearing them mention Celeste, I cleared my throat. Kyle saw me and said politely, "Nathan, you're back?" I touched my nose and sat down at my spot. "I just heard you guys say something. Celeste's boyfriend? Had the thing between me and Celeste been exposed this quickly? I hadn't told anyone." Ethan looked at me curiously. "You know Celeste too?" Ethan patiently said, "We had a pretty good relationship before. Our families are both in New York, have a bit of money, but he wasn't close to me, so didn't think much of it." I thought to myself, I know her too well. I nodded. "I've heard of her." Kyle said, "I heard she's really beautiful, super good to her boyfriend, even has people protecting her boyfriend, not letting anyone bully him. Her boyfriend is really lucky, getting such a great woman." That's the Thornton family. Although their families also had a bit of money, the Thornton family was still an elite family they couldn't reach. Hearing others talk like this, I was naturally a bit happy. Remembering my past life, for a woman like Serena, I'd thrown away my bright future. Really too stupid. Ethan said, "Why suddenly bring her up?" Kyle said, "Because someone told me his identity." My heart skipped a beat. Since I'd entered school, I'd never mentioned to anyone about me and Celeste. I wanted to be low-key, didn't want to cause trouble. It had been hard enough to get a fresh start. I just wanted to peacefully finish college. Who outside was running their mouth, spreading my business everywhere? Ethan was also intrigued by Kyle. "Who is it?" I figured since it had come to this, rather than have Kyle say it, might as well confess myself. I raised my hand and said quietly, "Actually, Celeste's boyfriend is me." After I said this, Kyle looked at me and pressed my raised hand down. "Actually, my wife is also Lu Yifei." Ethan also added, "My wife is Tang Yen." Both of them were fans of Chinese Paladin 3. Kyle said, "Let's be serious. The eldest daughter's boyfriend is in the finance department. He's pretty good looking too." Celeste's boyfriend was in the finance department? Hearing the words, finance department, I immediately breathed a sigh of relief. They weren't talking about me. Almost made me confess everything. Since they didn't realize it, I didn't care anymore. Probably someone outside spreading false information. Then on the weekend evening when I was eating at home, I saw Kyle on the dorm QQ group. "Tag everyone, showing you all Celeste's boyfriend. My friend in finance sent this. Don't spread it around." Ethan was curious. "Send it quick." I was also wide-eyed waiting. Soon Kyle sent a photo. I'd originally wanted to see how interesting this was, but when I saw the person in the photo, I almost choked on my water. I put down my glass, picked up my phone, and zoomed in on the photo. Wasn't this Brandon? He was Celeste's boyfriend? Celeste probably didn't even know how to write his name. I messaged in the group, "Who said this is Celeste's boyfriend?" Kyle quickly replied, "Everyone's saying it. My friend has a pretty good relationship with the eldest daughter's boyfriend. They met when the eldest daughter was in Lakewood. They knew each other back then." Kyle changed position and continued typing. "Next weekend my friend is having a birthday party. Everyone's invited to eat at a hotel. The eldest daughter's boyfriend will be there. Maybe the eldest daughter will come too. Do you guys want to see the eldest daughter?" Ethan looked excited. "Let's all go then." This was getting more and more interesting. I'd heard Brandon also came to New York for college. I'd thought he might get back together with Serena, but didn't expect he'd become Celeste's boyfriend. I already hated him to the bone for what happened before. Derek had taken the fall for Brandon. Didn't expect Brandon still wasn't done. Now he even wanted to latch on to Celeste, really giving him too much face. Saturday afternoon, I sat on the sofa, holding my phone logged into Celeste's QQ account. Harvested her farm crops for her, then mine. She rarely used her phone now. I helped manage her account. Mrs. Porter brought a suit over. "Young master, this is the suit LV sent over. Is this one okay for tonight?" I looked at it. "This one's fine." Kyle said they should wear suits. After all, it was his friend's birthday party. I naturally had to dress up a bit too. I put down my phone and stood up to try on the clothes. Mrs. Porter stood beside me adjusting my bow tie. Just then, a servant came up. Young master, there's a Mrs. Xiao here. I couldn't recall who that was for a moment. Took off my jacket and went downstairs. Saw a familiar woman sitting on the sofa. It was Serena's mother I'd met before, Xiao Qin. Richard Crane was receiving her. Xiao Qin's eyes were red. Mr. Crane, no matter what, please help me find Serena. She won't answer her phone. I can't reach her no matter what. Richard Crane said, I'll contact you if I find her. Xiao Qin said, Thank you, Mr. Crane. You're too kind. Richard Crane had someone see her and her assistant out. I came downstairs and asked my father, what was she here for? Richard Crane sighed, thought Serena was with us. So, she came looking. I couldn't help being annoyed. Isn't Serena her daughter? Why doesn't she look herself? Instead of asking you to help? You're too kind, Dad. Richard Crane sighed. She doesn't have a choice. After all, Serena is her and Mr. Wells's child. It's inconvenient to trouble her current husband. Her husband doesn't have the best temperament either. If he found out, they'd definitely fight. That girl Serena too. She's all alone in New York now, not contacting anyone. Has she come looking for you? My expression was calm. No. Richard Crane said, I'll have someone look for her. I said, Dad, can you not get involved in Serena's business? Richard Crane looked up at me without answering. Just asked, are you going out? Knowing my father would get involved in Serena's affairs anyway. I didn't bother saying more. I went upstairs to change and went to the hotel address Kyle sent. Kyle and Ethan had already arrived, waiting at the entrance. Both were dressed quite sharply. I went into the ballroom with them. As soon as I entered, I saw Brandon. He was surrounded by a group of people, still looking like he was being praised. Really had to hand it to him. Wherever he went, everyone adored him. After not seeing him for a while, I still remembered Brandon's embarrassed look at the graduation ceremony before. Being talked about like that by Serena's father had made him lose all face. Didn't expect meeting again. He'd look all bright and shiny again. The clothes on him weren't cheap either. Also like me, wearing an LV suit, just a different style. Kyle led me and Ethan over to greet his friend. His friend, Lucas G, was tonight's main character. Lucas G saw Kyle and enthusiastically came over. Kyle, you're here. Kyle quickly introduced, Happy birthday. These two are my roommates, Nathan Crane and Ethan Chen. Lucas G looked at me and Ethan and smirked. Everyone come on over. Oh, right, let me introduce you to my good friend. Lucas G said this and walked over to Brandon, putting his arm around Brandon's shoulder. Let me introduce everyone. This is the Thornton family's eldest daughter's boyfriend, Brandon Hayes. He's also my roommate. As soon as Lucas G finished speaking, Brandon said to Lucas G, Lucas, don't say that. Don't. Lucas G laughed. What's there to be afraid of? Everyone here today is my good friend. They won't spread rumors, right? Everyone? Everyone answered. That's right, don't worry. Because everyone's attention was on Brandon. No one paid attention to me. Seeing this scene, I couldn't help but speak up, directly calling Brandon's name. Brandon. Brandon looked up. Seeing it was me, he stiffened, a flash of discomfort crossing his face. I said, didn't expect to see you here. Kyle looked at me, shocked. You know the eldest daughter's boyfriend? I looked at Brandon, a bit uncomfortable because of my appearance. I know Brandon, but he's not anyone's boyfriend. As soon as I finished speaking, Lucas G's face darkened as he looked at me. What do you mean? I walked over, standing in front of Brandon. Haven't seen you in months. When did you become Celeste's boyfriend? How come I don't know? Aren't you ashamed lying like this? Clearly Celeste had no relationship with him. I didn't know what he was thinking, even claiming this. Lucas G had been hanging out with Brandon for a while, and had long become good friends with Brandon. Seeing me talk like this, his face darkened. Who are you? You come to my turf saying this stuff? Brandon is my friend. What's with your attitude? The eldest daughter already said, her boyfriend can't be bullied. Don't know where Kyle brought you from. Some tactless guy, coming here to cause trouble with the eldest daughter's boyfriend. Lucas G immediately looked at Kyle beside him. Kyle, do you just bring anyone here? This is my birthday party. Now it's ruined because of you. Kyle said, sorry. After saying this, he looked at me. Nathan, what's wrong with you? Do you know who that is? That's the eldest daughter's boyfriend. Offend the Thornton family, and there's no way out. Don't drag us down with you. I put my hands in my pockets and continued, do you believe him or me? What if I said I'm actually Celeste's boyfriend? Kyle frowned. Joking around in the dorm is one thing. Why are you saying this stuff now? After saying this, he said to Brandon, sorry, Brandon. It's all my friend's fault. It's his first time here, and he doesn't know any better. Please don't hold it against him. Brandon looked at me, and a smile appeared on his face. Long time no see, Nathan. I looked at Brandon, thought he was going to play dumb. Lucas G looked at Brandon. You know him? Brandon introduced. He's my high school classmate. Also from Lakewood, like me. Didn't expect to meet here. What a coincidence. Lucas G said, since you know him, why did he come in like this? I stared at Brandon. Now everyone outside is saying you're Celeste's boyfriend. I want to ask what's going on. Brandon looked at me calmly. I didn't say this. They spread it themselves. Brandon looked at Lucas G. Lucas G saw him looking at him, full of blame, immediately embarrassed. Sorry, Brandon. I'll handle this. After saying this, he stepped forward and said to me, what I said just now, I said it myself. Brandon really didn't say. He was the eldest daughter's boyfriend. My expression was mocking. Lucas G looked at everyone to explain. Brandon said, he and the eldest daughter haven't confirmed their relationship. He never said he was the eldest daughter's boyfriend. It was when I was hanging out with him. I accidentally guessed it. The eldest daughter had also mentioned before that her boyfriend was at school. After Lucas G finished seeing, everyone agreed. He looked at me and continued, if you want to make a big deal out of this, there's no need. Whether or not he's the eldest daughter's boyfriend now, it won't affect him becoming the Thornton family's son-in-law in the future. I watched him protect Brandon. Had to say, Brandon had found another lapdog. Lucas G saw me still causing trouble and said, since you say you know the eldest daughter, why don't you call her now? She can't answer the phone right now. Celeste wasn't coming back this weekend. She rarely used her phone now. Military Academy management was already very strict. Celeste's instructor now paid special attention to her, so she had almost no time to play with her phone. Lucas G heard me speak and laughed coldly. Is it that she can't answer the phone, or that you don't have the eldest daughter's number? I said, of course I have it. I don't think you do. If you have the number, why don't you dare call? I looked at Brandon beside him. Why am I the only one who has to call? Doesn't he need the call? Lucas G continued to defend. Brandon calls the eldest daughter at school every day. Of course I believe him. I smirked. Brandon could call Celeste? Why didn't I believe that? Then have him make a call right now. Lucas G said, you came to my birthday party, and you're even doubting my word. Lucas G looked at Kyle. Kyle, if your friend keeps being this unreasonable, I'm really going to get angry. Kyle looked at me, lowering his voice. Nathan, if there's anything, we can talk about it back at the dorm. Or, let's just leave first. Don't be like this. Kyle didn't want to cause trouble either. I looked at Kyle. Lucas G already said, Brandon is the eldest daughter's boyfriend. I just can't accept him impersonating the eldest daughter's boyfriend here. The main thing was, Kyle also didn't think Brandon was lying. You're not the eldest daughter's boyfriend either. What? Does this have to do with you? Even if he's lying, it's not our business. I looked at Brandon. Since you said you can call, why don't you call Celeste now? If you can really get through, I'll believe you. Brandon heard me speak and took out his phone. I can call. I didn't expect Brandon to agree. Brandon, in front of everyone, directly made a call, even put it on speaker. Everyone seeing this held their breath. Soon the call was answered. A woman's voice came through. Hello, babe, why are you suddenly calling me? Hearing this, I froze. This voice was quite similar to Celeste's. Brandon looked at me and spoke to the person on the phone. Celeste, I'm at my roommate's birthday party. I just suddenly missed you, so I called. The woman on the other end laughed. I miss you too. Kiss, babe. I'll come pick you up when I'm done. Brandon hung up after saying this. As soon as Brandon hung up, everyone else was envious. So sweet. The eldest daughter even calls him babe. I want to find a girlfriend like that too. Brandon looked at me. Any more questions? I admitted I was a bit shocked. How was that Celeste's voice? It's just compared to Celeste. The woman on the phone was clearly much more cloying. Celeste couldn't possibly say things like that. I was a bit skeptical. Just having a similar voice doesn't mean it's Celeste. Brandon looked at me. But that is Celeste. Why do you think she couldn't like me? Are you jealous? Lucas G looked at me, already getting angry. Does the whole world have to revolve around you? You can't provide any evidence that you have a relationship with the eldest daughter. But Brandon can. What else do you have to say? Either you apologize to Brandon now, or I'll have to ask you to leave. Although I couldn't call Celeste, I had photos with her. Wasn't that evidence? Everyone looked at me. Let's see the photos then. I took out my phone and opened photos with Celeste. We'd taken photos when we were together. Sometimes it was me sitting beside her, holding up the phone for a selfie together. Sometimes it was me taking photos of her. Kyle took my phone, looking at the woman in the photos. She really was beautiful. Kyle said, Is this really Celeste? Ethan said, I heard Celeste is very beautiful. Lucas G said, let me see. He walked over. Kyle handed him the phone. Lucas G looked at the photo, then at me, not very sure, and gave it to Brandon to see. Is this person Celeste? Brandon looked at the photo and nodded. Yes. Kyle said, so that means Nathan really is the eldest daughter's boyfriend. Brandon had admitted Nathan wasn't lying. Seeing Brandon admit it, Kyle also breathed a sigh of relief. He'd thought I was talking nonsense. Lucas G said, but Brandon, why does Nathan have photos of Celeste? Lucas G suspiciously glanced at me. Brandon said, Nathan's father knows Celeste's family. They're together sometimes, so it's normal to have photos. Lucas G curiously asked, then which of you two is actually Celeste's boyfriend? Brandon smiled. Even having photos doesn't mean boyfriend and girlfriend, right? I also have photos with Celeste. Seeing him make claims without evidence, I immediately exposed him. Impossible. Brandon, what are you playing at? Celeste and he have absolutely nothing in common. She was always with me before enrollment. How could she have taken any photos with Brandon? Brandon took out his phone and opened photos to show Lucas G. Lucas G returned the phone to Kyle, then took Brandon's phone to look. Looking at Lucas G's shocked expression, I was a bit confused, not knowing what Lucas G saw. Lucas G looked at me. Although you also have photos of the eldest daughter, you can tell. You two aren't that close, not like our Brandon. One look at his photos and you can see who the eldest daughter likes. Kyle was curious. He really has photos of Celeste? I don't believe it. Let me see. He took the phone back and also froze slightly seeing the photo, then looked at me a bit stiffly. He was a bit hesitant, but still brought the phone over and held it in front of me. On it was Celeste, hugging Brandon. She was even kissing Brandon's cheek. The two people in the photo were obviously in love. In comparison, photos of me and Celeste really didn't look that close. The two of us had never confirmed our relationship. Plus Celeste in front of me was never intimate, always quite reserved. Looking at the photo, I was really surprised. Brandon looked at me. I know she's very outstanding. You also want to be the Thornton family's son-in-law. But the person she likes is me, not you. Don't scheme against my girlfriend, just because you're jealous. As soon as Brandon said this, Lucas G immediately turned to look at me. Nothing to say now, right? I picked up my phone to call Celeste, and found it was turned off. But just now, Brandon had clearly gotten through. So there was only one possibility. The person who answered Brandon's call wasn't Celeste at all. Kyle saw my shocked expression and pleaded on my behalf. Lucas, Nathan probably didn't know. The eldest daughter was really dating Brandon, but it does prove he really knows the eldest daughter. We're all friends. Don't make things hard for him. Lucas G said, I don't have any objections. We're not close anyway. Brandon, what do you think? If you're unhappy, I can just kick him out. Brandon looked at my reaction and said to Lucas G, forget it. He just likes Celeste. Don't hold it against him. He looks pretty sad anyway. Lucas G said, you're too kind. No wonder the eldest daughter likes you. The Shao family sent a driver to pick up Kyle. Kyle wasn't at ease and conveniently dropped me home. Seeing I wasn't talking on the way, he kept comforting me. Nathan, don't be too sad. Actually, liking the eldest daughter is normal, but you have to understand, people like us, wanting to be liked by the eldest daughter is very difficult. I heard Kyle speak and looked at him, smiling a bit helplessly. I was fine. Not talking wasn't because I was sad. I was just thinking, what was up with Brandon's photos? The car stopped at my gate. I said goodbye to Kyle and turned to go in. Almost bumped into Serena at the gate. Her mother had just come looking for Serena during the day. Didn't expect she'd show up at my house that evening. Had to say my father worked really efficiently. Richard Crane had originally wanted Serena to contact her mother, but Serena refused, and even told Richard Crane not to receive her mother anymore, and not to reveal her whereabouts. It was clear, Serena seemed to have strong opinions about her mother. As for the specific reason, Richard Crane couldn't get it out of her, so he didn't push further. Serena said goodbye to Richard Crane and was about to leave. When she ran into me, she'd been working part-time before, then went to school after enrollment. Qingbei was very large. She was studying information technology. Although we were at the same school, she hadn't run into me. She stared at me, not knowing what she was thinking. I was too lazy now to greet her. I was about to leave when Serena quickly spoke up. How are things between you and Celeste lately? As soon as she mentioned it, I immediately remembered Brandon and Celeste's photos. I said, why are you asking this? Serena said, just curious. Want to know if you're doing well lately? As she reached the end, she lowered her head. Looking regretful, a lot has happened lately. Suddenly realized I really was blind before to treat you so badly. After leaving the Crane house, she'd realized no one valued her. Her biological mother was no exception. Before, she'd thought her mother was the best person in the world, but her mother didn't want her, and even wanted to use her. Before, she'd thought her grades were good, but after entering Qingbei, she realized this place wasn't lacking people with good grades. Everyone's grades were better than hers. Even everyone's family background was better than hers. Seeing her say these things, I laughed lightly. Of course it was a mocking laugh. Didn't expect. Serena would also have a day when she realized her mistakes. Of course I also knew she didn't truly think she was wrong. It's just that now, there was no one to be her lapdog anymore, to shoulder burdens for her. Now her life wasn't going well. Naturally, she remembered how good I used to be. Luckily, I ran into her. Looks like she hasn't been in contact with Brandon lately. Serena lowered her head. He and I stopped contacting long ago. He blocked me after the graduation ceremony. My voice was sour. Then you're doing worse than him. He's with Celeste now. Now he's Celeste's boyfriend. Everyone at Qingbei knows. Serena looked incredulous. He's Celeste's boyfriend? How is that possible? Then you and Celeste? She looked at me. Could Celeste have dumped me for Brandon? I didn't explain anything. Directly went into the house. Serena looked at my retreating figure, as if seeing my sad expression. Before, she'd left me for Brandon. Now Celeste was doing the same, so I must be very sad. The next day, Serena inquired at school, and really did hear about the Thornton family's eldest daughter's boyfriend, especially after Lucas G's birthday party last night, although everyone had said this wouldn't be spread around. But everyone has a curious nature. Everyone told their close friends. Before long, all of everyone's close friends knew about this. Serena naturally also found out. That afternoon, when Brandon had just finished class, he was stopped by female students at school. Brandon looked at the two girls in front of him. The clothes they wore looked expensive. Seemed like their family backgrounds were pretty good. Each of them held out a bag to Brandon. For you. When you're free, could you come to our house for dinner? Brandon said, I'm sorry. I have a girlfriend. The taller girl said, that's not what we mean. We know you're the eldest daughter's boyfriend. It's our parents who want to invite you to dinner. Could you give us some face? Brandon reached out to take the bags, looking at the wrapped items inside, but could feel they were quite valuable. He was about to return the gifts. That's okay. I won't accept the gifts. Take them back. The two girls saw he'd already taken them. Naturally couldn't take them back. Zhang Jing quickly said, it's just a small token. Don't feel pressured. We just want to be friends. Oh right, my name is Zhang Jing. She's Zhang Tian, Brandon said politely. I'll remember your names, but no need for gifts. Zhang Jing pulled Zhang Tian to leave. It's fine. We'll go first. Serena saw this scene and walked up to him. Brandon saw Serena suddenly appear, froze, his face darkening. Why is it you? Serena looked at the bags in his hands. Popular now. Aren't you? Brandon said awkwardly. They kept insisting. I didn't want to accept. Serena saw him being a bit fake for the first time. If you didn't want to accept, you shouldn't have taken them in the first place. I heard you're now Celeste's boyfriend. How come I didn't know? When did you get to know Celeste? Brandon didn't dare meet her eyes. My business is none of your concern. We're already over. Serena looked at him, somewhat unwilling. When did we ever say we broke up? All these years. Didn't you say you really liked me? Brandon saw her still bringing up the past, was a bit annoyed. I don't like you anymore. He continued, at the graduation ceremony, your father said someone like me wasn't worthy of you. Was I supposed to keep clinging to you? Even if I were with you now, my parents wouldn't support it. Brandon got more worked up as he spoke. Serena, because of you, I became a laughingstock for so many people. My parents told me to block you. What could I do? Are you here to blame me now? He said, his eyes reddening. Serena looked at him, remembering her father's words at that time. They really had embarrassed them both. She softened her tone. I don't expect you to make up with me. After all, nobody wants someone like me anyway. I just want to ask what's going on between you and Celeste. Are you really together? Brandon said, this is none of your business. It's all rumors from outside. I never said Celeste and I are together. Serena didn't understand. So it's fake? Why don't you explain? Brandon said, why should I explain? I never said anything. Can I control what other people think? Am I supposed to do nothing every day and go explain to everyone one by one? Seeing Serena not saying anything, Brandon said, I have to go. He said this and directly left, his hands still carrying the gifts people gave him. Because Celeste was busy, everyone at school was saying, Brandon was Celeste's boyfriend. My roommates thought every day that I was the one who got dumped. Every time we met, they wanted to comfort me. I really couldn't do anything about them, so I went out to eat with my cousin. Wanted to eat something good to change my mood. Ethan Chow was Chow Ji-won's son, 2 years older than me. Seeing me staring at his clothes, Ethan Chow looked down. What's wrong with my clothes? You keep looking at me. I couldn't help being surprised. You have this outfit too? Ethan Chow laughed. What? You seen this outfit somewhere else? I said, saw someone wearing it before? At Lucas G's birthday, Brandon wore exactly this outfit. Didn't expect coming to eat with my cousin today. My cousin was wearing the same thing. Ethan Chow laughed. How is that possible? This outfit of mine is one of a kind in the world. Pre-ordered and haven't even worn it yet. How could anyone else have it? I leaned in closer. Even reached out to touch it. No way. It's clearly exactly the same. I couldn't have seen wrong. Even the material is the same. Ethan Chow said, all right. You must have studied yourself stupid. Is law school that hard? Ethan Chow took a sip of water and continued. Want to come along this weekend? You've been in New York for a while. You should get to know people. Don't just stay cooped up all day. I gave an, sure. It was rare for my cousin to invite me out. I thought I should go out and make some New York friends. Otherwise, when I go out, people won't know who I am. When I say I'm Celeste's boyfriend, I still have to find ways to prove it. After eating, Ethan Chow dropped me off at the dorm. Going home to change, remembering what I said, he couldn't help but go through his closet. Ethan Chow called out, Wan Yi. Soon, a middle-aged woman appeared at the door. Young master. Where's my oatmeal-colored dress shirt? I clearly remember it was hanging here. That's my favorite dress shirt. Why is it gone? At this point, the middle-aged woman's face flashed with a barely noticeable unease, then said, I saw it was a bit dirty before, so I sent it out for cleaning. Ethan Chow was disappointed. Looks like I can't wear it this weekend then. Soon, it was Saturday evening. I followed Ethan Chow to the ballroom. Ethan Chow introduced me to quite a few people, including some celebrities. Although the Chow family wasn't a prestigious family, Chow Ji-won ran an estate, often hosting distinguished guests for New York's elite here. He had close relationships with many people. Even the current Mrs. Thornton had a good relationship with him, so everyone gave him face. Ethan Chow also knew quite a few people. The two of us made the rounds, then stopped. Ethan Chow handed me a glass of water. Tired yet? I said. I'm fine. While talking, I saw in the crowd, Brandon appeared wearing an oatmeal-colored dress shirt, with Lucas G beside him. Lucas G accompanied him greeting others. Although it was his first time at this kind of party, Brandon wasn't timid at all. Soon, he'd added quite a few contacts. Seeing me keep looking elsewhere, Ethan Chow also looked over. What are you looking at? And saw the oatmeal-colored dress shirt. That had disappeared from his closet a few days ago, now being worn by another man. Isn't that Wan Yi's son? Why is my clothing on him? Ethan Chow didn't stop, directly walked over. I saw Ethan Chow stride over quickly, and followed my cousin's steps. Ethan Chow grabbed Brandon's arm with one hand. Brandon was talking to someone. Ethan Chow's sudden attack made him stop. Ethan Chow pulled the unprepared Brandon. Come with me. Pulled Brandon to the side. Lucas G also followed. What's going on? Mr. Chow. Seeing it was Ethan Chow, he immediately lowered his stance. Ethan Chow didn't care about others. Just stared at Brandon. Where did you get this shirt? Why is my clothing on you? Hearing Ethan Chow mention the clothing on him, Brandon immediately reacted. This was the young master of the house where his mother worked as a housekeeper. Since he came to New York for college, his mother wasn't at ease, so she followed him to New York to find work as a nanny. That employer was quite wealthy. The young master had many clothes he didn't wear, all kinds of dress shirts and suits. Brandon had to attend these kinds of events, so he borrowed them temporarily. With so many clothes in the closet, missing one wouldn't be noticed. But he didn't expect to be caught by Ethan Chow here. I was also stunned. Not understanding what happened. Ethan, you know him? Ethan Chow said. More than just know him. I'm about to die of anger. His mother is the housekeeper I just hired 2 months ago. 2 days ago I asked her where this shirt was. She said she sent it for cleaning and it hadn't come back. Turns out it's on her son. No wonder last time you said you saw someone dressed like me. Turns out he was secretly wearing my clothes. Last time I'd already found it strange. Brandon's family conditions weren't that good. He could impersonate Celeste's boyfriend. But where did the clothes on him come from? Could Celeste really have bought them for him? Turns out the answer was here. Ethan Chow was really angry right now. His custom-made high-end dress shirt was being worn by the housekeeper's son. Moreover, who knows how many times he'd secretly worn it. How unlucky. He said to Brandon, your mother seemed like a good person. Didn't expect both mother and son are thieves. Brandon said quietly, I didn't know this shirt was yours. Ethan Chow froze. What did you say? Then said, not knowing means you can just wear it? Brandon said. My mother said she borrowed the clothes. The other party agreed. I didn't know about this. Ethan Chow looked furious. Taking things without permission is stealing. I'll call the police to handle this. Lucas G timidly spoke up. Mr. Chow. Ethan Chow only then glanced at him. What? Lucas G asked in disbelief. You're saying Brandon is your housekeeper's son? Ethan Chow laughed coldly. What? You got a problem with that? When hiring, I heard her son studied at Qingbei, so I gave her a chance. Didn't expect this kind of character. Lucas G looked at Brandon in disbelief. Brandon's face remained very calm, not a hint of panic. I really didn't know about this. If I'd known beforehand, I definitely wouldn't have let my mother do this. It's just a shirt. I'm not that kind of vain person. Hearing him say he wasn't vain, I laughed. Not vain, but secretly wearing other people's clothes? He was always like this, pushing all responsibility away when something happened, and now pushing the responsibility onto his mother. Seeing him so nonchalant, Lucas G couldn't help feeling admiration. Although his mother was just a housekeeper, it didn't affect Celeste liking him. Even with a poor background, he wasn't insecure. This was probably why Celeste liked him. Lucas G said to Ethan Chow, Mr. Chow, it's just a shirt. Don't hold it against him. Ethan Chow laughed coldly. Not hold it against him? You've got some nerve. Why should I not hold it against him? Your housekeeper wearing your clothes out to show off? You wouldn't hold it against him? Lucas G said, I don't have that nerve. It's just Brandon definitely didn't know. He's now the Thornton family's eldest daughter's boyfriend. With the eldest daughter's status, whatever he wants, wouldn't the eldest daughter give it to him? But he has nothing. Proves he's not a vain person. Ethan Chow looked at Lucas G, blinking. What did you say? Lucas G explained, he's Celeste's boyfriend. You didn't know? Hearing Celeste mentioned, Ethan Chow turned to look at me. How is he related to Celeste? I looked at Brandon. You still don't plan to tell the truth? You're out here impersonating Celeste's boyfriend. What your family situation really is, you know best. Now that you've been caught by my cousin, you still want to keep up the act? Hearing me speak, Brandon raised his head and said to me, I've never hidden my family background, and I've never said I'm anyone's eldest daughter's boyfriend. But as for things between me and Celeste, you all saw it last time. I'm not lying. You can't, just because I'm housekeeper's son, deny my relationship with Celeste. If Mr. Chow wants to call the police, that's fine. It's just my mother said the Chow family treats us well. After all, they're my mother's employers. I don't want to make things too ugly either. Lucas G heard this and said to Ethan Chow, Mr. Chow, you see, Brandon really is a good person. He's thinking of you too. I know your father even knows Mrs. Thornton. But even Mrs. Thornton probably wouldn't dare disrespect the eldest daughter, right? Ethan Chow frowned. Knowing his father was close with Mrs. Thornton wasn't wrong. But how could Mrs. Thornton offend Celeste? For their family's sake? So, if it really involved Celeste, he really couldn't do anything either. But Brandon spoke so confidently. Lucas G firmly believed him. Being threatened by Brandon, Ethan Chow was furious. Just then my phone rang. I answered the phone. Hello? Celeste's voice came through. Nathan. Receiving her call, I froze and said to Ethan Chow, Ethan, I need to step out for a moment. Didn't expect Celeste to call. I went to the door, holding the phone. It was crowded inside just now. I'm out now. Celeste said gently, Where are you? I'll come pick you up. It had been a long time since I'd heard Celeste's voice for some reason. I hadn't seen her yet, but I could already feel Brandon's photos were all fake. I told Celeste the address. Wait for me downstairs at the hotel. As soon as I hung up, Ethan Chow had already come out, still carrying his anger as he walked. What's going on between you and this Celeste? No wonder my dad said not to let you be with her. Before I even spoke up for you. I think she's really a bad woman. Stay away from her from now on. I explained. There's a misunderstanding. Ethan Chow was really furious. Misunderstanding? What misunderstanding? She's the Thornton family's eldest daughter. Only with her father backing her would she bother with you. Let me tell you, none of the Thornton women are good. Don't trust her too much. I thought of Celeste. She's probably not that bad. Although I wasn't entirely sure what kind of person she really was. But the feeling Celeste gave me was always quite steady. Ethan Chow continued muttering, You're too trusting. No wonder about the relationship. The way I see it, building your own career, living your life well, isn't that better? I went along with my cousin. You're right. Celeste said she'd come. I'll go down and wait for her. Arguing with Brandon was useless. Better to just ask Celeste directly. Ethan Chow went downstairs with me. Lucas G also followed Brandon out of the party. Lucas G said to Brandon, Brandon, You really know Celeste, right? For some reason, when Ethan Chow got angry, he became a bit uncertain. Couldn't help wanting to confirm with Brandon. Brandon looked at Lucas G. My girlfriend's here. I'll go say hello to her. Lucas G. looked expectant. Your girlfriend? Isn't that the eldest daughter? Can I meet her? Brandon nodded. Ethan Chow and I came out of the hotel. Ethan Chow got angry just thinking about Brandon. When you see Celeste, don't give her any face. Just break up directly, you hear? I reassured him. Let me ask first. Ethan Chow hadn't met Celeste, but he and Celeste really didn't have any good impressions. Don't let her sweet talk you with a few words later. I thought Celeste hadn't arrived yet, was holding my phone about to call her. Suddenly heard someone call me, Nathan. I turned and saw Celeste standing in front of me. She was completely different from the photos before. It had been a while since we'd seen each other. She'd cut her hair short, and was also a bit more tanned. But she was still beautiful. Actually, I'd never met Celeste. After she joined the military in my past life, I never got to see her one last time. Later, when I was reborn, meeting her again was during high school. I stared at her, thinking, if I'd really met her in my past life, would she have looked like this too? Perhaps Celeste in her 30s would be more mature than now. I couldn't imagine it. But seeing her right now, I really couldn't take my eyes off her. Ethan Chow saw Celeste, and was momentarily shocked by her too. He said softly, You're Celeste? With someone so beautiful, having a bit of romance was understandable. Celeste said, You are, I quickly introduced. This is my cousin, Ethan Chow, my uncle's son. Celeste walked over to my side and said to me, I just heard him tell you to break up with me. Although Celeste's face showed no expression, Ethan Chow felt like she was tattling. Ethan Chow quickly said, I was talking nonsense. You two talk. Afraid she'd come after him? Ethan Chow quickly walked away. Seeing him go far, I looked at Celeste. You cut your hair. She touched her head. Does it look bad? She looked at me while talking, as if a bit afraid I'd criticize her. I said, You look beautiful no matter what. Being complimented, Celeste shyly lowered her head. As long as you like it. While the two of us were talking, the two women who came with Celeste stood to the side and stepped back a bit. Couldn't bear to watch. The young lady from a good family was still the best. Not like them, single dogs. Just as I was talking with Celeste, Lucas G suddenly came out and saw me here with a woman. The two of us were being affectionate. Although there were no intimate gestures, one look and you could tell something was going on. My gaze fell on Lucas G. If Lucas G hadn't appeared, I would have forgotten about Brandon. I'd originally planned to bring Celeste up to see. Didn't expect Lucas G to come out on his own. Why was he alone? Lucas G glanced at Celeste, because Celeste had her back turned. He only saw a tall girl, didn't see Celeste's face. Plus, in the photos he'd seen before, Celeste had long hair. He didn't think of Celeste, just laughed coldly. Didn't you brag before, saying your girlfriend was Celeste, not pretending anymore? I found it funny. What are you doubting? Lucas G said, You really are shameless. Brandon treats you as a friend, yet you still try to pursue his girlfriend. We were almost fooled by you. Hearing him say I was shameless, Celeste's eyes quickly turned cold. She turned to look at Lucas G. Who are you calling shameless? Lucas G had never met Celeste. Although he saw her face, because it was evening and quite far, he couldn't see clearly. He just saw she had a nice figure, full of presence. He mocked, calling the man beside you shameless. He's been saying outside that his girlfriend is the Thornton family's eldest daughter. Celeste, you probably don't know about this. As soon as he finished speaking, the two women who had come down with Celeste walked over, one of them wearing sunglasses, raised her hand and slapped Lucas G. This slap directly knocked Lucas G to the ground. Lucas G was dazed from being hit. Fuck, you dare hit me? As soon as he said this, the woman gave him another slap. Watch your mouth. Don't even look at who you're cursing at. Lucas G pointed at the person who hit him, then looked at me and Celeste. Do you know who I am? Celeste didn't answer. I laughed. Who are you? Lucas G scrambled up holding his face. Just you wait. When the eldest daughter arrives, you'll have no way out. The reason he dared to mock me just now was because before coming out, he'd seen Brandon's girlfriend. He could already confirm Brandon was with Celeste. With Celeste as backing in New York, what did he have to fear? Lucas G took out his phone and called Brandon. Brandon came out and brought a woman with him. Seeing them, Lucas G rushed over like seeing a savior. Brandon, save me. Brandon looked at him confused. What happened to you? Lucas G pointed at me. Nathan had people beat me up. Lucas G looked at the woman beside Brandon. Eldest daughter, that man was impersonating your boyfriend before. Now he even physically attacked me. Please teach him a lesson. Hearing Lucas G speak, my attention was also drawn over. This matter had been bothering me for days. I'd always been thinking, what was up with Brandon's photos? Now seeing this woman, I finally understood, but I couldn't help but laugh. Celeste looked at me. What is it? I said. Before, Brandon kept saying he was your boyfriend. Celeste looked at me confused. I gestured with my eyes. Look, that person does look a bit like you. Celeste followed where my eyes indicated and looked toward that knockoff. She had the same hairstyle as Celeste. Before she'd cut it, the shirt and pants she wore were also somewhat similar. It's just her whole person was a super low-quality version of Celeste. Besides her side profile looking somewhat similar, nothing else was alike. Not tall, skin not as good either. No wonder all the photos were of her side profile. Reality differed too much from the photos. I pulled Celeste over and said to Brandon, Brandon, this is your eldest daughter? Brandon's face darkened, his gaze falling on Celeste beside me. He hadn't recognized her just now. Didn't expect Celeste had changed her hairstyle. He'd originally thought the woman beside him was decent. After all, her side profile did resemble Celeste somewhat. Just resembling her a bit, Celeste had already surpassed many people. But compared to the real Celeste, he only now realized how huge the difference was. Lucas G looked at me. Nathan, the eldest daughter is right here. You still dare talk to Brandon like this? You really don't want to live. I looked at that woman. You're saying she's Celeste? Lucas G said, she clearly looks exactly like the photos. You admitted it yourself last time, didn't you? I laughed. Are you really sure she looks the same? I looked at Celeste beside me and asked, someone's impersonating you. What do you think? Celeste didn't speak. Although she didn't say anything, I could already sense her speechlessness. Lucas G saw me talking to Celeste. What do you mean by that? The two women who had made a move walked over. Celeste said coldly, someone's using my identity. Handle it. The two women looked at the knockoff beside Brandon, couldn't help but laugh to themselves, and she dared to impersonate Celeste. One of the two women walked over, directly grabbed the knockoff's collar. You're Celeste? The knockoff saw two female warriors standing before her, immediately wilted. My surname is Thornton. My nickname is Celeste. Lucas G froze, then reacted. You're not the Celeste from the Thornton family? What's your real name? The woman answered. Sophia Thornton III. Using a nickname isn't against the law, is it? What are you all doing? I walked over. So this is the person you said Brandon was the eldest daughter's boyfriend for? Spreading this all over school. Was also you, right? If Lucas G hadn't stood up to vouch for Brandon, even if Brandon claimed to be Celeste's boyfriend, no one would believe him. Lucas G looked helpless. Ethan Chow saw the commotion here, walked over and asked me, Nathan, what's going on? I put my hands in my pockets. This lady here is the Celeste that Brandon said was dating him. Ethan Chow looked at that knockoff. This really is high-level fraud. He looked at Lucas G. Didn't you say Brandon was Celeste's boyfriend? If it weren't for Lucas G interfering, he wouldn't have let Brandon go. Back inside, he'd actually been intimidated by him. Lucas G was now regretting it to death. Ethan Chow raised his voice. Open your dog eyes wide and see what the eldest daughter really looks like. She's standing right in front of you. Lucas G looked at Celeste standing beside me. Didn't expect this woman who'd changed her hairstyle was actually the real eldest daughter of the Thornton family. Her presence was different from the knockoff. One look at Celeste, and he immediately deflated. Before, he'd treated Brandon well, wanting to latch on to the Thornton family connection. Who knew he'd offend them right from the start? He quickly apologized. I'm sorry. I really didn't know before. I was also deceived by Brandon. After saying this, he angrily cursed Brandon. Brandon, how dare you impersonate the eldest daughter's boyfriend? Brandon said, I never said I was. You overheard me making a phone call and kept saying I was Celeste's boyfriend. I'm the victim here. Lucas G pointed at Brandon, too angry to speak. Didn't expect he'd become the victim. Although he had said all those words, true. But Brandon had always been ambiguous, making people misunderstand. When? He said Brandon was the eldest daughter's boyfriend. Brandon hadn't denied it either. Lucas G recalled, at your birthday party that day, didn't you also say it? Many people saw it at that time. Can you deny that? Brandon refused to back down. I said that. To save your face, didn't I? If I hadn't said it, you'd be the one losing face, right? You kept insisting I attend your birthday party. Lucas G had never seen anyone so thick-skinned, pushed all the blame onto him, while he came out clean. Celeste didn't have time to listen to them argue. Had someone take all three to the police station. The Thornton family's driver took Ethan Chow home first. Ethan Chow and I sat in the back. Celeste sat in the passenger seat. I looked at her, Good thing it was fake. That day when I saw the photos, I almost suspected. You really had something with Brandon, Celeste said blandly. I don't know him. Actually, I'd already had the answer in my heart. It's just seeing her. I still couldn't help but complain a little. Ethan Chow beside me. Brandon really is something. How did he think of impersonating her boyfriend? Just mentioning Brandon? Ethan Chow hated him so much, his teeth itched. I looked at Ethan Chow. What about your clothes situation? Ethan Chow gritted his teeth. Definitely not getting the clothes back. Just thinking about him wearing them makes me furious. When I get back, I'll fire his mother. Arriving at the Chow residence, Ethan Chow was about to open the car door when Celeste opened it from outside. For him, seeing the eldest daughter personally open the car door for him without any arrogance, Ethan Chow was quite surprised. He got out of the car, turned and said to me, "Then I'll go first. Have a pleasant evening, you two." That sentence embarrassed me to death. Go on, hurry up. After Ethan Chow left, Celeste didn't sit back in the passenger seat, but got in and sat down beside me. Back at the Chow residence, Ethan Chow had someone call Wan Yi out, directly fired her. Chow Ji-yuan sat beside him watching. What happened? Ethan Chow said angrily, "Dad, every day when I'm not home, she takes my clothes for her son to wear. I never expected I'd have to share a closet with the housekeeper's son. My shirt was ruined by him." Chow Ji-yuan said, "Then call the police." He was too lazy to deal with these troublesome matters. Brandon's mother seemed like a good person, was educated, and did her work properly, but didn't expect she was this kind of person. Ethan Chow got out of the car, and the car fell into an awkward silence. Celeste sat beside me. I didn't say anything either. Not like when my cousin was here, talking so much. After a while, I felt a bit thirsty, and took a sip of water. After drinking, I asked her, "Do you want some water?" She looked at me. Remembering before, when they went to Longcheng together to see the Crane Manor, she'd also offered me water to break the silence. She reached down to take the water. I looked at this woman. As soon as Ethan Chow got out, she'd run over to sit beside me. I'd thought she wanted to say something, but she didn't say anything. I still had to take the initiative. I spoke up. "Why aren't you saying anything?" Celeste looked out the window, was about to answer. A hand had already reached over to hold mine. Her palm was very soft, also made my heart warm. Clearly, during summer break, the two of us had already been very close. Why, after not seeing each other for a while, was she uncomfortable again? I remembered last time, showing off photos with Celeste. Everyone said we didn't look close. I didn't look like Celeste's boyfriend. I said, "I'm a bit unhappy." Celeste turned her head, looking at me by the streetlight shining in. I took out my phone and showed her the photos. "Look at this." Celeste looked for a bit and found they were photos of the two of us together. Didn't see any problem. I said, "Last time I went to a party, they all said Brandon was your boyfriend." I said he wasn't. Then I showed them the photos. Do you know what they said? Celeste wondered, what did they say? My expression was helpless. They said you and I don't look close. Celeste heard this and looked at the photos again. They look fine. Seeing her say they were fine again, I realized she really was a block of wood. I couldn't help but say directly, "Celeste, do you like girls?" Celeste heard me speak and raised her head to look at me. Her eyes seemed to be warning, "What did you say?" I didn't hear clearly, knowing she was warning me. I said, "Then, why do you always act so distant with me? Don't you want to be affectionate with me?" Celeste lowered her stance and glanced at the driver who was driving. The driver was very professional, naturally had no reaction. I looked at her. The next second, Celeste had lowered her head and burrowed into my arms. The sudden embrace swept over me like a wave. It had been so long, I admitted I missed her a bit too. My arms around her tightened. Couldn't help but complain. "You were gone too long this time. Every time I wanted to call you, I couldn't. Never knew when you'd be free." Celeste raised her head to look at me. She'd been a bit worried at first, but had gradually gotten used to it. She patiently listened to my complaints. She really liked this feeling. She also understood my feelings. It wasn't just me who missed her. She naturally missed me very much, too. The two of them had been together every day before. This was the first time being apart for so long. As soon as she picked up her phone, she saw I'd sent quite a few messages, sharing some things. She read them one by one. Now I was right in front of her, holding her in my arms, pressed against where my heart was. Celeste said, "I've been too busy, not like others. I have high expectations placed on me, so I train more than others. Originally, they didn't even encourage me to come back this time. It's rare to have a break. I should rest, but I wanted to see you." I softened my voice. "I know." That night, Celeste stayed at my place. Of course, in the living room. She'd stayed at my place for a while before, There was a room for her in the house. Early in the morning, I'd already received a call from someone besides Celeste, saying Alexander Thornton was inviting me to lunch at the Thornton residence. I wasn't stupid, knew it was because of Celeste. Celeste had just returned and ran straight to my place. The Thornton family probably had opinions. Alexander Thornton wanted to see his daughter, but knew if he asked directly, she wouldn't agree. So the call came here. I agreed, and we went back to the Thornton house together for lunch. The Thornton family's chef wasn't bad. I sat beside them focused on eating. Mrs. Thornton occasionally used the serving chopsticks to put food in my bowl. Although she wasn't Celeste's biological mother, she was different from stepmothers in dramas. Every time she met me, she was very enthusiastic. When meeting Celeste, she never said anything unpleasant in front of her. Alexander Thornton asked Celeste about some training matters. After eating, we left the Thornton house. There was nothing wrong with this meal, but at home, Celeste seemed very uncomfortable. Not like her, at my house. As she said herself, too polite. Sophia would get scolded for being mischievous, but she wouldn't, like a guest being carefully attended to. In the car on the way home, I sat beside Celeste, remembering yesterday. Ethan Chow complaining to me, saying none of the Thornton women were good. Today I watched for half a day, and didn't see any problems with the Thornton family. Just then, my assistant called. Young master, the G family sent an apology gift. Said it's to apologize for their son, Lucas G. It's already been delivered to the house. They reacted quickly. By the time we got home, the gift had been delivered. I said to Celeste, looks like they really want to latch onto you, eldest daughter. Last night, Celeste's people had hit Lucas G. and taken him to the police station. The G family found a way to get Lucas G. out, but were still afraid Celeste was angry, so they sent gifts first, wanting to show their sincerity. Seeing Lucas G's father was so sincere, I didn't hold Lucas G's matter against him anymore. After all, Lucas G. now knew Brandon's true identity. I asked, what happened to Brandon? Celeste said, he said he was dating that girl. He is a King-Bay student after all. They really couldn't find evidence that he deliberately impersonated Celeste's boyfriend. All those things were said by Lucas G. He's been released now. It was his mother who took Ethan Chow's clothes for Brandon to wear. They agreed to compensate Ethan Chow for the clothes. It's been settled now. Those two outfits of Ethan Chow's weren't cheap. The money the Hayes family paid was almost Brandon's parents' life savings. He'd also paid a price. It's just Brandon's mother could no longer work as a housekeeper in New York. Ethan Chow had spread this around. Now Brandon's mother had been blacklisted. She'd wanted to be by her son's side all the time, but it ended up like this. In the end, Mrs. Hayes had no choice but to return to Lakewood, leaving Brandon here to study. Brandon used one day to handle all these matters, saw his mother off from New York and returned to school. Lucas G. had been played by him and was furious, had been waiting at the dorm. Brandon, you still dare come back. I thought you'd just drop out. Facing Lucas G.'s aggression, Brandon was very calm. I didn't do anything wrong. Why should I drop out? His matter-of-fact attitude made Lucas G. furious. You didn't do anything wrong? Do you know you almost got me killed? If his family didn't have some connections, he might still be sitting in the station. He'd been scolded miserably by his father when he got home. Lucas G. really hated him. He could even be certain Brandon had deliberately led him to misunderstand. If he hadn't brought him to meet the knockoff, Lucas G. wouldn't have, mistakenly, treated Celeste like an ordinary person, treating that knockoff as the eldest daughter. Brandon looked at Lucas G. You were stupid yourself. Deliberately went looking for trouble with Nathan. I already reminded you. Lucas G. said, at my birthday party that day, what you said. To Nathan, don't forget, Brandon said. I also said, that was just lying to help you. You wanted to be friends with me. Wasn't I doing it for your good? Did you think I should have ruined your party? Lucas G. actually laughed. Now it's become for my good. He'd thought after this happened, Brandon would regret it, but Brandon didn't. Lucas G. was furious. Directly told everyone in the dorm to ignore Brandon. This matter had now spread throughout the school. Those who had given gifts to Brandon before also knew he wasn't the eldest daughter's boyfriend. They all came to give him trouble. In the end, Brandon returned all those gifts and compensated the Chow family a sum of money. The Hayes family's finances weren't good right now. He'd originally planned to sell those things, now had to return them. But Brandon wouldn't give up. He believed his future wouldn't be worse than mine. That afternoon, Serena had just left school. When she saw Brandon, seeing Serena appear, he walked over. Serena. Serena saw him, surprised. What are you doing here? Brandon said quietly. Have you been working part-time lately? Could you take me along? Serena heard he wanted to work part-time. Was a bit surprised. Isn't there a crowd of people flattering you now? You still need to work part-time? Brandon put on the victim act again. The thing before about impersonating Celeste's boyfriend really wasn't me. It was my roommate. I really need a job now. Otherwise, I'm about to not survive. Introduce me to something. Serena saw his pitiful appearance, remembered knowing each other for so long, and agreed. What happened before? Was her father's fault anyway? Brandon blocking her had his reasons. Serena introduced him to the restaurant where she worked part-time. The two worked part-time there. When the restaurant wasn't busy, Serena wasn't idle either. She wasn't like before now, only knowing how to be in love with Brandon. She only wanted to study hard. She didn't have a good family background like Celeste, didn't have to do anything and still be a lofty eldest daughter. She would rely on her own efforts to build herself a good future in New York, not relying on anyone. After I returned to school, Lucas G came to find me once, apologized for misunderstanding me. Kyle and Ethan finally knew I really was the eldest daughter's boyfriend, and Brandon was the fake one. After that, for a long time, Brandon and Serena were both busy making money and didn't appear in front of me. I was also quite busy. Recently I was writing novels and buying some stocks on the side. Writing novels didn't make much money. I did it purely for the hobby. In my past life, I liked reading novels. Later, my brain got messed up from reading too much. By the time I graduated from college, I was already a fairly famous novelist. Of course, the people around me didn't know. For my graduation internship job, my father introduced me to a company that made phones. I knew that boss too. Over the years of development, smartphones had become very popular. Back then, Mr. Hughes' company hadn't developed yet, and he came to Richard Crane looking for investment. It was me who mentioned something, and Richard Crane invested a sum in him. Didn't expect in just a few short years, Mr. Hu's DMI technology would rise so fast. Richard Crane had mentioned this several times. Seeing that I really had a good eye, now he even suspected whether his son could predict the future. Now that I was doing an internship, he introduced me to DMI technology to learn. Mr. Hugh was also very willing to mentor me. Although I'd just arrived, tonight's celebration party, Mr. Hu still brought me along. Compared to high-end Apple and a major domestic brand, DMI also had its own unique market. Their phones were very popular among young people. Every time, sales were very high. I didn't expect to run into Serena here. Mr. Hu was chatting with someone nearby. I stood beside him holding a glass of fruit juice. Serena walked over. Mr. Hu mentioned there was someone new at the company. Turns out it's you. I looked at Serena, appraising her outfit. Why are you here? Serena smiled. I've been interning here since sophomore year. She studied information technology. The internet was at its fastest development right now. Information technology was the most sought-after field. Plus, she was a Kingbay student. Now in DMI's series of products, she'd also contributed. I put down my glass. I thought you were dead. No one's seen you for years. Serena heard me speak and smirked. Want to add each other on WeChat? She'd never dared appear in front of me before, because I was a young master. In front of me, she'd always been insecure. But now she was different. She had her own career. Her salary was pretty good too. Mr. Hu treated her well. While others were still job hunting after graduation, she already had a 6-figure monthly salary. She felt that now. She could stand in front of me. I looked at Serena. Perhaps because she'd matured now, she seemed less arrogant. But I refused. Not convenient. My girlfriend would get jealous. In my past life, at this time, Serena was passionately in love with Brandon. She couldn't be bothered with me. If I called a few more times, she'd already be impatient. But now she was coming to add me on WeChat. How ironic. Serena laughed coldly. You and Celeste still haven't broken up? I blinked at her. Then I've really disappointed you. In a few years, we'll even have kids. Serena looked at me. Nathan. She suddenly called my name in a very serious tone. I looked at her and took another sip of fruit juice. Serena looked at my indifferent expression. Do you still have feelings for me? I coldly looked at Serena. What do you think? Serena took a deep breath. I'm being serious. Do you want to give me another chance? I waved my hand. Can't consider it. Serena changed the subject. What's Celeste been busy with lately? Why is there no news about her? I said quietly. What? What are you scheming now? Seeing me say this, Serena looked helpless. Nathan, do you have to hate me like this? I was too lazy to explain to her. The more I saw her dressed up like this, the more I hated her, because it was this well-dressed Serena, who in the end had made me end up the way I did. If, during school, she still had some arrogant pride, then later she was truly blinded by self-interest. Her heart also became vicious. Just then Mr. Hu walked over. You two have been chatting? Nathan. This is Serena from the company's R&D department. She's from the same school as you, I replied. She already introduced herself. It was clear. Serena was doing quite well at the My Technology. Otherwise, talking in front of me, she wouldn't be so confident. Mr. Hu nodded. That's good. The party ended. Serena went outside. I also went out the door. Serena followed behind me. Want me to give you a ride? She said this while unlocking the car parked beside her. It was a high-end Audi. I glanced at her. Looks like business is going well. Serena explained. Actually, this car was provided by the company. I took out my car keys, but I have my own car. I said this and unlocked my car. The Porsche from before had been sitting for years, so I bought a new one, using money I'd earned myself. Although the money from writing novels wasn't much, it was still enough to buy a car. My father had originally planned to buy one for me, but discovered I had my own money. I'd also made quite a bit from stocks. Seeing me drive away, and even saying goodbye to her, Serena took a deep breath. She'd clearly felt so successful, but meeting me, she was immediately knocked back to reality. What she'd worked so hard to obtain, I was born with. It was nice being from a rich family. She admitted she was jealous. Driving home, Serena sat in the car for a while before going upstairs. The apartment she lived in had only been rented for a few months, about 100 square meters. No choice. Housing in New York was ridiculously expensive. Even though renting wasn't stressful for her, wanting to buy a home still wasn't easy. Even with a monthly salary of $100,000, she'd still have to save for a very long time. Brandon had just finished washing clothes and came out. Saw Serena. You back? Serena gave an, standing at the door changing shoes, looking quite sullen. Brandon had cooked 3 dishes and a soup, and asked, I made dinner. Do you want to eat? Serena glanced. I won't eat. You go ahead. She said this and went to shower, then to the bedroom. Soon, Brandon got into bed. He hugged Serena. Why so unhappy? Isn't work going pretty smoothly? While talking, his hand was placed on her chest. Serena removed his hand. I'm too tired today. She thought about Nathan. He was so handsome, so radiant. Then she looked at Brandon. These past few years, they'd always been together. Besides making money, they were still making money. To save money, they'd decided to live together. She'd clearly thought Brandon was so perfect before, but now, compared to me, she suddenly felt he was so bland. Serena changed the subject. How's the job search going? Brandon studied finance. He was also looking for work recently. Mentioning this, Brandon fell silent. Serena looked at him. What's wrong? Brandon said, nothing. I'll try again. He'd originally interviewed at a company, and they decided to hire him. But then he ran into Lucas G. Since that incident, Lucas G had always held a grudge against him. Being ostracized at school was one thing. Now even job hunting was being sabotaged. It just so happened they both studied finance. Lucas G's family had some connections. People naturally gave him face. Brandon had originally thought going into finance, he'd definitely be successful later. After all, this field made a lot of money, but didn't expect to hit obstacles right from the start. Brandon moved closer to hug Serena. Serena pushed him away. I'm a bit hot. Before, she hadn't noticed anything. Thought it was all to save money. She had income, but Brandon hadn't graduated yet, didn't have a formal job, so letting him live with her, he'd have a place to stay. But now, she suddenly somewhat regretted living with Brandon. If I found out that she was now living with Brandon, would I still give her a chance? I'm going to the bathroom. Serena got out of bed and left the bedroom. The next day, Serena left very early and didn't eat breakfast at home. Figuring she was probably busy, Brandon didn't care. As soon as I arrived at the company, I saw Serena waiting for the elevator. She saw me and quickly greeted, Good morning. I ignored her. Holding my phone, making a call, I've arrived at the company. I won't talk to you anymore. Tonight, I'll come find you directly. Celeste had been busy for so long. She was finally coming back. I didn't talk to Serena. I didn't work on the same floor as Serena either. When I reached my floor, I got off directly, without saying anything to Serena. Serena's expression changed. Compared to me being willing to argue with her, being ignored was the cruelest. That afternoon after work, I went directly to the Thornton house. Celeste and I had eaten there several times. Now, when there was something, I just came directly. Sophia was also home today. Seeing me, she smiled and greeted, Nathan. The little one had grown fast, now already a young lady. Her height was almost the same as her sister's. Had to say the Thornton genes were really good. A girl like this, going out, would attract who knows how many handsome guys. I smirked. Where's your sister? Sophia pointed upstairs. She's back. Waiting for you. I went inside. Celeste had just come downstairs. Seeing me, she was happy. You're here. I gave an Celeste had originally said she'd come pick me up, but I was afraid her appearance would be too conspicuous. So, I declined. I walked up to her, looked at Celeste. Give me a hug. She looked at me, not moving. I didn't care. I was used to this cold exterior of hers. I reached out and hugged her. After hugging, Mrs. Thornton happened to walk out and teased. Just got back, and already hugging. I quickly let go. It's just been too long since I've seen her. Celeste took me out, to sit in the back garden for a while. She held my hand, concerned. How's work going? I nodded. The place my father introduced is pretty good. The two of us talked in the garden for a while longer, before going back to the living room. As soon as I went in, I saw Mrs. Thornton sitting on the sofa, wiping her tears. Mrs. Thornton, what's wrong? Why are you suddenly crying? Mrs. Thornton pulled out another tissue. I'm reading a novel. It's so moving, I couldn't help it. I asked, what novel are you reading? Mrs. Thornton said, it's been pretty popular lately. I leaned over to look, and found it was indeed something I'd written. Didn't expect Mrs. Thornton to also read these things. Mrs. Thornton said, I recommend you read it too. It's really good. I said, okay. She didn't have her own job. Her daily work was staying home, taking care of her daughter, then waiting for her husband to come home. Normally, she could only read novels to kill time, especially now that Sophia was about to take the college entrance exam. She needed her even less. During dinner, Celeste and I sat together. Mrs. Thornton looked at Celeste and said gently, now that you're back, stay home for a few more days. Nathan, why don't you move here too? Before, Celeste rarely stayed home for long. Every time she came back, she'd run to my place. At most, she'd come back for a meal. I blinked. That's okay. I like staying at my own place. Mrs. Thornton laughed. Then after you and Celeste get married, you have to bring Celeste back to visit often. I took a sip of soup. That's still early. Marriage and all that, I haven't thought that far ahead. I glanced at Celeste. With her like this, I still have to consider whether to be with her. After eating, Celeste drove me home. I sat in the passenger seat and said to Celeste, oh, right. Serena also works at my company. Hearing this, Celeste froze. The car stopped at an intersection. She looked at me. Is that so? She didn't expect after all these years she'd still hear the name Serena. I continued. She's doing pretty well now. You know the internet is really hot right now. She chose the right field and has some ability, but that smug look of hers still makes me laugh. Celeste said calmly, do you want to change companies? I'll find you another one. Hearing her speak, I looked at her. What? Are you jealous? Afraid something will happen between me and her? You don't trust me? Celeste said. It's not that I don't trust you. I just don't like her. I smiled mischievously. Then you'd better be careful. If you keep being this cold, I'll find someone else. The two of us arrived home. Dad wasn't home. He'd recently gone back to Lakewood. I went inside. Celeste followed in, reached out and hugged me. Am I cold? I held back my laughter. You've always been cold. She looked at me, her eyes becoming gentle. No one knew how much she suffered holding back every day outside. She said to me, it's not being cold. I was confused. Then what is it? Celeste looked at me. I'm afraid I won't be able to hold back. After she said this, her hand at my waist tightened considerably. I felt a bit more comfortable inside. Is that so? I thought you hated me. Celeste looked at my lips and raised her head. I closed my eyes, waiting for her lips. But after waiting a while, I didn't get it. I opened my eyes to look at her, saw her staring at me, almost pressed close but held back. The corner of her mouth was even curved up, as if mocking me. I was incredibly embarrassed. I reached out and pushed her away. You're so annoying. I was about to leave. Celeste pulled me back. A passionate kiss pressed against me. Being together for so long, she'd always had this neither cold nor warm personality. I'd even suspected, whether she really disliked me, that she was just reluctantly with me because of the engagement. Didn't expect her sudden kiss. Made me a bit overwhelmed. After kissing, Celeste looked at me. Am I cold? She still remembered what I said. I laughed. Looks like I still need to push you a little. I hugged her, softened my voice and asked, do you have to go back? Your father won't let you stay at my house now. He probably has opinions about you. Celeste replied. I won't be going back to school for a while. I heard her speak, a bit surprised. Really? Celeste said. Yeah. But I'm not planning to go home to stay either. Planning to stay outside. She hadn't lived at the Thornton house since childhood. Now she wanted to move back even less. Some things had passed, but for her, they actually hadn't. I asked with concern, have you decided on a place to stay? Celeste tilted her head to look at me. Let's go look together. After we get married, we'll move in. I stared at her. Celeste saw I wasn't saying anything. What is it? It was a while before I said, isn't it too early to talk about marriage now? Celeste heard me speak and frowned. Then when do you want? I was just joking. I haven't even thought about whether I want to marry you. Celeste stared at me, her expression very serious. Nathan, you're mine. I continued joking. What if I like someone else? Hearing this, Celeste's face darkened. If you like someone else, then I'll make that person disappear from this world. Then lock you up. Hearing her speak, I froze. It took a few seconds to react. I looked at Celeste and laughed. Why are you joking so seriously? You scared me, Celeste said. I'm not joking. Let's go to sleep. Rest early. Tomorrow, I'll come pick you up. After she said this, she walked toward the door. I watched her retreating figure. Couldn't help but think, normally she didn't talk much. It was rare for her to say so much today. She wasn't being serious, was she? I came out after showering and saw Ethan Chow had sent me a message. Is Celeste back? I typed quickly. She's back. Ethan Chow replied immediately. I knew it. You weren't answering my messages. I said, she just left. Ethan Chow gossiped. You two still haven't slept together? I said blandly, so what if we haven't? We're in a proper relationship. Ethan Chow teased, I'm suspicious of you. I typed forcefully, go cool off somewhere. Ethan Chow replied again, it's my dad's birthday. Remember to come. He'll probably say again, not to marry Celeste. Every time I saw my uncle, he'd brainwash me, just hoping Celeste and I would break up. Every time I let it go in one ear and out the other. The next morning, Celeste came and took me to see her new place. Before, when she didn't go back to the Thornton house, she'd stay at my place. Now she finally had her own home, thinking this might be our future home. I was quite interested. This house had a large garden and a pool. I went upstairs to see the bedroom. The room was very large. Celeste didn't have many belongings. She'd also prepared a gaming room and a dressing room for me. The bathroom sink was also made as a double. I stood in front of the mirror, holding my phone to take a half-body mirror selfie. Celeste walked in. What are you doing? I invited, come here, let's take a photo together. Celeste walked over and stood beside me. I pulled her hand, hugged me. She reached out and hugged my waist tightly. I held the phone with one hand and placed the other on her shoulder. Took several mirror photos. After taking them, I noticed she was staring at me. My face unconsciously turned red, wondering, what is it? Celeste said, see if you're missing anything. I'll have someone prepare it. I found it funny. You're the one moving in, not me. Why ask me what's missing? Celeste looked at me. Then move in, live with me. I said, that won't work. I'm used to living at my own place. Besides, my dad comes home sometimes. I like being at home. Celeste looked at me and gave an, seeing her disappointed expression. All right, you can come stay at my place. You even have a room in Lakewood. Whenever you find me annoying, come stay here. Celeste said seriously, I'll never find you annoying. I looked at the beautiful woman before me and realized she became more attractive as she grew older. Every time she disappeared for a while and reappeared, she'd become more beautiful. Celeste said, my husband can only be you. I teased. Then if I don't marry you, does that mean you'll be a single dog your whole life? Saying this, I froze, remembering my past life. I also didn't know if, in the end, Celeste really stayed single her whole life. Celeste patted me. What are you thinking about? Seeing me sit in front of her, not knowing who I was looking at through her, Celeste's mood was a bit complicated. Sometimes she felt I really liked her. But sometimes she felt the person I liked didn't seem to be her. I looked at the woman before me, thinking about you. Celeste glanced at me. I wanted to remove her hand, then let go of me. Don't hug me. If you dislike me, why hug me? Every time Celeste spoke, she let out 3 words at a time. Don't dislike. I was too lazy to care about her. Picked up my phone to look at the photos just taken. They turned out pretty well. I said to Celeste, so pretty. Celeste looked at my satisfied expression. You're happy with just a photo. I lowered my head to look at her. What do you know? I like taking lots of photos. That way, when you're not beside me, I can look at your photos. Celeste stared at me, watched me open an app and start editing photos. She patiently watched me finish editing. Seeing her silently watching me, I smiled at her. Just then, someone walked in. It was Celeste's uncle. Ethan Thornton saw me and Celeste like this. You two are at it again. I was holding Celeste in my arms. She turned her head away. Then I came at a bad time. I'll go downstairs first. After saying this, he went downstairs. I wanted to stop him, but it was too late. I looked at Celeste. Why is your uncle here? Celeste said, he supervised the house construction. Celeste provided the ideas. Ethan Thornton helped her execute them. Because she didn't grow up at the Thornton house, Celeste was closer to her uncle. She'd rather have Ethan Thornton help with many things. Ethan Thornton was also good to her. Completely treated her like family. I followed Celeste downstairs from upstairs. Saw Ethan Thornton sitting on the sofa. I said politely, "Uncle." Clearly nothing had happened with Celeste. We were just normally together, but seeing her uncle, I felt like I'd been caught in bed. Ethan Thornton looked at the two of us and spoke up. "How's the house? Any problems? Is Nathan satisfied?" I quickly replied, "I think it's great." Ethan Thornton shifted position, smiling. "You two will live here after you get married. So I've prepared many things for you. This girl only knows how to order me around, but if you're unsatisfied with anything, you can tell me directly." I sat uneasily. "It's really great. Thank you for your hard work, Uncle." Before I'd always called him Mr. Thornton. Now, not being so formal, calling him Uncle. Ethan Thornton was also very pleased. Celeste's things were delivered, officially moved in here. Uncle personally cooked a meal. As a housewarming party, after eating here, Celeste took me to the company that afternoon. Before getting out, I leaned over to kiss Celeste, then opened the car door. Serena had just returned from the offline store and saw me get out of the car, and the person sitting in the car was Celeste. She vaguely glanced, couldn't see clearly. I walked by. She was surprised. "You didn't come to the company this morning." My expression was impatient. "Is that your business too? Who are you?" I glanced at her and ran straight inside. Celeste sat in the car watching my retreating figure. Saw Serena standing there staring at me, although I didn't pay attention to her. But being a woman, she knew all too well what Serena's gaze at me meant. That afternoon, I sat at my desk. Someone brought coffee over. "Nathan, this is for you." I was surprised. Who's so nice to buy coffee? My colleague gossiped. "The R&D department head surnamed Wells is so beautiful." Don't know what good news she got. Buying everyone coffee. What a good person. Just don't know if she has a boyfriend yet. I looked at the cup of coffee on the desk. Couldn't help but find it funny. Serena. She really had money now. I remember in high school, she liked to use my money to treat people. Everyone really liked her. Thought she was very generous. Later, when I stopped paying attention to her, she was quiet for a while. Didn't expect her to be treating people again now. I didn't drink the coffee. Gave it directly to someone else. I didn't want to have anything to do with this woman. Who knows? Drinking a cup of her coffee, I might end up owing her a favor. That afternoon, I left the company. Because Celeste had dropped me off at noon, I didn't drive, so I called the driver to pick me up. After coming down, the driver hadn't arrived yet, so I sat in the lobby waiting for a while. A woman came down from upstairs and looked at me. "Nathan." I looked up at the woman who appeared before me. It was Ethan Chow's ex-girlfriend, Xie Lin. Every time I saw this face, I felt a bit uncomfortable, although she actually looked okay. Not only not ugly, but even a bit pretty. But in my past life, this woman, after marrying Ethan Chow, had personally killed Ethan Chow. When caught, she could still smile in front of the camera, as if she'd done nothing wrong. Some time ago, knowing Ethan Chow was dating her, I'd advised the two to break up. Now seeing her looking at me, my gaze was very cold. I stood up, a bit on guard. "Why are you here?" Seeing this kind of person, I subconsciously worried whether she'd stab me. Xie Lin said, "What's Ethan Chow's problem? He blocked me. What did I do to him?" I frowned. "I don't know about his business." Xie Lin wouldn't let it go. "Then call him for me now. I'll ask him myself." I naturally didn't want to call. Besides, the two breaking up was because of my advice. I said coldly, "I haven't been in contact with him recently." Seeing me so guarded against her, Xie Lin's face turned cold. "Do you hate me that much?" "I haven't done anything to you." I said, "I need to go." I walked toward the door. Xie Lin chased after me. "We're not done talking. How can you just leave?" She rushed over trying to grab me. I struggled in fear. "Let go of me." I struggled and stepped back, and happened to bump into someone. I turned my head, and saw Serena standing right before me. Seeing my panicked expression, Serena looked at Xie Lin, Director Xie. At this point, Xie Lin saw Serena appear, and quickly let go. I was just asking him about something private. I wasn't bullying him. Who knew he'd react so strongly? She walked out the door, looking a bit unlucky. I watched her retreating figure, only feeling my body trembling. Serena saw me staring at that person, and asked, "Are you okay?" I looked up at Serena. Being caught by her was a bit embarrassing. I calmed down. "I'm fine," Serena said. "You're really scared of her." This person was a recent client of their company. They were negotiating a collaboration. I said to Serena, "It's none of your business." I was about to leave. Serena grabbed my wrist. "I'll drive you." I refused. "No need. The driver is almost here." Serena called my name word by word. "Nathan, look at me." I turned to look at Serena. "What do you want to say?" Serena was agitated. "I just want to ask, how did I offend you? That you hate me so much?" Back at school, I was inconsiderate. But these past few years, have we had any conflicts? Do you need to? Look at me like you're looking at a plague? You clearly used to like me so much. Being gripped tightly by her hand, I only felt like there were ants crawling on my body. That uncomfortable feeling. I just wanted to quickly push her hand away. Don't touch me. I'll feel nauseous. Before it was still bearable. Especially now. Her wearing this outfit coincided with the appearance I hated most in my memories. It was as if I could see her using this exact appearance to tell me, Nathan, go die, from the company back home. Ethan Chow came and saw me sitting on the bed, looking very unhappy. Ethan Chow walked over, sat on the edge of the bed and asked, what's wrong? I looked at Ethan Chow, looked at my cousin's concerned expression. In my past life, I didn't go to New York, wasn't close with Ethan Chow. But after being reborn and coming to New York, these past few years, I'd spent the most time with Ethan Chow. My feelings for him were also the deepest. Thinking about his ending in my past life, I felt a bit worried. I patted Ethan Chow's shoulder. It's nothing. I just ran into Xie Lin. Ethan Chow got agitated. Did she come to give you trouble? I shook my head. Not really. She wanted me to call you. I didn't agree. Ethan Chow immediately defended his cousin. If she dares give you trouble, I won't let her off. Although before he'd quite liked Xie Lin, but after that argument, he also realized Xie Lin wasn't good. He was too lazy to keep in contact. He was the type who listened to advice. My expression was helpless. Forget it. Stay away from that kind of person. I feel like she's not quite normal. Seems to have violent tendencies. Ethan Chow said, no way. Her temper isn't that bad. Seeing Ethan Chow still had a good impression of Xie Lin. I didn't know what to say to him. Just then, Otto I was the glass. The door was knocked. Celeste appeared at the door. Seeing her, Ethan Chow stood up. Your girlfriend's here. I won't disturb you anymore. After saying this, he walked to the door and said to Celeste, Nathan's not in a good state. Probably not feeling well. Stay with him. Celeste gave in, okay. After Ethan Chow left, Celeste walked over. She looked at me. What's wrong? Seeing Celeste appear before me, I immediately felt at ease. I didn't eat lunch. My stomach hurts a bit. Celeste looked at me. I'll rub it for you. She moved over to sit beside me, let me lean against the headboard. Her hand gently placed on my stomach. I'd never been this intimate with her before. I looked at the woman before me. Celeste also looked at me. Normally in front of me, she was quite reserved. But today, for some reason, it felt like if she didn't hold me, I was about to shatter. Celeste held me for a while. Seeing me leaning against her about to fall asleep, she asked, better? I softly gave an having you beside me is already great. Celeste heard me speak, helplessly curved her lips. Then I'll always be beside you from now on. I lowered my eyelids. Liar. How could you always be beside me? Seeing me starting to be unreasonable, as if I'd recovered my former self. Celeste felt more at ease. Just then, the phone rang. Celeste answered the phone. Inside was the somewhat angry voice of her father, Alexander Thornton. Where have you run off to? Everyone's waiting for you. At this time, Celeste should have been entertaining guests with her father, meeting those old people. Hearing her father's voice, Celeste was extremely calm. Nathan's not feeling well? I'm with him. Alexander Thornton's voice trembled. What happened to him? Celeste looked at me and said to her father, I'm not coming today. Let's do it next time. After saying this, she hung up. I looked at Celeste. Her father had called. I'd thought she'd get scolded, but Celeste was calm. I looked at her. Is it okay if you don't go? Celeste shook her head. Nothing important. She was often not at home. Now that she'd rarely come back for a while, her father wanted to arrange for her to entertain guests. She actually found these things very annoying, but because her father cooperated with everything he could in my affairs. So, her father's requests, she naturally would do. Celeste looked at me. What's troubling you so much? I sighed. I just ran into someone I hate. Celeste guessed. Serena? Although she was also annoying. I shook my head. I don't know how to tell you. I ran into my cousin's ex-girlfriend. My feeling about her isn't very good. I'm a bit scared of her. Thinking about Xie Lin, I really felt scared. Even though I'd already died once, I'd never met a killer before. I didn't know when. She might do something irrational. And in this life, I couldn't do anything to her. Nor could I silence her. This made me feel like she was a ticking time bomb. Celeste comforted. Don't worry. I'm here. I looked at Celeste. Yeah, with Celeste here, I really felt much more at ease. I also didn't know why, or maybe because of the profession she chose. Nothing made people feel safer than someone in the military. Saturday was Uncle's birthday party. Celeste had something, so I went alone. Uncle saw I didn't bring Celeste. I rolled my eyes. Uncle, Don't keep thinking about telling me to break up with her every time you see me. Chow Ju-yuan humphed. You just won't listen. Ethan Chow walked over. Nathan came alone? I replied. She has something. After Celeste came back, she was really unbearably busy. Besides, I thought it was good she didn't come. Outside, quite a few people now knew about my relationship with Celeste, so they were very eager to flatter Chow Ju-yuan. If she came, it would probably be unbearably annoying. Chow Ju-yuan went to greet the guests. I sat with Ethan Chow for a while. Ethan Chow was also hosting his friends. Lucas G was also here. Since learning about my relationship with Celeste, he'd always seen Brandon as a thorn in his eye. He was especially nice to me and Ethan Chow. Every time there was any event, he'd always find opportunities to appear before us. Ethan Chow was very good at socializing and didn't care about him. Lucas G said to me, "Young Master Crane, how have you been lately?" I had no interest in him at all. Fine, Lucas G acted familiar. Last time at my uncle's company, I saw Brandon. He went for an interview. But don't worry, I directly had someone kick him out. He still wants to get into finance. Should see if he's worthy. As soon as he finished speaking, I'd already spotted Brandon. He was wearing a business suit following a woman. I thought about that woman for a long time, felt she looked familiar, but couldn't remember who she was. I spoke up to Lucas G. That woman, do you know her? Lucas G looked over. Seeing the woman with Brandon, he froze. Zhou Yitang. Why is she with Brandon? Hearing this name, I looked at that woman. No wonder she looked so familiar. I'd seen her online later. Everyone called her the stock goddess. It's just that now she still looked quite young. Ethan Chow came over and said to me, a big name in finance, called the stock goddess. Whatever she buys goes up, made a fortune these past 2 years. Many people want to latch onto her to make money, but she usually doesn't mentor anyone unless you give her money to invest. Do you know there are 2 big legends in finance recently? She's one of them. I was curious, who's the other one? I know about Yitang. Never heard of the other one, Ethan Chow said quietly. Tao Ran. A man, but no one knows what he looks like exactly. Almost never shows his face, but he never steps on mines. Specializes in buying cold stocks, but they always go up. No one knows what he does. Nal Ran. Hearing this name, I was a bit surprised, because Tao Ran was my assistant. When I'd said before I wanted to invest, my father had arranged 2 assistants for me. I was usually quite busy with studies, so buying these things was all done through him. Stock goddess. Hearing this name, I found it a bit funny. Lucas G had already walked over. Director Zhou. Zhou Yitang clearly didn't know Lucas G. You are, Lucas G quickly introduced himself. I'm Lucas G. Jiangnan Securities is my uncle's company. Zhou Yitang arrogantly gave an M. Brandon stood beside her looking at Lucas G. His face darkened, his eyes full of wariness, because Lucas G had already said hello. Brandon's job hunting had always been unsuccessful recently, but fate still favored him. Unexpectedly, he'd finally gotten into Zhou Yitang's company, became Zhou Yitang's secretary. She was even willing to bring him out. Lucas G said to Zhou Yitang, Director Zhou, why are you with him? Brandon is my classmate. This man has terrible character. Zhou Yitang turned to look at Brandon, saw Brandon being silent without explaining. Zhou Yitang laughed coldly and said to Lucas G, is it your turn to smear my people? Your uncle is the boss of Jiangnan Securities. I don't need to tell you what Jiangnan Securities is, do I? Her temper had always been bad, never accommodated anyone, plus she had backing behind her. She wasn't afraid of anything. Brandon saw Zhou Yitang protect him, and breathed a sigh of relief. He knew that no matter how dark this world was, it couldn't truly have no opportunities at all. People like Zhou Yitang wouldn't be influenced by Lucas G. Lucas G was rebuffed by Zhou Yitang, and felt a bit embarrassed. He came back and sat down without saying anything. Ethan Chow said to me, I heard Zhou Yitang has never been interested in men. Didn't expect her to be so nice to Brandon. I raised my eyebrows. Brandon has always been very likable. The whole evening, Zhou Yitang was discussing business. Brandon sat beside her. His identity was Zhou Yitang's secretary. He spoke little, was also very quiet, looked very proper. The party ended. He followed Zhou Yitang to the car. Zhou Yitang sat in the car and said to Brandon, You've offended that man. Brandon heard she was talking about Lucas G, smiled bitterly. My family background isn't good. At a place like Qingbei, naturally I don't fit in with those rich young masters. Thank you, Director Zhou, for standing up for me. You're really different from others. If you hadn't been willing to take me in, I probably would have left New York already. When he spoke, his pitiful appearance was quite endearing. The car drove on the road. Zhou Yitang looked at him. suddenly asked, "Do you have a girlfriend?" Brandon looked at Zhou Yitang number. "Why does Director Zhou ask?" Zhou Yitang said. "Just curious." Brandon shook his head. "No." Zhou Yitang said. "Where do you live? I'll have the driver drop you off first." Brandon replied, "I rent with a friend. Before, I didn't have a place to live." Zhou Yitang was interested. Male or female? Brandon was honest. Female. Zhou Yitang heard him speak and said, "Move out. The company will provide you with housing." Seeing Brandon not saying anything, Victoria Sterling said, "Come to the office tomorrow. I'll have my assistant contact you." Brandon nodded. "Yes." The driver dropped Brandon off downstairs. Brandon waited until she left before going upstairs. Standing at the door, he froze, remembering Victoria Sterling telling him to move out. At that moment, his mind went blank, not knowing what he was thinking. But now, how was he supposed to tell Serena? Walking in, Serena was already back. She was sitting at the computer handling work. Serena's job was very busy. He walked over to her and said to Serena, "I'm back." Serena looked up at him, seeing the smile on his face. "Back so late. Work done?" Brandon nodded. "Done. It's just the company is a bit far. I might have to move out." Hearing these words, Serena was a bit surprised. Brandon was afraid she'd be unhappy, and explained, "The company provides housing, mainly because commuting is too far. I don't have a company car like you." "Serena, you're not upset, are you? On my days off, I'll still come back to you, okay?" After saying this, he lowered his head to kiss her face. Serena had recently been regretting living with Brandon because of running into me. Now hearing him say he wanted to move out, she felt a bit happy inside. Of course, this happiness only flashed by, before being suppressed by her. How could she think like that? Brandon living with her, the two already had feelings. If she wished he'd leave quickly, how would she be any different from an animal? She reached out to hug Brandon. "Take care of yourself. If anything comes up, remember to tell me." Brandon nodded. "Okay." Early morning, I was still sleeping. When I was woken by a phone call, I sat up to answer it. It was Daniel calling. "Young master." Someone from the investment company said, "Their boss, Victoria Sterling, wants to meet you. Asked when you're free." I asked, "What does Victoria Sterling want to meet me for?" Daniel replied, "Probably because she saw our recent good returns and got interested. Wants to discuss stocks with you." Lately, people were constantly calling wanting to meet me. Since the others weren't important, he hadn't mentioned them. But Victoria Sterling's status was extraordinary. I yawned. Consider it declined. I don't understand any of this. I just scrolled TikTok and Twitter a lot in my past life. Knew which stocks would explode, which stocks people would chase. Wouldn't I be exposed the moment we start discussing? Since I'd been woken up, I was too lazy to go back to sleep. Went downstairs to get something to eat. Celeste had dropped me off last night and left. Didn't know if she was up yet at this hour. I sat down and sent her a message. Charles walked in. "Young master, Serena is here." I wondered, what is she here for? Charles replied, "Says she's representing the company. Heard you were sick, we were sick. Came to visit you. Mr. Hu sent her." Hearing Mr. Hu, my expression was helpless. Let her in. Soon Serena walked in. She was still in that same outfit, just the blazer dress changed color. Seeing me eating breakfast, she walked over, pulled out a chair and naturally sat down. "Feeling better?" Last time, the two of us had parted unhappily at the company. Serena had always been uneasy, thinking, until she finally found an excuse to come see me. I took a sip of water. "Was fine before I saw you." Serena looked at me. "When are you coming back to the company? Haven't seen you there lately." I said blandly. "Probably not planning to go anymore." Xia Lin knows I work at Demai. I've always felt unsafe. Serena looked at me. How can that be okay? Seeing her worried expression looking at me, I frowned. "Whether I go or not, what's it to you?" Serena said, "It's Mr. Hu's intention." I said, "Mr. Hu doesn't manage me that much. I came to his company just to get an internship certificate. Actually, whether I come every day or not, he'll still give me this certificate. He doesn't care about me. It's just that I myself am interested in Demai, so I wanted to work." Serena looked at me. "But I want you to come back. Nathan, if I did anything wrong before, I want to make it up to you now." Brandon had already moved out. She didn't need to worry for the time being. Serena looked around this house. Although she could rent a 100 square meter apartment, feeling like she was already successful. But compared to everything I had, it was all too ordinary. "I drank my kanji." Serena said, "Can you give me one more chance?" At this moment, Charles said to Celeste, who was walking in, "Miss Celeste." Celeste walked in, saw Serena was here. Serena froze and stood up. Looking at Celeste, whom she hadn't seen in a long time, she proactively extended her hand. "Celeste, it's been a while." She wanted to shake Celeste's hand. She'd heard Celeste didn't end up going to Qingbei. while she herself graduated from Qingdai. So what if her grades were good in high school? Celeste looked at this uninvited guest. Naturally didn't shake her hand. Just asked, "Why are you here?" The moment she spoke, the pressure was overwhelming. Serena froze. Then said, "I came on behalf of Mr. Hu to visit Nathan." Nathan. Celeste looked at Serena. "Are you that close?" "And about the company. Tell Mr. Hu. He won't be coming anymore." Serena frowned and said to Celeste, "Nathan hasn't even said he's not coming. He was doing quite well at the company before. What right do you have to decide for him?" Celeste raised her voice. "Just because I'm his girlfriend. And also his marriage partner." Celeste had always been uncompetitive. But in front of Serena, she didn't accommodate her at all. Serena looked at me. "You like her controlling you like this? Nathan, marrying this kind of woman is really what you want? If you marry her, I think you won't have any freedom in the future." I looked up at Celeste and said to Charles, "Charles, show Serena out." Charles quickly walked over. "Miss Wells, this way please." Serena said nothing, turned and left. After she was out the door, I looked up at Celeste, could clearly see she was cold. I handed her the peeled egg. "Eat this." Celeste turned her head away. "I'm not hungry." I knew she wasn't happy. I explained. "She came on her own. I'm not close with her." Celeste was jealous. "The way she looks at you, her eyes aren't innocent." I softened my voice. "Do you think I could get back together with a woman who once treated me like that?" My attitude made Celeste's displeasure ease a little. She looked at me, gently. "My father said he wants to go to Hot Springs this afternoon. Told me to ask if you want to come." Alexander Thornton rarely had time off. Celeste happened to be free. So he invited her to go along. He didn't call Celeste directly, but mentioned me. I nodded. "I'm free. I happen to be free this weekend." On the way, Celeste drove to the hot spring resort, met Sophia in the lobby. Seeing Celeste and me, she politely greeted us. I asked, "Are you here alone?" Sophia said, "My dad isn't coming." I was a bit surprised. "Didn't he invite us here?" Sophia explained. "Something suddenly came up. He's busy again. My mom and uncle are here. Since we're already here, let's have fun together. Let's go horseback riding." Celeste looked at me. "Do you want to go?" I nodded. "We could try. Since we were already here, might as well get some exercise." I had someone bring our luggage to the room, then followed Celeste and Sophia to go horseback riding. Celeste chose a horse for me. Since it was last minute, it couldn't compare to Sophia's prized Akalteke. I'd ridden casually during trips before, but this was the first time riding on my own. Celeste chose a horse for herself. Staying by my side, the horse walked slowly on the grass, not running. I looked at Celeste. "You know how to ride?" "How did I not know? Is there anything you don't know?" Celeste seemed to know everything. Celeste shook her head. "There's quite a lot I don't know." I was interested. "Then tell me what you don't know." Celeste thought seriously for a moment, then said, "I don't know how to be apart from you." Her words made my face flush red. Sophia was already an expert. She'd loved being on horseback since childhood. If her mother hadn't objected, she'd even have wanted to compete in equestrian events. She rode around and came back, saw Celeste and me playing, and didn't bother us. After a morning of learning, I'd become quite proficient. After riding half a day, my legs and butt seemed chafed. I'd been too focused before to notice, only now realizing it. Celeste looked at me, asked with concern, "Are you okay?" I shook my head. "I'm fine, no problem. Just a bit hungry." Sophia said, "Mom just texted. Said for us to come back to eat." Everyone returned to the hotel, changed clothes, and went to eat together. Arriving at the restaurant, I saw Sophia sitting next to her mother, Mrs. Thornton. What I didn't expect was that Victoria Sterling was also here. Her gaze also fell on Celeste and me. Mrs. Thornton smiled. "Celeste, Nathan, come sit." I saw Victoria Sterling was here, and couldn't help but be curious. "This is," Mrs. Thornton smiled, "this is my younger sister, Victoria Sterling, also Sophia's aunt." I was a bit surprised. "Your younger sister?" Victoria Sterling looked at most 30 years old. I wouldn't have thought they were the same generation, but they were. Mrs. Thornton laughed. "Doesn't look like it? She really is younger than me. When I had Sophia, I was only 21 years old. Now Sophia is 18. I'm actually only 9 years older than Victoria." I shook my head. "That's not it. Actually, Mrs. Thornton is very young. It's just that she was Celeste's stepmother after all. So I'd always treated her as an elder." I asked, "So what should I call her?" Victoria Sterling said, "I'm Victoria Sterling. Just call me by my name." I smiled. "Then I'll call you Director Sterling. At my uncle's birthday party last time, I heard everyone call you that." I had a deep impression of how she'd countered Lucas G then. Didn't expect her sister was Mrs. Thornton. With this connection, no wonder she was so bold. Victoria Sterling appraised me. and smirked. That works too, Mrs. Thornton introduced. This is Nathan, Celeste's boyfriend. Although they're not registered married yet, Nathan is already considered family, Victoria Sterling said. Mrs. Thornton waved. Everyone hungry? Let's eat. Alexander probably won't arrive until later. He's just too busy with work. Everyone was about to eat when Victoria Sterling's phone rang. She answered. At the restaurant. Just come in directly. Mrs. Thornton asked. Who is it? Victoria Sterling replied. My company's new assistant. As soon as she finished speaking, a young man in a white dress shirt walked in. Victoria Sterling quickly called out, Come sit. The person who came was Brandon. I'd originally thought Brandon had just joined Victoria Sterling's company, but didn't expect she'd even bring Brandon to a place like this. Brandon walked over and sat beside her. Director Sterling? Mrs. Thornton curiously appraised Brandon. The refined, well-behaved young man. This assistant of yours, how come I've never seen him? Victoria Sterling put down her chopsticks. Didn't I already tell you? He's new. Just hired 2 days ago. A Qingbei student. Still interning. Mrs. Thornton looked at me. So isn't he just like Nathan? Brandon looked up at me. Seeing I wasn't talking to him, he lowered his head and didn't dare say much. He didn't want the first meeting to leave a bad impression on the Thornton family. He just wanted to minimize his presence. I sat beside Celeste eating. Brandon was beside Victoria Sterling. Victoria Sterling treated him quite well, occasionally putting food in his bowl, afraid he'd starve himself. After eating, Brandon said, Then Director Sterling, I'll head back to my room first. He didn't expect coming with Victoria Sterling. He'd run into us here. Even less expected, Victoria Sterling and Mrs. Thornton were sisters. Victoria Sterling nodded. Go ahead. Brandon walked toward the door. Mrs. Thornton looked at Victoria Sterling. So, interested? This younger sister of hers had always been single, though there were plenty of boyfriends around. Victoria Sterling said, He's just a kid. What interest could I have? Mrs. Thornton laughed. A kid. I think you're not picky either. Stop just playing around all day. Find a decent person to marry. Victoria Sterling looked at Mrs. Thornton and laughed. You haven't even sorted yourself out, and you want to drag me into it. Mrs. Thornton glared at her younger sister. How am I not doing well? Victoria Sterling looked at Celeste sitting beside me, held back her words. After eating, everyone left the restaurant. Celeste and I walked out. Victoria Sterling watched the two of us from behind, then said to her sister, Celeste is back. Don't you have any thoughts? Mrs. Thornton wondered, What thoughts could I have? Victoria Sterling continued, You've been at the Thornton house for so many years. Sophia also grew up in the Thornton house. She just comes back and becomes the eldest daughter of the Thornton family. You really don't mind? Mrs. Thornton looked at Victoria Sterling, her gentle face becoming more serious. Yideng, don't let your brother-in-law hear these words. You know his temperament. Victoria Sterling shook her head. Brother-in-law? In his eyes, there's only that woman. Where is there room for you? Mrs. Thornton patted Victoria Sterling's shoulder. Enough. I invited you here to have fun, not to talk about this. The reason she could stay by Alexander Thornton's side for so long was precisely because she never competed. No matter how much she competed, her daughter could never replace Celeste. No matter how much she competed, she could never replace her position in Alexander Thornton's heart. From the very beginning, the only reason she could be by Alexander Thornton's side was just because she bore some resemblance to that woman. Seeing her sister always like this, Victoria Sterling said nothing more. She went back to her room. The room had a private hot spring. She soaked in the hot spring pool, wine placed beside her. Thinking about her sister's situation and Keltem, her eyes held some helplessness. Just then, Brandon walked in. He appeared at the door and saw Victoria Sterling, Director Sterling. Victoria Sterling said, You just texted saying you needed to see me. What is it? Brandon lowered his head. I just had some work questions to ask. I didn't know you were soaking in the hot spring. He said this and turned to leave, not daring to look at her. Seeing his innocent appearance, Victoria Sterling said, Want to soak together for a bit? Brandon refused. No, I'm not that kind of person. I'll wait for you in the room. He said this and directly left the hot spring pool. Victoria Sterling got out of the pool and went to the room, saw Brandon sitting on a chair. She walked behind him and sat down beside him, always appearing somewhat flirtatious. Tell me, what did you need me for? Brandon held a tablet in his hands. I just don't quite understand something. Wanted to ask you. She reached out and took his tablet, looking at the documents on it. Brandon pointed. This part, I don't quite understand. Victoria Sterling stared at Brandon, working even while on vacation. You're very hardworking. Brandon said, I just joined the company. I need to learn a lot to keep up with your pace. Victoria Sterling admired his diligent attitude. She explained the material to him. Brandon saw she was only wrapped in a bath towel and didn't want to stay long. He stood up to leave. Victoria Sterling grabbed his hand and pulled him back. I've helped you solve your problem. Shouldn't you help me now? She pulled him into her arms, looking at his innocent, shy expression. She admitted this look of his did move her a little. Brandon's face turned pale, and he pushed Victoria Sterling away. Director Sterling, I'm not that kind of person. Victoria Sterling smirked. You deliberately came to my room. Wasn't it to attract my attention? She said this and leaned in, trying to kiss him. Brandon raised his hand to block, not letting her kiss him. Seeing his resistance, Victoria Sterling laughed. You should know, as long as you get in my bed, you'll gain much more. Brandon looked aggrieved. But I joined the company, not to sell my body. I only admire your talent and work ability. I want to learn from you. I worked hard to get into a good university because I wanted to rely on my own ability to change my family's circumstances. My parents raised me, not for me to be someone's entertainment. Victoria Sterling watched him speak so righteously and stood up. All right, you can leave. She walked aside and lit a cigarette for herself. From this angle, her face was very beautiful, young, wealthy, and her sister was Mrs. Thornton. It had to be said. This woman had excellent conditions in every aspect. Back in school, I'd thought Serena was the peak. Now thinking of Serena, suddenly she seemed like nothing. Brandon stood up, looking at her anxiously. Director Sterling, do you mean you're firing me? Victoria Sterling looked at him. You've officially passed the interview. If you'd agreed just now, I probably would have been disappointed in you. She didn't need someone by her side, who was always trying to climb into her bed. Brandon held his tablet and bowed his head. Thank you, Director Sterling. Out the door, Brandon stood at the entrance, thinking about Victoria Sterling's reaction just now. Couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he'd bet correctly. If he'd actually agreed to her request just now, who knows, she might have taken advantage of him and then kicked him out. Then he'd forever lose the chance to stay by her side. Leaving Victoria Sterling's room, Brandon wandered around with nothing to do. Happened to see me sitting in the garden. I had my laptop open, typing away at the keyboard. Not sure what I was doing. Brandon spoke up. Nathan, I was writing a manuscript. Hearing his voice, even my inspiration was scared away. I quickly closed my laptop. What do you want? Brandon said. I just saw you here alone. Celeste isn't with you? I raised my eyebrows. What, want to be her boyfriend again? Seeing me keep bringing up old matters, Brandon said. That really was a moment of confusion. It's been so long, you still haven't let it go? I said, sorry. I'm quite the grudge holder. Your embarrassing incidents, I remember them very clearly. Brandon's eyes reddened. Because of that, Lucas G has always been giving me trouble, even blocking my internship opportunities. I shrugged. It wasn't me who told Lucas G to give you trouble. You were malicious and got revenge on yourself. What does that have to do with me? Brandon looked aggrieved. Do you have to be so cold when you talk? What you're saying really hurts. I don't know many people in New York. I always thought we were at least friends. I laughed coldly. Not just anyone could be my friend. If I'm not cold to you, should I give you an award? Praising you for doing well? I continued. Derek went to prison for so long on your behalf. Only got released recently. You haven't forgotten, have you? Seeing me mention Derek, Brandon's face stiffened. So much time had passed, he'd almost forgotten his matter. I was curious. Derek should be out by now. Think he'll come looking for you? Brandon barely maintained his composure and said to me, what does him going to prison have to do with me? It wasn't me who told him to do those things. My expression was helpless. Whether you told him to do it or not, you know yourself. Victoria Sterling, the great stock goddess, must be blind to even bother with someone like you. Thinking about how she was infinitely glamorous until the end in my past life. Didn't expect in this life she'd get entangled with Brandon. As soon as I finished speaking, Victoria Sterling had already appeared. What's all this talk? This man was calling her blind. Victoria Sterling walked over. Brandon looked at her. Director Sterling. Victoria Sterling's gaze fell on me. Calling me blind? Although you're Celeste's boyfriend, you're not yet a son-in-law of the Thornton family. Isn't that a bit too arrogant? I saw Victoria Sterling had just appeared, and she'd happened to hear my casual remark. I said to Victoria Sterling, you're getting up there in age. See a young guy, and he can't walk straight. Calling you blind is already being very polite. Victoria Sterling's face darkened. What did you say? Was I scolding her? Even if he was Celeste's boyfriend, he was being too disrespectful to her. I said, didn't you hear what I said clearly? From her reaction, it was clear she'd heard perfectly. Victoria Sterling said, no matter what, I'm still considered your elder. I didn't care. So, you mean you're not only flirtatious but also old? Brandon stood beside watching me. Didn't expect that talk back to Victoria Sterling. Victoria Sterling was Mrs. Thornton's younger sister. Even if it were Celeste, she probably wouldn't dare say this in front of Victoria Sterling. I ignored her, picked up my laptop, and left. I wasn't in the mood to argue with her, preparing to find somewhere else to work. Celeste had originally wanted to stay with me, but I couldn't write with someone beside me, so I didn't let Celeste stay. Didn't expect to also run into Brandon. I only returned to my room after finishing the manuscript. I called Celeste. Celeste said she was at the tennis court and sent someone to get me. When I arrived, I saw Celeste and Victoria Sterling playing tennis. Sophia stood watching from the side. Sophia discovered her sister was really talented. She knew everything. Before, everyone said her sister came from Lakewood, and Shirley knew nothing. Sophia had thought so at first, too. Turns out her sister knew everything. Who knows how much she'd actually learned. Brandon was sitting with Mrs. Thornton, chatting with her. Brandon smiled. I'm also reading that novel series. This author has written many good novels. I like them too. Mrs. Thornton said, That's wonderful. Every time I read novels, my husband and daughter say I'll rot my brain. But I really think they're great. Brandon echoed, I think so too. Especially that character Angsia. She's really too evil. Every time I read it, I want to have a heart attack. I sat down. Mrs. Thornton saw me. Nathan, I heard you've been busy with work. Your company is too much. Making you work even on weekends. I gave in, I wasn't going to say I was writing novels. I looked at Brandon sitting across from me and noticed he always had the ability to make people happy. Mrs. Thornton laughed. I was just talking about novels with Brandon. Do you normally read novels? I shook my head. I don't read them. I only like to write. Brandon looked at me. Nathan is a busy person. He definitely doesn't read them. Mrs. Thornton was interested. We were just talking about the novel series I'm reading. There's a particularly hateful villain in it, Andrew, always being despicable, making this person do things, making that person do things, does bad things and escapes, lets others take the blame. Hearing Mrs. Thornton mention Andrew, the corner of my mouth twitched. I wrote Andrew. The prototype was Brandon. Brandon said to Mrs. Thornton, that kind of person is really too despicable. Who knows what goes through their head all day? Seeing Brandon criticize Andrew so seriously, I couldn't help but find it funny. Brandon said to Mrs. Thornton, I heard this author, Frostball Snow, is from our school. Let me have someone look into their identity. Mrs. Thornton was incredibly excited. That would be wonderful. I saw him charming Mrs. Thornton into a daze. Had to admire him. He had to show off everywhere. Clearly had nothing to do with him. Celeste saw me sitting alone, unable to join their conversation. She walked over. I nodded. You're here. Celeste asked if I wanted to play for a bit. I stood up. Sure. Brandon watched this scene. Although Victoria Sterling was very outstanding, Celeste was truly beautiful. He'd originally thought the two of us would break up. Didn't expect years had already passed in the blink of an eye. If only he were like me, born with such a fiancée. How wonderful that would be. I followed Celeste to play tennis. Celeste handed me the racket. Victoria Sterling had originally been talking with Celeste. Now seeing all of Celeste's attention was on me, she looked toward Brandon beside her. Brandon. Brandon stood up, walked over to Victoria Sterling, Director Sterling. Victoria Sterling asked, Do you know how to play tennis? Brandon shook his head apologetically. I don't. Given his family background, he normally had no opportunity to access these high-end activities. Originally, when he roomed with Lucas G., he'd wanted to build a good relationship with Lucas G. In the end, it was all ruined by me. Victoria Sterling was patient with him. I'll teach you, I said sarcastically. Director Sterling really likes being everyone's teacher. But this move of yours is too low class. I'd never liked Brandon. Seeing Victoria Sterling keep giving the opportunities, I naturally found it irritating. Victoria Sterling's mouth twitched. Looking at me, for Celeste's sake, I won't argue with you. But you were just over there calling me old and ugly. I haven't even settled that yet. Now you're here provoking me again. I laughed. I wouldn't dare. I'm just afraid you'll end up getting played, Victoria Sterling said. Don't think just because you come from a good background, you can look down on those who don't. Brandon is also very outstanding. Brandon said placatingly, Director Sterling, don't be angry. Young Master Crane is just joking. He said a few words to me. I don't mind. Victoria Sterling became even more protective seeing him like this. It's precisely because you're too tolerant of others that people think you're easy to bully. Victoria Sterling said to Celeste, Eldest daughter, your boyfriend started trouble with me first. You saw it. I hope you'll manage him. As soon as Victoria Sterling finished speaking, Celeste had just finished her swing and looked at her. My boyfriend is like this. Sorry, please trouble Miss Sterling. To put up with it. Victoria Sterling laughed. No one had ever dared tell her to put up with anything. She said to Celeste, "So you're not going to be reasonable?" She'd thought Celeste would at least manage me. Celeste said, "I never like being reasonable. Whatever Nathan says, goes." Victoria Sterling looked at Celeste, her eyes turning cold. "Very well." Sophia saw her aunt and eldest sister getting angry at each other, and walked over. She glanced at Brandon. Nathan said a few words to him. So what? What's the big deal about one man? Auntie has so many boyfriends. Why care about this one? Sophia's eyes were full of disdain. Same goes for you. Just got here and already made my aunt and sister fight. You've ruined the whole atmosphere. Victoria Sterling saw the little one siding with Celeste. "Sophia, I'm your real aunt." Sophia immediately replied, "Well, this is also my real sister and real future brother-in-law." Sophia wasn't stupid. If she dared disrespect Celeste at home, her father would slap her. She knew clearly who had the highest status in the family. Besides, her aunt rarely visited anyway. Victoria Sterling was angry. "I'm done playing." She irritably threw her racket aside. Brandon followed behind Victoria Sterling, Director Sterling. Mrs. Thornton saw Victoria Sterling about to leave. "Not playing anymore?" Victoria Sterling said, "Going back to rest. Otherwise, I'll just get more annoyed here." Brandon looked at Mrs. Thornton. "Mrs. Thornton, we'll head back first then." He apologized. "Sorry for the trouble." He said this and took Victoria Sterling's jacket, chasing after her footsteps. The annoying people had left. I looked at Celeste. "Still want to play?" Celeste looked at me. "Didn't you just get here?" "Let's keep playing." Sophia said, "Nathan, my aunt is just like that. Don't hold it against her. She's just tough on the outside but soft inside. She'll get over it soon." Mrs. Thornton said, "Sophia, stay here and play with your sister." "I'll go check on her in a bit." Sophia said, "Okay." Mrs. Thornton went to Victoria Sterling's room. Saw Victoria Sterling sitting there. Brandon stood beside her watching her carefully. She walked in and said to Victoria Sterling, "What's wrong with you? Why argue with a kid?" Victoria Sterling said, "I don't want to bother with the kid, but he started trouble with me. What's his problem? Brandon is my person. Why does he keep giving Brandon trouble? In just a short while, I've already caught him twice. If this kind of person becomes a son-in-law of the Thornton family, you'll suffer later." Mrs. Thornton was helpless. "He's Celeste's boyfriend." Victoria Sterling looked at her sister. "So what if he's Celeste's boyfriend? He's still young now. Who knows what spell that guy cast on him? Who knows if your eldest daughter has been deceived?" Mrs. Thornton argued, "I think Nathan is quite nice. He's always polite to me." Victoria Sterling became more agitated as she spoke. "He hasn't married Celeste yet. Of course he has to pretend to be nice. But you don't judge a person by how they pretend normally. You look at their character. He steps on people all day. Acts nice in front of you, but behind your back he bullies those with worse family backgrounds. Looking down on this person, looking down on that person, proves there's something wrong with his character." Mrs. Thornton looked up at Brandon. "Aren't you and Nathan from the same school? He doesn't need to target you. Normally, Nathan isn't like this." But it was clear. This time, I really hadn't treated Brandon well. Couldn't even manage a smile when seeing Brandon. Brandon lowered his head, seeing how things developed. Couldn't help but tell the truth. "Actually, Nathan and I were schoolmates before. We're both from Lakewood." Mrs. Thornton looked at Brandon. "Curious, you're also from Lakewood?" Brandon nodded. "Yes, Nathan and I were classmates. Back in high school. He really liked our school's beauty queen. But because the beauty queen didn't like him, he thought it was my fault. So he's always found me irritating." Victoria Sterling asked, "Your school's beauty queen wasn't Celeste, was it?" Brandon said, "No. Celeste and we weren't at the same school. The person Nathan liked was Serena. He pursued Serena for a very long time. Serena even lived at his house for years. Everyone at school knew. Later, when he saw Serena didn't need him, he went to be with Celeste." Victoria Sterling humphed coldly. "Sister, you see, he treated Celeste as a backup plan. Bringing girls home to live at such a young age." Mrs. Thornton looked at Brandon warily. "You're not making this up, are you?" Brandon was serious. "Mrs. Thornton, I couldn't make this up. This matter, everyone at our school knew before. I don't know how he tricked Celeste into being so devoted to him. Actually, I don't mind that he hates me. I just hope Miss Celeste won't be deceived by him." Victoria Sterling said to Mrs. Thornton, "Sister, you need to tell brother-in-law about this. If someone like Nathan marries Celeste, what would that be?" Mrs. Thornton's expression was doubtful. "I'll tell Alexander, because Nathan was Catherine Chow's son, who was best friends with Celeste's mother. The engagement was already set when both were still alive. So Alexander Thornton had no objections to me. Normally, he only cared about Celeste's work. But if I really had such a past, it still couldn't be hidden from Mr. Thornton. Celeste was still young after all. Who knows if she'd been deceived by a man. Before dinner, Alexander Thornton arrived. Mrs. Spig. Thornton went to meet him, went back to the room with him. Every time Alexander Thornton came here to relax, this place didn't receive other guests. So today, the hotel only had them. Alexander Thornton asked, "How's Celeste?" Mrs. Thornton replied, "Very well. She's probably with Nathan right now. She and Nathan have such a good relationship." Alexander Thornton said, "She grew up in Lakewood after all. Being close to him is normal." Mrs. Thornton frowned. "But I heard some rumors today." Mrs. Thornton told Alexander Thornton what Brandon had said today. Hearing that I brought someone home to live before, he frowned. Alexander Thornton said seriously, "Go investigate first. That girl named Serena. See if it's true or not." Mrs. Thornton nodded. "Okay." At dinner, Victoria Sterling came. Brandon didn't come. Alexander Thornton didn't like crowds. And Brandon was just an assistant. Victoria Sterling naturally didn't dare bring anyone. She sat beside him and said to Alexander Thornton, "Brother-in-law is so busy with work, even has things on weekends." Alexander Thornton said, "It's all right." Because Alexander Thornton was very serious, Victoria Sterling didn't dare say much. After eating, Mrs. Thornton invited me to soak in the hot springs. I agreed, because Celeste was also called away by her father. In the room, Mrs. Thornton sat on the sofa. Seeing me enter, she called, "Have a seat." My expression was puzzled. "Is something wrong, Mrs. Thornton?" Mrs. Thornton looked quite serious tonight. Mrs. Thornton said to me, "It's nothing really, just have something to ask you. I heard that back in middle school, you were close with a girl named Serena." As soon as Mrs. Thornton spoke, I knew for certain Brandon had tattled. Before I could answer, Mrs. Thornton continued, "Before dinner, I called your uncle. He also said, you really did like that Serena girl before, and didn't want to marry Celeste. Is that true?" She'd originally doubted Brandon's words, but Chao Juan said the same thing. It seemed the relationship between Celeste and me really wasn't as good as it appeared. In another room, Celeste sat before her father. "What did you need me for?" Alexander Thornton looked at her. "Do you really like Nathan?" Hearing her father suddenly care about her love life, Celeste said blandly, "Why bring this up out of nowhere?" Alexander Thornton was serious. "I heard he had someone he liked before." "You knew about this, right?" Celeste said, "I knew." Alexander Thornton was confused. "Then you're still with him?" Celeste replied, "We're doing very well now." Seeing her so determined, Alexander Thornton didn't press further. Alexander Thornton had no choice but to shatter her illusion. "But Nathan doesn't like you." Celeste frowned. "Who told you that?" Alexander Thornton interlaced his fingers. His uncle said, "It's only because things weren't going well with that girl that he's with you. Celeste, although you two were engaged long ago, but I've always felt this engagement thing is quite absurd. Marriage should still depend on whether two people like each other. If he doesn't like you, then let's end it early." Celeste nodded. "Nathan really likes me." Alexander Thornton continued asking, "Are you sure?" Being questioned like this by Alexander Thornton really made her pause, because she could feel my feelings for her weren't simple. I seemed to always be looking at someone else through her, although normally they really were quite good together. In front of her, I even used every method to coax her, but she really didn't know why I'd suddenly changed. When I originally hadn't paid attention to her, this made her feel uncertain every time, an illusion that I could leave at any moment. Alexander Thornton saw Celeste fall silent, and knew she already had an answer in her heart. Alexander Thornton continued, "I heard that before. Every time you went to the Crane house to find him, he'd chase you away. Perhaps because of that girl, he's only with you now, but he could regret it at any time. I hope you won't do anything foolish. A forced melon. Isn't sweet forced feelings?" Alexander Thornton didn't continue, because he himself was an example. Celeste left her father's room and went to the room next door, knowing I was there. She stood at the door listening to Mrs. Thornton talk to me. "You don't need to worry about the engagement. Our two families still have a good relationship, even if you don't marry Celeste. If the Crane family needs anything, we'll still help." I can actually understand. With the Crane family's conditions, perhaps they'd want to marry into the Thornton family, but I don't agree. With gambling away that child's lifelong happiness, Celeste stood at the door wanting to push it open. Her relationship with me was already unstable. What did Mrs. Thornton mean by saying all this? Although her father's words had made her doubt, but if I were to leave her, she absolutely couldn't accept it. Just then I spoke up. "I'm with Celeste because I like her. There's no other reason. As for Serena, she used to be my family driver's daughter. That's why she lived at my house. I had her tutor me, but I have no relationship with her anymore. When she was still in school, everyone knew she was dating Brandon." Mrs. Thornton was stunned. "You're saying Brandon is Serena's boyfriend?" I nodded. "Yes, because Serena's father." always wanted Serena to be with me. Thought Brandon wasn't good enough for Serena. That's why he forced them to break up. I've been with Celeste for so long. She knows everything about me. If you think I'm with her, for impure purposes, or don't even like her, then you're overthinking it. I really like her. At this point, I paused. If I can't marry her, then I'd rather stay single my whole life. Having died once, I had no more hope for love. But because it was Celeste, I was willing to try again, even if the outcome might not be perfect. But I just wanted to make up for the regret of never getting to see her in my past life. My gaze was very determined. Mrs. Thornton looked at me, wanting to say something but held back. She also liked Alexander Thornton, so even if she was just a substitute, she was willing to stay by his side. Compared to Celeste's mother, she was more compliant, would rather revolve around this man. In this moment, it was as if she saw herself in my eyes, to the point she couldn't say her questioning words. I saw Mrs. Thornton fall silent, and continued, I just don't like Brandon, because he's not a good person. Back at school, when my father's secretary came to pick me up, he had his friend post online saying I was being kept by someone, smearing me. In the end, everything was blamed on his friend. His friend went to prison for him. He was fine. And now this person is beside Director Sterling. Of course I'm unhappy seeing him. Mrs. Thornton didn't expect there was so much more. Let me tell you, Ting. I finished speaking and left the room. Originally said we'd soak in hot springs, but I could clearly tell Mrs. Thornton didn't genuinely want to invite me to soak. She just wanted to talk to me. But as soon as I came out, I saw Celeste standing at the door. I looked at her, stunned, my gaze softening. Why are you here? Celeste looked at me. She'd wanted to go in, but was still hesitating. She was also thinking about whether I liked her or not. But hearing what I'd just said to Mrs. Thornton made her feel much more at ease. I looked at her. You didn't hear what I just said, did you? She didn't speak. I held her hand. The two of us walked out together. On the way, I asked Celeste, what did your father want to talk about? It wasn't also about me and Serena, was it? Celeste blinked. It's not important. I stopped walking. How is it not important? He's not forbidding me from being with you, is he? Mrs. Thornton's words had already revealed this intention, but she was just Celeste's stepmother after all. Celeste's father was different. That was Celeste's biological father. If he didn't allow me to be with Celeste, my past with Serena really could easily make people uncomfortable. I also hated my love-struck brain from before. Celeste comforted. It's fine. I panicked. How is it fine? What if he thinks of every way to force me away from his daughter? What do I do? I can't bear to leave you. People like them are quite scheming. I'm afraid I can't handle it. Seeing I was really worried about this, Celeste hugged me. It's okay. It's really fine. As long as I want to be with you, no one can make you leave me. I said, but Celeste looked at my worried expression, raised her head and kissed my face. I suddenly remembered something important and said to Celeste, wait for me a moment. I took out my phone to make a call. The other side quickly answered, Nathan. I stood by the flower bed. Uncle, isn't this too much? Why did you tell Mrs. Thornton that you don't want me with Celeste? Mrs. Thornton was quite close with my uncle, so she believed his words without doubt, but you clearly knew I was with Celeste. Moreover, I'd also expressed my feelings for Celeste many times. You doing this really shows no consideration for my feelings. Chao Ji-yuan didn't think he'd done anything wrong. He called to ask me about Serena. I naturally told the truth. It's still the same thing. I'd rather you be with Serena than with Celeste. I heard Serena is at Demai Technology now. She's doing quite well. Met her last time. Seemed like a pretty good person. Why must you like Celeste? My face turned cold. Stop meddling in my business. If you keep this up, I'll get angry. Before, you said so much, I listened and let it go. But if Celeste and I break up because of you, I'll hate you till I die, Chao Ji-yuan said. I'm also doing this for your good. Do you think I would harm you? I was angry. Anyway, I'm leaving my words here. Stop saying it's for my good every day. You people are self-righteous. Love being good for others. Chao Ji-yuan was helpless. Fine, all grown up now. Your mother back then wasn't even this headstrong. I hung up directly, thinking about how my uncle deliberately sabotaged, wanting to make Celeste and me break up. I was really angry. When I get back, I need to talk to him again. After the call, I returned to Celeste's side. Celeste saw my cold expression. Are you okay? I said, I'm fine. Just my uncle. Don't know what benefit he got. Keeps wanting me to be with Serena. Sabotaging every day. Made them all think I don't like you. Saying this, I looked at Celeste. No matter what others say, Celeste, I really like you. Unless one day you find me annoying, only then will I leave you. Otherwise, like you said, No one can make me leave you. Celeste saw me looking at her, gently stroked my chin. Victoria Sterling was in her room on the phone with her sister. Mrs. Thornton didn't beat around the bush. Told her about Brandon being Serena's boyfriend before, and about Brandon getting someone else sent to prison, all at once. Victoria Sterling called and had someone investigate. The next morning, the documents arrived. Victoria Sterling sat on the sofa, seeing that Serena really had been with Brandon. Not only were they together in high school, even when he went to college, they both worked part-time together. Remembering that day when she asked if he had a girlfriend, he'd said no. Brandon pushed the door open and walked in. Director Sterling, good morning. This is the breakfast the hotel just delivered. He carried the breakfast in and placed it on the table. Victoria Sterling looked at Brandon. You're dating Serena. Brandon's hand paused. He looked at Victoria Sterling. Director Sterling. Victoria Sterling's voice was cold. I'm just asking you. Is this true or not? Brandon denied. No. Victoria Sterling said, are you sure? In college, you were always with her. Even worked part-time together. Also lived with her before. You're telling me you two aren't dating? Brandon's gaze was very firm. We really aren't. Serena stopped liking me long ago. She likes Nathan. She's always been very cold to me. Back then, everyone at school was targeting me. I had nowhere to go. So I asked her to introduce me to a job. Saying this, his eye sockets reddened slightly. In New York, he had no one to rely on. Could only huddle together with her for warmth. Fortunately, after a long time, I hadn't appeared before her either. Her attitude toward him only improved a little. Even when they lived together later, she made him share housework every day. It was just mutual use. Therefore, speaking of this, Brandon was particularly emotional. He wasn't lying either. Actually, these are all my private matters. I shouldn't tell you. But people like me and Serena, no matter how hard we try, it's very hard to have a foothold in New York. Serena understands this very well. Nathan liked her before. As long as she can win back Nathan's heart, she can become a rich person. How could she be moved by me? Victoria Sterling continued. I heard you got your friend to go to prison for you before. Brandon smiled bitterly. What did Nathan say? Does he want me dead? Actually, I can't become a threat to him at all. I have nothing to compare with him. If I really did something, wouldn't the police arrest me? He's Celeste's boyfriend, also the young master of the Crane family. If I really had something on him, he wouldn't have waited until now to drive a wedge in front of you. If Director Sterling wants to believe him, there's nothing I can do. I can leave the company. I can also go back to Lakewood. Anyway, someone like me definitely won't have a good future. Looking at his pitiful appearance, Victoria Sterling softened a little. She said to Brandon, pack up. Let's go back to the company to work. She left the room, taking Brandon back to the company. Arriving at the company, Mrs. Thornton called her, asking about Brandon's situation. Have you asked about Brandon yet? Victoria Sterling said, I asked. Mrs. Thornton said, if what Nathan said is true, then don't associate with him anymore. Victoria Sterling said, he hasn't done anything wrong. If I stop associating with him, just because of a few words from Nathan, wouldn't that make me look incompetent? Mrs. Thornton was a bit helpless with her sister's personality. Tang, must you be like this? Already said his character isn't good. Victoria Sterling was firm. As long as he doesn't break the law or commit crimes, I can't be bothered to care. It's not like I'm a good person either. After saying this, she hung up directly. Mrs. Thornton was a bit helpless. After having lunch with Sophia and Mrs. Thornton, Celeste and I headed back. When we got home, my father was already back. He'd just returned from Lakewood. I complained to my father about my uncle. Richard Crane said, let me talk to him. I asked, are you going somewhere? Richard Crane nodded. Have some matters to handle. Have to go out for dinner tonight. That evening, Celeste left. A sudden mission to handle. I was at home just finishing my manuscript. Hadn't even eaten yet, when I received a call from Brandon. Nathan, Director Sterling invites you to join us for dinner. I refused. I don't have time to eat with her. Brandon then said, your father is also here. I arrived at the private room and pushed the door open. Saw Victoria Sterling sitting there. Brandon sat obediently beside her. My father sat nearby, probably had drunk quite a lot. His face flushed red. Everyone was taking turns toasting him. He didn't want to drink anymore. But Victoria Sterling said this was not giving her face. The Crane family might be number one in Lakewood, but in a place like New York, they were nothing. Moreover, the other party was Victoria Sterling, Mrs. Thornton's younger sister. Richard Crane thought about how his son still had to marry Celeste, and didn't want to offend her. I walked over. Dad, why did you drink so much? Your health isn't good to begin with. Richard Crane saw his son, Nathan. Why are you here? I looked at the row of white liquor glasses placed in front of my father. Everyone was waiting to watch the show. Seeing me appear, Everyone was curious. Is this Mr. Crane's son? Quite handsome. I explained. My father's health isn't good. He can't drink this much. I'm taking him home first. Seeing Victoria Sterling, I could roughly guess why she'd suddenly sought out my father. Precisely because she couldn't do anything to me. So she wanted to give my father trouble. Truly shameless. Victoria Sterling said lightly, "Your father hasn't even finished his drinks, and he's already leaving. How boring." The others chimed in. That's right. I looked at Victoria Sterling. If you like drinking, then drink. My father can't handle it. If anything happens, you'll all be responsible. Victoria Sterling said, "Since you care about your father so much, why don't you drink for him?" Everyone stared at me, as if I couldn't leave without finishing all of it. I looked at that row of white liquor. I picked up the bottle on the table and poured the small glasses of white liquor together. Victoria Sterling sat beside, watching my bold manner. How would I react after drinking that much white liquor? She was quite looking forward to it, thinking about how I relied on having Celeste backing me, completely disregarding her. Then don't blame her. I picked up the glass and walked in front of Victoria Sterling. Director Sterling keeps making me drink. Why don't I toast Director Sterling instead? Victoria Sterling said to me, "All right, quite sincere. If you really finish this, I'll forgive you for offending me before." I smirked. Then, "Thank you, Director Sterling, for giving me face." I said this and picked up the glass. I didn't drink it, but directly from above Victoria Sterling's head as she sat, poured it down. Everyone had thought I would obediently drink, but didn't expect I'd actually dare pour the liquor directly on Victoria Sterling's head. Brandon stood up, looking at me anxiously. "Nathan, what are you doing?" Victoria Sterling was wearing an expensive suit. She now looked absolutely wretched. "You've got guts," I said to Victoria Sterling. "If people don't offend me, I don't offend them. If you have issues, come at me. You bully my father like this. I won't let this go." Victoria Sterling said, "How won't you let this go? Do you even know where you are?" Victoria Sterling spoke, and her bodyguards immediately rushed over to surround us. Secretary Yan walked over and looked at me. "Nathan, the other party is Victoria Sterling." Richard Crane precisely didn't want to offend her, but now I'd poured liquor on her. He was a bit afraid Victoria Sterling would get physical. I said to Victoria Sterling, "I can see you're very angry. Go ahead and touch me." I didn't care if Victoria Sterling would actually get physical with me. At most, she'd beat me up, but that wouldn't kill me. But the consequences of hitting me, I didn't know if she could bear them. Victoria Sterling laughed. "You're Celeste's fiancé. Of course I wouldn't dare do anything to you." "But," Victoria Sterling looked at Secretary Yan standing beside me, "your father's secretary is quite handsome. Since you don't want to drink with everyone, let him come entertain us instead." She said this, and had someone pour drinks for Secretary Yan. Secretary Yan was afraid they'd fight, and quickly said, "I'll drink." After saying this, he went over to pick up the glass, and said to Victoria Sterling, "Director Sterling, our Nathan is ignorant. He's just a kid. Please don't hold it against him." Secretary Yan drank several glasses in a row. Those people still weren't planning to let him go. I was angry. "Victoria Sterling, must you be like this?" Victoria Sterling smiled brightly. "Don't be angry. I haven't done anything to you. It's just a secretary. What's the big deal about entertaining everyone?" She said this and pulled out a chair, telling me, "Young Master Crane, please sit," acting all polite with me, while her people kept forcing Secretary Yan to drink. I ignored her, took out my phone to call the police. Someone beside me stood up, deliberately knocked the phone from my hand, throwing it into the boiling hot pot in the middle, then looked apologetic. "Sorry, young Master Crane, didn't mean to. I'll definitely compensate you with the latest phone later." Victoria Sterling coaxed, "Sit down, young Master Crane." Brandon sat beside watching me. His eyes held some smugness. He knew I had people backing me, but what could I do now? Originally, he hadn't wanted to treat me like this, but I'd said those things in front of Victoria Sterling, wanting to see him get kicked out by Victoria Sterling. Now seeing me like this, he only felt I deserved it. Just then, someone walked in from outside. It was Sophia. She walked over and stood beside me, looking around at everyone in the room. "What are you all doing?" Victoria Sterling froze. "Why are you here?" Victoria Sterling knew Celeste wasn't around. No one would help me. "Yeah!" But didn't expect Sophia to appear here. Sophia said, "You're having dinner here and didn't invite me." As soon as Sophia appeared, Victoria Sterling immediately had everyone stop. Secretary Yan was also released. He'd drunk quite a lot. His face flushed red. Sophia looked at me. "Nathan, are you okay?" Before coming, I'd called Sophia, but she'd arrived a bit late. I spoke up. "My father's drunk. I need to take him home. If you hadn't come, your aunt probably still wouldn't have given me face." I turned to look at Victoria Sterling. Director Sterling, can I leave now? In front of Sophia. Victoria Sterling changed her face, suddenly becoming agreeable. What are you saying? Your face. How could I not give it? Let's call it a night then. Sophia saw my cold expression. Could feel I was angry. I took my father and Secretary Yan to the hospital. Wasn't sure how much my father had drunk. So, I took him to sober up. Sophia was a bit worried, and came along. Victoria Sterling changed her clothes, and with Brandon accompanying her, walked over. Seeing Sophia and me together, she pretended to apologize. I just had good intentions wanting to treat your father to dinner. Didn't expect it to cause such a big misunderstanding. Clearly she'd done it on purpose, now pretending to be the good person. Brandon stood beside looking at me. Nathan, is your father okay? Director Sterling didn't mean it. She just wanted to treat your father to dinner. Here's your phone, to compensate you. He said this, and handed over an unopened phone. I didn't take it myself. Seeing Victoria Sterling standing nearby, I said to my assistant beside me, Daniel, take the phone. Since Secretary Yan was also drunk, I was too busy to handle everything. Had to call my own people over. So Daniel was also here now. Hearing me speak, he walked over and took the phone from Brandon's hand. The name Daniel caught Victoria Sterling's attention. She looked at Daniel. Daniel was 30 years old, looked very mature. Victoria Sterling asked in disbelief, What's your name? Daniel said calmly, I'm Daniel. My name? Does Director Sterling have any comments? Victoria Sterling asked, Do you normally trade stocks? Daniel subconsciously looked at me, nodded to Victoria Sterling. Yes, Director Sterling. Your company people contacted me several times before. Unfortunately, I was too busy. Didn't expect to meet Director Sterling this way. Originally thought Director Sterling was someone very admirable. Meeting today was quite disappointing. Daniel took the phone and stepped back behind me. I said coldly to Victoria Sterling, Since Director Sterling has expressed her concern, please leave first. Rest assured, tonight's events, I'll definitely tell Mrs. Thornton word for word. Victoria Sterling looked at me. Mr. Crane, he'll be fine, right? I said, You'd better pray he's fine. After saying this, I went into the hospital room to take care of my father. Sophia looked at Victoria Sterling. Auntie, you should go back first. I'll take you home. She said this and pulled Victoria Sterling outside. What's wrong with you? If it weren't for her aunt, right now she'd be at home, playing games with her boyfriend. Victoria Sterling said, Wait a moment. I still have something to do. Sophia was confused. What else? Victoria Sterling looked at Daniel holding the phone. Mr. Tao, how about we talk? Daniel said, Sorry, I have nothing to discuss with Director Sterling. After saying this, he also left. Victoria Sterling watched his retreating figure. Had no choice but to leave first. Sophia put her in the car, only then feeling more at ease. On the way, Brandon sat beside Victoria Sterling. Seeing Victoria Sterling sitting there lost in thought, he took the opportunity to add fuel. Director Sterling, are you okay? Nathan really went too far. He dared pour liquor on your head. No matter what, you're his elder. If he's with Celeste, he'd still have to call you auntie. Victoria Sterling ignored Brandon, thinking about Daniel. If she could recruit him to her company, how wonderful that would be. The driver dropped Brandon off downstairs. This apartment was provided to him by Victoria Sterling. He looked at Victoria Sterling. Would you like to come up for a bit? Victoria Sterling looked at Brandon. Go rest. If it were any other time when Brandon invited her like this, she would have gone up. But now her mind was occupied by other matters. She had no interest in him. Brandon looked at Victoria Sterling, remembering last time she wanted him. He'd thought if he invited her, she'd definitely come up. Unexpectedly, she refused. He had no choice but to get out of the car himself. I stayed at the hospital caring for my father until morning. Seeing him wake up, I finally felt more at ease. He'd drunk so much last night. I was really worried something would happen to him. Richard Crane lay on the bed. Daniel brought over some water. I handed the water to my father. Richard Crane said, I got drunk last night. I said, That Victoria Sterling kept forcing you to drink. Don't have dinner with her again. Richard Crane said slowly, No matter what, she's still Mrs. Thornton's younger sister. When you marry Celeste in the future, you can't offend all her family members. That was the older generation's way of thinking. They thought relatives and friends were all important. I didn't see it that way. Relatives actually weren't reliable in the end. No matter how close they normally seemed, when it really mattered, not many would actually help. I lowered my head. Dad, Celeste and I can handle our own matters. You don't need to accommodate others for my sake. We just need to live our own lives well. Richard Crane said, It's not that simple. Being in New York now is different from Lakewood. Lakewood is a small place. Anything goes. But now, I pouted, if that's the case, why not just stay in Lakewood? Richard Crane looked at me. Listen to your nonsense. Isn't your relationship with Celeste going well? I patted his hand. Our matters, we know ourselves. Anyway, don't bother with Victoria Sterling anymore. If she gives you trouble, I'll figure something out. After handling the discharge paperwork for my father, I took him home, then went directly to the Thornton house. Brandon and Victoria Sterling were both there again. Mrs. Thornton was also there. Brandon had somehow gotten tickets to a Frostfall Snow fan meeting, saying Frostfall Snow would also be there. He was discussing this with Mrs. Thornton. The two were even planning to attend together. Brandon now took every opportunity to suck up to Mrs. Thornton. I walked in and said to Brandon, "Don't know where you got this fake information," daring to bring it, to say in front of her. Brandon froze and looked at me. What do you mean? I said, you're saying at the Frostfall Snow fan meeting, Frostfall Snow will be there? How come I don't know about this? I normally didn't have time to appear. The publisher had arranged several events. I'd declined them all. Brandon said, you don't even know who Frostfall Snow is. How can you be sure they won't come? I said, of course I'm sure, because I am Frostfall Snow. Those books were all written by me. Whether I'm going or not, wouldn't I know? Brandon looked at me in disbelief. You wrote them? You're joking, right? Last time you said you don't read novels. I said loudly, just because I don't read means I can't write? Mrs. Thornton saw I was angry and asked with concern, Nathan, how is your father? I said to Mrs. Thornton, he's been discharged. It seemed you already know about this. I came today to demand justice. Mrs. Thornton glared at Victoria Sterling sitting beside her. Yitang said she just wanted to treat your father to dinner. Didn't mean anything else. I just scolded her. Even if dining together, you can't keep forcing people to drink. I looked at Victoria Sterling sitting beside her. I just got in touch with Celeste. She'll be coming. Let's talk about this when she arrives, Mrs. Thornton said. Isn't Celeste very busy? You don't need to trouble her like this. This is indeed my sister's fault. She'd already told Victoria Sterling not to cause trouble. Didn't expect she'd still misbehave and cause this incident. Brandon said to me, Nathan, although I know you and Celeste have a good relationship, but Mrs. Thornton is your elder. Who are you showing that cold face to? His tone was gentle, but his words were all criticism, deliberately using his understanding to make me look like the aggressor. I said, of course I'm showing it to you. You're really just like before, always making others charge ahead for you. Now even Director Sterling has become a gun in your hand. But today I want to see if Director Sterling will hurt herself to protect you, seeing me come aggressively. Victoria Sterling sat beside staring at me, a barely noticeable smile at the corner of her mouth. Brandon saw me say, Victoria Sterling was a gun in his hand, and quickly explained, Director Sterling has her own opinions about work. Don't say that. I'm just an ordinary person. Director Sterling only gave me a job opportunity. I don't have that much ability. I laughed. You're an ordinary person? Ordinary people aren't as thick-skinned as you. Brandon got so angry he couldn't help calling my name, Nathan. Realizing his emotions were getting out of control, he restrained himself, putting on an expression of caring for me. No matter what, you'll be marrying into the Thornton family in the future. Pay some attention to your image. Brandon knew the Crane family had money, knew I was with Celeste, but this was the Thornton house. Mrs. Thornton was my elder. Yet I was being so arrogant. I replied, don't bother worrying about my image. I don't have any image anyway. As for you, I don't know what brand of trash bag you are. To be so good at containing things. Before, you pretended to be Celeste's boyfriend. Now you're pretending to be close with Frostfall Snow. Seeing me mention Frostfall Snow, Brandon frowned. So you're saying you really are Frostfall Snow? I said this and took out my phone. You think my face is as thick as yours? Making up relationships with people all day? Since you care so much about Frostfall Snow, you must follow their Twitter, right? Why don't you open it and look now? Mrs. Thornton normally also used Twitter. She had the housekeeper bring her tablet and open Twitter. Brandon also came over to look. Frostfall Snow's Twitter had nothing. Brandon looked at me. Didn't you say to check Twitter? There's nothing there. I glanced at him, picked up my phone and opened the app. Everyone was still using computers now, but I'd already started using mobile Twitter. I quickly typed a few words and posted and said to Mrs. Thornton, you can look now. Mrs. Thornton refreshed the page and really saw Frostfall Snow had posted something. Just a few words. Mrs. Thornton wasn't careful. And read those words aloud. Brandon, you idiot. Brandon's face beside her turned dark, looking at this scene in disbelief. If Frostfall Snow wasn't me, they absolutely wouldn't have said this. But now the words there had said everything. Mrs. Thornton coughed. She was normally a very refined person. Now she'd accidentally said something crude. She looked at me. Nathan, you really are Frostfall Snow? I replied. I was just bored originally, writing in the dorm to kill time. If Brandon hadn't mentioned it, I wouldn't have said anything. Just couldn't stand someone being so thick-skinned, wanting to latch on to everything. Even using my identity to suck up to Mrs. Thornton. Mrs. Thornton asked, "Then what about the fan meeting?" I shook my head. Anyway, I'm not going. Don't know where Brandon got it from. I guessed he'd just found some random event. Wanting to start a conversation with Mrs. Thornton? Mrs. Thornton couldn't verify it anyway. Mrs. Thornton looked at Brandon. Brandon said, "Mrs. Thornton." Mrs. Thornton said, "Forget it. We'll talk about this later. It's not important anyway." Nathan, you just said Celeste is coming. Around what time will she arrive? I checked the time. Soon. Brandon's face, after hearing Celeste's name, stiffened. Celeste was coming soon. Then would there be trouble for Victoria Sterling about last night? If something happened to her, what would happen to him? Brandon felt a bit panicked inside, but didn't want to give up. He gathered his courage and said to me, "Nathan, I just really like Frostfall Snow too much. The books are so well written. I'm also your fan, nothing else." I looked at Brandon. "You like my books?" "I'm quite surprised." Brandon continued, "Your work is excellent. So many people like it. I'm just one reader." He tried hard to make conversation with me, hoping I'd let him off. No matter what, we still have our schoolmate bond. Toward Brandon's flattery, I wasn't buying any of it. "You say you're my reader. Then how come you didn't recognize that Andrew character was based on you?" Andrew was the character Mrs. Thornton hated most. Hearing me say Brandon was Andrew's prototype, Mrs. Thornton couldn't help but look at Brandon and said to me, "Based on him?" I answered, "Yes, because I really hated him so much. I based it on him, but he doesn't seem to have any awareness. Perhaps in a bad person's eyes, they never see themselves as bad. Seeing me being aggressive?" Brandon clenched his fists. He raised his hand. "Do you hate me that much?" "Because of Serena. Back at school, I already said, if we liked her, I could help set you up. But you liked Serena on one hand, while coveting Celeste's family background on the other. Now you even wrote me into a book, making everyone curse me. Nathan, isn't that too much?" I laughed. "Just now you wanted to get close to me. Now you're already smearing me. Why beat around the bush? Why don't you directly tell everyone? I'm two-timing, staying with Celeste, while still scheming for Serena. So I keep bullying you?" Brandon had basically said this before, to Victoria Sterling and them. Didn't expect I'd say it directly. He froze. "You're admitting it yourself." I said, "What am I admitting? You think no one in New York knows us now, so you can say whatever you want about old matters, right?" Brandon stared at me. "Then what do you mean?" Brandon had just finished speaking when Celeste's voice came from the door. "Then do you still recognize him?" Two people were following beside her. One was Diana. Diana had become quite close with Celeste after coming to New York. Many things Celeste delegated to her. The other person was Derek. After 3 years in prison, he'd suffered a lot. No longer the chubby appearance from before, no longer lively like during puberty. His whole person looked very haggard. As soon as he entered, his gaze fell on Brandon. For many days and nights, he'd always thought he'd rather die in there. But thinking about how Brandon was still living well, he wasn't willing to accept it. This man had played him like a puppet. One day, he'd have his revenge. Brandon at first didn't recognize Derek. After all, Derek had changed too much. Until he opened his mouth and called his name. Only then did Brandon recognize his voice. He looked at Derek in shock, momentarily not daring to speak. Celeste walked over and sat beside me. Not caring that everyone was there, held my hand. I was Uncle Crane. Richard Crane was like family to her. Back when she came to Lakewood, she'd even gone places with Richard Crane. Hearing what happened last night, Celeste was currently angry. I said, "I've already taken him home. He's fine for now." Mentioning this matter, I looked at Victoria Sterling, who hadn't said anything from start to finish. Celeste looked over. She didn't bring up this matter yet, but looked at Derek. Mrs. Thornton said, "Celeste, these two people are..." Celeste replied, "One is my old classmate. One is Derek. He's Nathan's old classmate from Lakewood." Mrs. Thornton nodded. "I see. Why did you bring them? Here?" Celeste sat beside me. Coldly said, "Since Brandon feels that in New York, no one knows him. He can say whatever he wants. I could only invite his old friends over, to let him clarify the old matters." I said to Derek, "Since you're here, why not make it clear the story between Brandon and Serena back then? The one who was with Serena. Was it him or me?" Derek looked at Brandon, hatred overflowing. Brandon had already stood up, walking in front of Derek. He held Derek's hand, looking like close brothers. "Derek, you're finally out. I've been worried about you all these years. Why didn't you tell me when you came to New York?" If I'd known, I definitely would have picked you up. Derek looked at Brandon before him. His eyes were very sincere, as if he truly was worried about him. Remembering how he'd considered him a friend before, it was precisely this appearance that had deceived him. Brandon looked at him. Now that you're out, live properly. You should also remember these past years. Who made you end up like this? We were all classmates, yet Nathan was so heartless, insisting on putting you in prison. After saying this, he said to me, Nathan, look at what you've done to Derek. Now you're even bringing him here. Is it to show off how